stuff from him. Marco will go and claim that lane, and it's going to be hard for Shelly to push back into there, to be honest with you. You don't want to be feeding those sandstorms over and over again, and especially when something like a Frank can fly under the radar.
Good dash from Angel Boy, but now being scrutinized and forced away there from the rude sands of the Sandy. Marco gets a nice pinch between iChaos and Guesty. Nob comes in. A great defense from that boy. That was going pretty much the way of Heretics there, so a good interception.
Yeah, really nice as well. Had to kind of force that super out from Chaos. I guess he's going to go on the right-hand side. Finally get to that matchup against Sabine, but Marco will be there waiting for him. Angel Boy coming aggressive now, super used as well, trying to cycle it out, gets another one back, and Sabine sent back up into the air again. Angel Boy actually gets caught around the left-hand side of his gadget, sorry. And Guesty breaking up some of these walls, keeping Marco at bay.
1 TP2 outside of the windmill. And that was all it took for Sabine to capitalize. Very passive game so far. Both sides know exactly how influential just a bit of feeding can be for their opposition, so I like them being resourceful in that regard. But it could be go time here for Heretics. Sabine's also got hypercharge too, and there's a Frank with the buffies. We know just how much that can do to score your goal.
Yeah, Marco just can't get within range of Guesty there, doesn't want to overstep either by trying to push a bit further up and feeding him hypercharge. Angel Boy, another gadget. I think he was maybe trying to bait a super there, but it didn't come out. There's the stun on the right-hand side. Guesty going to go straight for him and get the super off, but he's going to be faced with a rude sands, which actually might kill him. Just narrowly survives. A couple more ticks would have been the nail in the coffin, but Nob traded out by Chaos, and he's doing a good job of keeping his team in this mid.
Yeah, important taps there, landing 2 out of 3, and that was enough to secure the kill. Super out the elbow. Oh, look at Angel Boy popping up there with the hypercharge, continuing to cycle these kicks, and that should be, oh no! A pixel to the right! That should have been a goal! Team Heretics off the line. Get a second chance at Grace.
See, the thing is, I do think it was a tough angle, and I generally think if it was going in, it might have been saved by Sabine off the line, so had to try and get it right in the corner. Still into overtime here. Nob's going to want to try and get a super because he's got the hypercharge in hand. Same with Guesty, same with Marco. They're going to be the deciding factors in this overtime.
It's going to be a tough overtime here for Heretics. Sabine definitely going to be having to be really on his A game. Oh my word, Nob goes surely, and it's a team wipe for esports. Nob taking no chances, scores it. Team Heretics cannot afford an overtime, that is clear.
Well, it was very 50-50, to be honest with you. One lane was won by Foot, one lane was won by Heretics, and in the end it was just who had more hypercharges and managed to get them at the right times in overtime. So a good start for Foot esports. Guesty looking good. Really solid stuff from Angel Boy, being able to dominate and dash and use those hypercharges to the best of his abilities to put Foot in that position in the late game.
Now, Angel Boy going pretty aggressive early on. I quite like it. The windmill gadget to hand, allowing him just to be a bit more further forwards. Nob pretty getting much towards a potential superhero as well. This is bad for Heretics. Now a knockback gadget there by Chaos, but surely this will be a goal. Guesty with a lovely angle there in the first opening 30 seconds of play. Heretics looking pretty weak in that regard.
Yeah, really good from Foot. Solid stuff overall. And forcing that goal in early. Just great synergy across the board to win their one-on-one matchups over and over again. Guesty will be feeding the super of Marco, but they're going to try their best to keep them out. And Guesty continuing his run forwards. Angel Boy waiting for the ball, but Sabine might be there as well to stop him. Good shots, and he evades nicely to stay alive.
Yeah, Chaos being rewarded by his accuracy for sure. Oh, didn't quite land that one. That was quite pivotal there, maybe. Sabine breaks the entirety of the right-hand side. Not sure that would probably dwell well for him, more for Marco. He's looking lanes now. Pushing forwards. One thing's for sure, Heretics do need this goal.
Absolutely, they've still got a bit of time. Guesty trying to push out on the left-hand side, baiting a few shots from Sabine, and just his presence is pushing them back. In goes Nob, but he's going to be able to switch straight back out this form and maybe deal with Marco. Good kill from Guesty, following on with the hypercharge too, but a forced gadget from Chaos. Angel Boy still moving forwards, gets the kill, but Nob not going to be able to force that one in. He goes down, a minute on the clock for Heretics' answer.
For esports with 1 game and 1 goal ahead. Team Heretics need this moment to count. 50 seconds. This for esports are going to continue to go on the aggressive as Angel Boy exploding onto the map, leaving just Marco all alone to defend this on his own. It's going to be for esports to claim the first set in convincing fashion.
Yeah, really nice from them, and I love that from Angel Boy. He's done it in a couple of games now, those hypercharged supers. Just dragging them forwards onto these brawlers that are going to be good at the close range. Lovely stuff from Foot esports. Seem calm, seem composed, have a great draft, and I think Guesty adding exactly what needs to be added.
Yeah, he had a very good match. matchup. The Shelly into the Frank. He stayed on Speed the entire way through. But these goal-scoring moments were pretty much all Angel for me. Yeah, nice bit of speed there.
Might have got in. I think
it might have possibly gone in. Speed had the hypercharged speed as well, so that was definitely a factor. But definitely a close one. That was the only real moment that we saw a weakness really from Foot. They look so confident.
Yeah, I mean, if the only mistake is kind of a 50-50 shot, then I don't think you're going to be too mad about your performance so far. So far, so good for FUT Esports. Really nice plays overall, and when they can overwhelm their opponents like this, they're not going to complain. Really good start. Stat-wise, in terms of kills, it's not that far apart, but in terms of control of the map and those explosive moments, it was all FUT Esports.
Yeah, and in terms of goals, not a single moment really capitalized there by Team Heretics. That has to change in the next sets to come. But for FUT Esports, I like the way that they are approaching this. They are just kind of focused, very locked in. Nob as always, just really eyes down and no celebrations until really the game is done. And I think that's the way you go about doing it. Team Heretics are really clean qualifiers, honestly. Sweeping Navi as well, who we'll see later on today. But for FUT Esports, it was not the same story. They had to go up against their own academy team to qualify for the monthly finals.
Had a few sketchy moments in that game, to be honest with you, as well.
Yeah.
Their backs were heavily against the wall at certain points, but definitely did a good job of making it all the way. As you said, Heretics were a bit more smooth sailing, so we expected them to come in with a bit more feist, but after beating Navi 3-0, I was expecting them to be doing pretty well as well, to be honest with you. Chaos getting revenge on a couple of his old teammates. Ban-wise, though, as we go into Goldarm Gulch, the Spike, the Ruffs, and I actually couldn't even see that third brawler in time. The Grey comes in as Heretics' first pick. It was the Squeak, and then the FUT Esports bans are going to be the Mina, the Pierce, and the G.
Good to see the Pierce ban here. That's probably my go-to brawler on this map in the current meta. Let's see how FUT Esports want to approach this to start things off. Angelo going to come in. And RT as well. Very much what we kind of saw previously today. The EMEA flavors really shining through in those two brawlers for me. But the Angelo is high risk. Angel Boy, who can forget back at LCQ in 2023, such a solid player on that very brawler himself. So I want to see him really pop off if he is playing that Angelo pick. On the side of Team Heretics now, a chance to combine with this Grey, maybe even some cheese to come through as well.
And you know what I think about that.
I know what you feel about that.
So I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to carry on talking about the draft. The Gus is going to come in then for Team Heretics to add to their side. Wouldn't have been what I was expecting, but still can come through. I like what FUT Esports have got. We saw the RT being played by SK Gaming in the previous set. It was with the Ruffs, so he kind of got his hypercharge a little bit easier, but had its moments, great taps and wonderful stuff all along. Same can be said about the Grey. It didn't get the victory in this first series, but I think it was the standout brawler from his side.
I think that says quite a big story, because for FUT Esports to still commit to the RT despite the Ruffs ban, it says that we're going to continue to go for it regardless.
Mom
I
never
think Team Heretics
misses.
did pretty well there to read that through the data and just kind of take something off the table. Bell, again, not the flashiest, but still very solid. Can be eradicated as well, going to leg form, so this will be considered.
Move
Let's
those
see
feet
what
to the
third pick is.
boombox
Block
beat.
before the wall break. What's not to like really about that? It's a safe pair of hands, but it can get a lot done, especially in maps like this where you've got to eradicate the bits of bush and various areas in the mid. It can be quite claustrophobic when the gas comes in on this map.
Yeah, I will say, FUT Esports definitely have the range here, but if they kind of step out of line even the smallest bit, they're going to be punished by that walking cane of Grey. Bring them into range and be able to get his TP is going to be a big thing for them. So I think it's, yet again, a pretty good draft from both teams. Solid for both sides, but Heretics desperately in need of getting this hit.
Well, for esports, so far,
I've got you in my sights.
no signs of slowing. Will that be a difference maker here? Team Heretics do need to find their footing. That's to say the least. So already claustrophobically pushed into this back left corner. Not a great start. I mean, Team Heretics just basically gave up positioning power, but Guesty almost went down there. Almost overstepped, stayed alive at 100 HP.
Yeah, so low. Both teams trying to enforce a 2v1 on either side, but Sabine not going to have the range that Nob has to kind of prevent that in this situation. He's just sitting back in the grass. They don't know where he is, and that's going to be a good break there as well. Follow-up shot from Guesty too, but this is a wonderful position for FUT Esports, and I don't know how they let this happen.
Yeah, it feels like Heretics want to be here as well. Missed mark by Chaos. That's a rarity there. Allowing a bit of a walk through for himself and Marco. Reverse polarity used there as well. All three members of each side standing until then. Nob finds Marco, making it a 3 versus 2 in favor of FUTTE.
Yeah, tapped again, and Chaos one shot now, and he'll go down as well. I don't think Sabim's found that much damage, to be honest with you. 2, maybe 3 shots, should be just a couple off of it, but still doesn't get the kills or hits to get his super. All 3 supers for FUTTE Esports, and yet again, looking really good.
And so far, it's not even close, is it, really? Except for that one moment where Guesty almost went down and overstepped. A nice break there from him, but it might actually be maybe more in favor of Team Heretics. They're just so far back, but they find now Angel Boy. That's really the first moment they've had to breathe.
Yeah, big overstep from Angel Boy there, and you see Nob just rotating over to the left-hand side, because if Sabim TP's on him, he's going to be completely fine. Guesty getting tapped by Chaos here, but he wants to try and bring this back. There's the pull forwards, but didn't choose to follow up with anything just yet. They know they can try and win this in the late game, because it's a 3v2.
Well, at this rate, Team Heretics, they do win this round. We had a bit of a disadvantage coming in, because Guesty's done some good work breaking those bushes. Reverse polarity not going to connect. And so far, Heretics playing it cautiously to not feed in. That RT hypercharge is the concern. Nob pulled in by the Walking Cane, but staying still alive. This could turn around. It's not an easy one for Heretics to do under the circumstances, but now it's the gas, as FUTTE Esports will admit defeat for this round.
Yeah, nice stuff there from Heretics. They managed to get that kill on Angel Boy, and they, yeah, again, FUTTE had that position where they had them pinned, but a little bit of an overstep from Angel Boy did get himself killed. Guesty, hypercharge on the right-hand side, should put him in a good position to win this Bell matchup, and a wonderful tap early on from Angel Boy, but as the same as last game, he was getting some good taps and got punished quick.
Nice mark from Chaos with the hypercharge. Now Guesty is in a perilous position, but Sabim now outsteps himself, and 2 versus 3. Heretics are already quite fumbling this at the moment, and now what can Chaos do all alone? It's just going from bad to worse, but Esports are only climbing in confidence.
I mean, I'd like to mention that he did just TP directly into a rock.
So far behind, their head's not in the game right now, and again, already in this back spawn area. I mean, it's just really quite hard to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Marco getting hit hard as well, and Angel Boy might be looking for that piercing shot. Little break there as well. They tried to kind of time that perfectly together, and Guesty not going to find anything there. He evaded the Walking Cane, 2 down the right-hand side, and he's still putting up a big fight on the RT here as Nob, and kept them both back quite well.
Big rocket rain there from Guesty. Oh, look at this. Both sides toppling by Chaos is low, though. There's a great rocket from Guesty. And now he will stay standing. 2 versus 1. FUTTE Esports firmly in control at this moment in time. And ready for this round, Sabim. I mean, he's got such a battle here. I just don't see how it can be done.
Yeah, Sabim's got a dream, but it's not going to happen. Quickly shut down then by FUTTE Esports, and I'm not going to lie, the Brock kind of did get Angel Boy killed by breaking the only wall that was keeping him alive, but they had a plan, they did well, and kind of executed it in the long run anyway, making that a 2v1. Chaos going to get caught out on the right-hand side, and that's too many times that he's fallen. And Marco's going to be joining him too, and oh, I don't even know what to say.
It's not even close.
Oh, speak for me.
I was going to say, I've never seen you speechless. Trav talks is now Trav's mute. Are you good?
I don't know if I am, because this is just absolute night and day. We had such an incredible game for our the first series of the EMEA Monthly Finals. 3-2, a massive upset. And it doesn't even seem like Heretics are in this game.
Yeah, they are all over the place. And as the sets go on, FUTTE's confidence will only grow. It's just like they're just walking into shots. I mean, quite literally in their last game as well. And it's just like they've always admitted defeat before they've started. It's such a weird thing to see.
Yeah, it really is. DPS-wise, I mean, we don't expect too much on Knockout, to be honest with you. 5 kills from Nob, putting in a great showing, staying with Guesty. Angel Boy stepped out of line a few times. I think Guesty got him killed in one of the games, to be honest with you, by rocket rain in the wall that kept him alive. But he did, to be fair, overstep in a couple of those rounds and get himself killed, which gave Heretics a bit of a chance. But I think at the same time, they were still very much in control.
I think for me, FUTTE Esports have got some very high expectations of themselves. And Guesty smiling at the moment. The job's not done. Team Heretics have got the ability to bring this back, but so far, I've just not seen enough from them. I really haven't.
We're not really seeing a lot of him there, to be honest with you. He's hiding behind his cap, I think. Hopefully we'll see more of Chaos in this next set, along with his 2 rookie teammates. He said he had faith in them. He thought he was going to be able to make them better, and he thought that they were going to make him better in turn as well. But We're yet to see that at the moment, as it does seem to be the side of FUT Esports who are running away with it, and they get pierced too.
Yeah, Ring of Fire, that's a very, very good start. Hand for sure. Pogo, Mortis, Amber, Ems, Finks, and Ems double banned out by Team Heretics then. That still leave some good options. Spike has got to be the pick for me from Team Heretics. That would be a good help. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Good insurance policy for tanks in the later game, and good range also, and the ability to be able to have something on the zone as a deterrent for the objective.
I mean, this is the thing. How many times did we see Spike pop up yesterday to see him really not showing too much today?
Banned out all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very different here. It seemed like we were kind of letting him slip through a bit more in the East Asia region, whereas here in EMEA, they like to keep more of a wrap on him. The mean are going to go along with it as well. I like that. We've seen some great things, and no surprise after seeing it in the first set, taking it away from Angel Boy too.
Frank isn't banned here. I think for FUT Esports, they could play into the Spike. We've seen crazy things in the meta now since the buffies. People just don't seem to be scared of it. Otis, for me, feels more like it's either doubling down on the idea to have the best counter for Ali or a tankier idea. Now, realistically, Team Heretics can't consider it, can they?
It's going to be tough too, to be honest with you. It really is. And they need some range, I feel. They need range. They need a kind of defensive measure against the Ali that's going to be running rampant behind them. I feel like there's so much still left to be desired for this Heretics side here. So we'll see what they're going to take. We've got 7 seconds until they have to go with it. But the Ali is going to be a real thorn in the side here, I feel. They go with the Frank, they are going to go with it. And that kind of makes it a bit harder for Ali to just jump on everybody and kill them. But Otis still going to be a real issue for Frank and Pierce if he can hit those shots whilst he stood stationary. He's going to get hit hard.
I mean,
no range.
Frank into Otis.
No range either.
No range. I mean, it's just super hard to hit the Ali. I just don't see it here for Heretics. I was hoping to see a draft that would give me confidence, but really all I'm seeing now is FUT sweeping this series.
Listen, my predictions say that they were going to. So, at the same time, I don't mind it. But Heretics, I want them to put on more of a fight, because our predictions are slowly but surely across the board becoming extremely unreliable. And I'd like to see us keep some reliability at least. Sabine in the back lines then, trying to fend off Angel Boy, doing a good job so far. A couple of shots jumped over, and there's another one as well. He's doing wonderful. And Angel Boy survives, and very little of Heretics do.
Look at Guesty as well, dodging these shots. I mean, that's absolutely beautiful. And Angel Boy making light work of Sabine on his alley pick, as you'd expect. I mean, now, a gadget, nicely done there by Sabine. That was not easy. And objectively, actually, not much in it.
Pierce shot there, and Chaos going to get obliterated with a bit of help from Guesty there as well. Angel Boy sitting on the water here, and a muted Sabine, not going to be able to get too much done. He's just going to bounce on top of him there. Lovely stuff. Percentage-wise, it's not that bad. They're still in it, but they're getting no kills.
Yes, child's play. Honestly, possibly one of the most one-sided matches we've seen so far. But it's still not over yet. Heretics can make good on this, but time really is running out. Angel Boy just going crazy. Finally goes down to Marco. But realistically, considering how Heretics are playing, I'm actually surprised it's as close as it is.
I've got to say, that's lovely from Marco, to be honest with you, and that pretty much brings it even in terms of percentage. Good clip from Sabine there on the edge of Angel Boy as he was trying to get around that wall, and a wonderful pull into Angel Boy. Now, coming through with the hypercharge in the back lines and a wonderful mute from the Otis before he went down. But Team Heretics still in the lead, but I don't know how.
Marco's doing fantastically well in the zone, being able to dodge and juke his way just to buy time. Sabine now using the HP and the life plant of that Spike gadget now. Just being present, doesn't really matter about kills necessarily, as long as the time spent is there. And now for esports, they've got a lot of catching up to do, 10% needed. They've got to knuckle down now.
Sabine so low and not really healing either. Marco just about evades that super coming in from the Pierce, and Angel Boy going to go straight towards Sabine here. Might be able to get the kill. Jumps on him once more, but so low, and the Pierce shot hits. Guesty trying to keep them in it, but he's going to miss that hypercharge on Chaos again, who comes onto the zone. And Heretics didn't seem in it, but they're playing the objective, and FUT are going for kills.
So close. But is it? In terms of this set, that was very, very neck and neck. But I still feel like the mechanics are thoroughly with FUT. And as time goes on, they continue that. the spawn cycles are not going to be in the favor at all of Team Heretics, and this will just be reverse swept in terms of the set. But I'm going to be so confident about this, but Marco's cooking a little bit better now. Good super already from IKAOS and Angelboy weak on the left-hand side. It's almost 20% for Heretics in the opening few seconds, but now for esports, starting to gain some momentum in the mid.
And Marco doing well here as well. The life plant thrown forwards to keep him in the mix for a bit more time. But Sabim just yet again walking onto the zone and dying. But they're getting the percentage. They're getting it done. And that's what Heretics need to do at the moment. Focus on getting the wins rather than the kills, which Foot seem to be doing.
Well, they find Angelboy lies gadget there from Sabim despite the mute. Now able to push up with the helping hand of Marco, body blocking for him. This is better from Heretics. Hypercharge from Chaos as well. Angelboy, though, in the back lines is lurking, and that's going to be a threat. The life plant ball helping hand, keeping Marco and Sabim in the question here. So Angelboy goes down as well, and Heretics are claiming things back.
Yeah, but the percentage is still so bad for them. They're not getting anything at all. Throws the super out to try keep Chaos back. Guesty's getting hit again. Just about evades that second curveball. And Angelboy trying to get some work done. Needs to bring Marco down here, who's doing an incredible job. There's the hypercharge on Sabim. He might fall as well. And they're slowly clawing this one back, but Sabim just narrowly surviving in the back lines.
Angelboy still on that left, but Marco having super now. Looking to deter things. Knob, low. Good taps from Marco, but didn't get the life plumb the way back. He's having to juke his way around things. Chaos the most alive in terms of HP now. He's missing a lot of these shots.
They're just walking on. That's all they need to do at the moment. Just continuously walk forward. Angelboy's not going to be able to kill Sabim in time here, and Marco a bit of assistance. There's the gadget again, and he's just staying alive time and time again. This is going to be a Heretic set. To be honest, for the start, it didn't feel like it, but that one felt a lot better for Heretics.
It felt better, but is this just delaying the inevitable? That's my reservation there. Regardless, the Heretics, they needed a lift. They needed something to be able to discuss between matches that would give them at least a glimmer of hope. But there's still so much work to be done.
We're heading into another set 4. Proves once again just how competitive this region truly is. FUT Esports showed up big time in the first 2 sets, showing us what they did in scrims as well. As mentioned, best scrims results so far. Team Heretics now turning things around here. Trev, I feel like the draft also really went their way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no matter what FUT Esports were doing, the Heretics were just on the zone. They just didn't seem to have enough DPS to deal with the Frank. Yes, Angelboy was doing a great job. He was doing absolutely everything he could with what he had provided. He was getting kills. Piers was hitting shots. Otis was hitting shots. But all the damage in the world just wasn't cutting it.
I mean, 2 of the brawlers that have been picked up most were Frank and Spike. They're showing up here again. Mina also amongst our top 3, at least, from brawlers without buffies that are super strong. Looking at the stats here now. As you said before, we see FUT Esports playing for kills, whereas Team Heretics is playing for the objective, and that's why they win in the end.
Hot zone is not about kills. That's the thing. If you're able to cycle the Frank, the big beefy brute onto the zone, and then Mina with the maneuverability, you know, over a matter of time, it's just logical, isn't it? And Team Heretics, though, that's what worries me. You know, they're depending on that sort of game style, whereas other game modes are more likely to be dictated by how much you stay alive.
We're heading over to Bridge too far now. The heist map where it's all about winning your lane. And Trev, we talked a lot about it before in the match SK versus CMN. We usually see at this turning point the team that finally has won a set doing a bit better. They finally found their stride. Do you think FUT can claim this one 3-1 today?
I mean, there's absolutely a possibility. Team Heretics absolutely see more in that than they had done in the past 2 sets. So we're seeing improvements to them set after set after set. But they still need 2 in a row against the FUT Esports team, who so far, in my opinion, has been dominating. Yes, we might have had a few issues with the draft in that previous set, but FUT Esports, if they get another good one here, I think they're going to be perfectly fine. Heretics started things off with an alley, and then over the other side, we're seeing the Otis and the Chuck for FUT Esports.
Love that Chuck pick, but Cordelius is still open. Team Heretics having someone just sitting back with that. Go a long way. Nanny, though, going to come in. Interesting stuff. Not even going to have an answer for the Chuck. Maybe just want to go and run it down. And I mean, it wouldn't be the worst of ideas. Extra credits from the 8-bits. I don't think if they're trying to do a base race, they're going to have a damage boost to even helping hand it. I mean, where's the value that you're going to be able to earn running down the field? I think that they are playing a risky game here.
with how quick those picks came in, Team Heretics knew exactly what they wanted to play. Ali, of course, also a brawler that can walk over water, or rather dive below it. So definitely a good brawler for Bridge Too Far. Mina coming in as last pick for esports. They did have her also on Super Beach. It did fairly well for them, Trav, so I feel like that's definitely a good pick. They have something for defense with that Otis, Mina, which is an interesting take on such an open map, but with where she is in the current meta, I'm sure she's gonna still do well. Chuck, for me, always kind of a timer. He will eventually do damage to your safe. You can't really prevent that, so I like to just go with more DPS, quicker, faster, beyond that safe, and I think that's what Team Heretics is trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very good so far for in terms of drafts. The Mina was solid, as you said, in Brawl Ball. It was doing so much. It was being the aggressor. This is not a map where you'd usually see her, and that's why I question it just a little bit. Marco here playing through the mid, long jump towards their opponents. Angel Boy needs to set up some of these posts and get going to really get the damage in.
It makes perfect sense to target him really much at the beginning outset of things. The faster the Chuck can get set up, the shorter the game will inevitably be. You are effectively against the clock as soon as Chuck is starting to whiz down towards your safe. So a good start from Heretics in that regard already. 25% of time in the damage was down for Sabine. Already immediately taken care of as well there. Jump straight back in. The mute onto the 8-bits will still demise. I think now Chuck can't be far away from being set up.
Yeah, really nice move there from Nob as well. Just had to wait for him to get those kind of jumps and ammo out the way. Lovely super there from Guesty as well to stop Chaos from going forwards with that TP. Still a lead at the moment for Team Heretics, but they've got to be very cautious about this Chuck.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a lot of damage. A great windmill there from Guesty will deter a little bit away from Sabine. Now being aggressed on his left-hand side. It is neck and neck, but Heretics have got to keep up the damage rolling in because the Chuck is a menace on the side of foot.
Yeah, really nice here. Chaos on the right-hand side in the bush. There's the Fat Splatter just keeping him back for now. That's 8% left, and Angel Boy will get it done. They were being dominated for the first half of what we saw of that game. As soon as those were up, they knew they couldn't overcommit, which is what they were doing, and it was working. Overcommitting, getting the damage was working for them. But as soon as the Chuck's there, getting damage, they have to split that, and they can't match the damage.
And Heretics approached it the right way, really focusing their attention onto Angel Boy, delaying that Chuck setup. But they have not drafted a defense for it, so they have to really get this game done as quickly as possible.
Did you know you
the
can
longer
pet
it goes
me?
on, the
Check
more
out the
it
Pet
only
Cafe.
favors foot.
Yeah, well, good kill early on as well, but Guesty will get that one and pop up a shield there too. Chaos gonna fall as well, and Nob picks up the mid. Couldn't have really asked for a better start in terms of positioning now for esports. But they are still about 15% down.
Marco tanks some nice shots there, saving the safe. But again, it's Angel Boy on this Chuck that is going to be the problem. And Team Heretics are slowly advancing, but not getting enough damage. There's one safe crack, but Chuck is going to do that in one single swoop.
He set up so early here as well, like there was really no fight for it. And now he's going back and forwards. He can do this over and over again. Marco will pick up a kill. Nanny will TP down the right-hand side, but it's going to be so hard to manage. Guesty going for Sabine as well, and he gets that kill. That's going to stop a lot of DPS coming forwards. And Chuck straight back the other way.
Second safe crack inbound for Foot Esports, but in the meanwhile, Heretics have one of their own. But look at this damage raining still in by Foot. They're almost on their final crack, and Team Heretics are nowhere to be seen.
Well, Angel Boy there again, going for the safe once more, gets the final crack. Team Heretics up top aren't even defending now. They're trying to base race it, but they're a crack behind. And 8% down the bottom as well is not looking good, as both the Mina and the Chuck get the job done for Foot Esports in a 3-1 against Heretics.
A very, very convincing one for Foot Esports today. Guesty did so well for his debut, I've got to say. That was my only reservation, and I'm glad they proved me wrong in that regard. Heretics were nowhere today. One single set based purely around agility and HP on the zone and hot zone. Outside of that, they were just all over the place.
Foot Esports takes this one 3-1 in the end. Looking very strong in the first two sets. Team Heretics didn't really stand a chance up until set 3, turning things around seemingly, but Foot Esports claws their way back. I did expect this quarterfinal to be one of the closest ones to the Trev, but maybe even a bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, even the set that Heretics won, it looked like they were getting dominated. Which isn't always the best thing in the world, but they were playing the objective really well in that set. This one, I mean, you can just see 128,000 damage on the safe by Angel Boy. As soon as he got set up, if they weren't far enough ahead, they were losing that game, and they weren't far enough ahead in either.
I think if you want to leave Chuck open, you need an answer. Either you play something directly against him, like that Cordelius we
It was open.
The Otis.
It was open.
Obviously picked up from the other side, so they could not go with the Otis. But yes, Cordelius would have been an option. If you don't do that, you need to go with triple damage. As I said, Chuck is kind of a timer. He wants to do damage faster than your opponent. And with the Ellie, that just didn't really work out, I feel.
I've never seen two brawlers be snapped up so quickly in the draft, neither of which answer the biggest problem on the other side of the field being the Chuck. I mean, it's not, no, it's just common sense.
You gotta respect the confidence, though. I respect the confidence.
I don't. I respect it if it proves the results, which it just didn't.
The big question in the end, Trev, you kind of touched on it already. How did Guesty do? That awaited player finally found his footing in the BSC, and how did he do?
I mean, I think he played very well. I think Angel Boy might have still been the shining light throughout. His Mina in the first set, his Chuck in that last one. I think Angel Boy is kind of the shining light in this roster. Guesty was so solid as well. I'm not going to take that away from him. He said he was nervous in the interview prior, and it didn't seem that way.
Didn't seem it. Yeah, didn't seem it.
We usually get a lot of emotions from Angel Boy. We remember World Finals, we remember LCQ. Did pretty well with his old roster, but I feel like he feels even more comfortable with this one now. All of a sudden, he's the IGL. He has to step up his game, but as you said, he seems to be super, super confident in what he can do.
Yeah, you got to remember, you know, in terms of this roster, you know, Angel Boy and Guesty coming together is one thing, but they've been playing historically for years in match arenas. So this is a synergy which is not the same as other rosters coming together for the first time, where it's a case of are they or aren't they, as we saw with SK Gaming. You know, this is two guys that have been like tied at the hip for a long, long time.
I think it always helps to play with teammates you know for a long time already, and this is also going to be our next match as we turn to Humble. Next, we want to have a look at the brackets, though first we need to figure out still who Foot Esports will face off against in the semis. They move on. FA CMN is their opponent. Let's see who will make it through to the grand finals. There, CMM, that young roster, the underdogs. If they can beat SK Gaming, can they also beat Foot after what we've just seen, Trev?
It's going to be a tough ask. Like, they should be losing to SK Gaming in reality. That's what should have happened. SK should be in the semi-finals against Foot Esports. And I think Foot are going to be flying. They're going to be very happy that SK Gaming have been taken down, because I would personally want to face CMM over SK Gaming. So they're thinking, all right, nice. Free route to the finals. And I don't think they can think like that. They've got to get their heads down, not really feel too overly confident about CMM. Otherwise, they'll fall to them as well.
As we've spoken about, we want to have teammates that we've known for a long time. Like, I'm super happy to stand with you here yet again. We have now Humble, 3 players who stick together every single year so far. This is the 3rd year they've already been playing together. On the other side, we have Big, Arthur, and Amos also sticking together for a 2nd year in a row.
Yeah, this is going to be a very exciting thing to see for me, whether Big can bring something here. But Humble, you know, they are just that rock squad. The winners, the champions of 2024, 2nd place runner-up last year in 2025. For Big, this is going to be a really, really tough one, and they know it. For Arthur, Amos, and now Salty coming in as well.
I'm
and
hungry.
I've got to mention as well, you know, Salty able to knock out his former teammates of Novo Esports in the qualifiers. That was a massive moment for him, and one that really came down to the wire, a 3-1 scoreline, so relatively convincing. For Humble today, the start of their 2026 season has got to be a solid one. We've already seen SK Gaming, who were the number 2, or the number 1 seed rather, coming into the World Finals last year. Humble being the number 2 seed coming into those World Finals, be upset. Humble cannot afford to be upset here today.
You want to stand alongside teammates that you feel comfortable with, so I thought I'd bring in another friend. Welcome back, Kenny. You watched the quarterfinals that just went down. SK Gaming lost. That was a huge upset today. You also voted Team Heretics to win. How are you feeling so far?
I'm fine. You just kind of get used to it at this point. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm wrong. It is what it is. I'm wrong all the time. I mean, a lot of us at home are too. I'm thoroughly impressed with this region, and I think this is something we're going to have to just get used to seeing globally. Last year in 2025, the World Finals were not what we expected. A number 4 seed from a region won the World Finals. This year, I think everybody has to be on watch. If you make a top 8, I'm taking you seriously.
Yeah, hope you take them seriously. CMM versus FUTTE Esports is going to be semi-final number 1. First, we head into HMBLE versus BIG. And HMBLE sticks together for the 3rd year in a row. Exactly why we asked Semantic.
Semantic, you've played the game for a long time, had a super tenured career. Last year, the last time the world watched you, you were 1 away from becoming a 2-time champion. How hard was this offseason, and did it make you question the team at all?
I don't think us finishing 2nd place made me question the team at all. Like, it is still the 2nd place in the World Finals. It is not a result you should be ashamed of. So I don't think anything should be ashamed, like, or that the team should split up or anything like that. Like, we're proud of our performance, and we just hope that we don't do the same mistakes in the next World Finals and hopefully get it, because losing in the Grand Finals, that one really hurt, honestly.
Even though they came in as the 2024 World Champions, they did say we don't have anything to prove anymore last year. But you can tell they're still a bit bummed out by that 2nd place finish.
Yeah, I think as well by the nature in the way in which it happened. You know, they swept Crazy Raccoon in 2024, only to be swept in 2025. That's very same stage of the competition. I mean, you know, it's a very poetic, you know, revenge is sweet thing, and it was bitter for HMBLE, and they want to be able to prove to the world that they are still as good as they are. It could have gone another way, it really could, but just on the day, Crazy Raccoon, you know, they fought through tooth and nail and were able to come out on top.
HMBLE, one of only 2 teams who swept through the monthly qualifiers with a 9-0 finish, not a single set dropped. On the other side today, though, we have a BIG. They had to go through the lower bracket and had a close fight with none other than Novo Esports, 2 old team members from Salty.
Yeah, I mean, battling against your replacement and then beating that person to get to this stage, especially with a new roster, that's got to feel good. I think Salty is one of the players I'm most interested in this region as a whole. I think there's something to prove there, and I think it's just inherently hard when you get dropped after 5 months being with a team. Month 6, they're fine, but in the LCQ in the World Finals, his previous team, SUP of last year, excelled. They overperformed. That has to hurt. That has to harbor some hard emotions. And for him to grow and now make it to a top 8 in the opening month with a brand new roster that was lower down the leaderboard last year, I think speaks for itself.
Yeah, for me, BIG, you know, they are that former experienced NXT roster, a bit of an experimental one at that. They're going to need a miracle to take down HMBLE in that regard. HMBLE are just so decorated. In terms of their experience, they are not going to be giving an inch to BIG. BIG are going to have to earn this one big time.
I think Arthur kind of was our guestie from last year as he came in for the very first time. Nobody really expected them to even qualify for a monthly final, and they even made it to LCQ Kenny. It didn't go as they wanted. They didn't made it all the way to monthly finals, but that's still a great success for an academy roster.
I think so too, and I mean, the way you put it, this team was looking for young talent. How do we teach them how to be professionals? And I think that's a great stepping stone, making LCQ in its own right. Oh my gosh, teams would beg for something like that. And now they have an opportunity in the top 8 here today. I don't expect them to win. Truthfully, I've been wrong for 2 straight matches though, so what do I know? But I think HMBLE should win this one.
Let's begin our quarterfinal number 3 on Golden Coach.
Draft hiccup, but then again, you know, they've got such a great team behind them. Kanan's one of the best drafts in the world, in my opinion, so I just don't see this not being a sweep, but hey, we've been wrong so many times already this year.
Semantic picking up that Pierce. It's not the first pick. Pierce, for me, one of the best brawlers in the current meta, but BIG clearly follows a different strategy with Bray. Always love to see RT on knockout because he brings that long range at the beginning of the match. And once he has his super, he's so good. The smoke comes in from the sides. He's super tanky. So he's kind of a brawler for both the beginning and the end.
I'm really excited to see this one. I think a free square here, kind of in this form of Pierce. If you see Gray go first overall, I respect it. I think it's a good brawler. I don't necessarily think Gray's enabling anything on his team. I think he's just kind of being a standalone brawler. A lot of the times we'll see Gray send in an enemy, or excuse me, a teammate with that teleport, and they're pairing it with something like a Squeak for area control and Meeple. The one thing that strikes me about this roster arc is that they're very squishy.
Yeah, big time, and certainly with Pierce. As a first pick brawler, RT, as we know. I was going to say, I was not expecting that. I really was not. I mean, Ruffs would have been a great pairing with the RT, but Piper, it makes sense as the final pick brawler where you can see the big picture and you're not leaving yourself open to any big heavy counter. You know me. I mean, Piper is my favorite brawler. I often forget her and say Rico because Rico's kind of more fun to see pop off, right? But Piper here can do amazing work. Some great break potential, Piper charge, all those good things, and I think that that could be a good final pick. Squeak, gonna go down in 2 shots.
Humble, last time you saw him on your screens, fighting for a second grand finals at the Worlds. And now they're back in EMEA 2026, hungry to hoist another trophy. And on the other end, unproven talent. Had a great start to last year, but Salty dropped at one point. Now Arthur and Amos, they're pairing alongside him, and they immediately get a kill.
Yeah, Semantic falls at the first moment. And this is kind of really quite bad now for them because it's an early stage. It's going to allow Big to get a good amount of utility behind him. Nice wall there from Salty, or from Arthur rather, but with no super to hand, cannot tap Lukey through it. Still, boss on Lukey can turn this around. They just need one single kill to even out the playing field.
Early kills can certainly change an entire round. At the professional level, a 2v3 is a death sentence at time, and Big are playing this very passively. Meeple Mansion going down. Boss going to be cut off. A missed walking cane, but a tag nonetheless. Now a 3v1 situation. Lukey in a world of hurt right now. A lone pierce, a single shot brawler to win this would be impossible. I think Lukey knows this. He's hugging this bottom left-hand side, going to try and inch closer to the fog. Doesn't want to feed any supers. Charges one of his own, and will concede until round number 2.
Did in himself a super, which could be very helpful in this next round. Very rare to see Humble falter early on, but I'm sure they will shake it off just as quickly. This is what concerns me now, as we see dimensional doors available for Salty. Amos as well has a super Semantic targeting him. I think it's a good idea.
Super available, so Lukey will pull the trigger, but a Meeple Mansion on the bottom left-hand side going to cut them off. Both sides just working towards those supers. You got 2 on that right-hand end. Amos has one with Squeak. It can deal some devastating damage, but on the other side, Humble lacking in that utility category.
I think just keeping things under control until the gas comes in is Humble's game, but look at that. Salty will miss the walking cane. That's a big misstep, but nonetheless, Amos comes in to helping hand at just the right time. That's huge from him. Getting down boss now low. Oh dear, this is not the start for Humble in a 3 versus 1. I don't think even Boss can do this.
This game number 1, especially the round 2, really showed what the gadget from Meeple can do. The Mansion can enclose enemies, and then they've got Walking Cane from Gray, and an area shot from Squeak that covers multiple spots on the ground, so you can hit multiple enemies at once. That's a piercing damage shot. When I saw Gray initially, I'm so used and I guess conditioned in my brain to see him with very aggressive or tanky brawlers, ones that want to be up in the face of enemies. I love this creative choice. They first picked the Gray. It doesn't telegraph what they want to do later on. And then they took a really nice pairing here in this tandem of Meeple and Squeak. I'm really impressed with that game start.
Big already making some plays, which I love to see. An early break, a little bit of that grassy area by the Mansions of Meeple of Arthur. But look at this, a nice pinch between Semantic and Boss. Does make light work there of Arthur. And this is back to Humble in the way that we know that. Trying to find Salty now, who's low HP but healing up. And he's still dangerous. One walking cane and a few taps could bring things back into order, but it keeps getting missed by Salty.
A lot of times in Knockout, you're going to see these teams be very passive off the start and a lot of action at the end. However, there's no aggressive brawlers. There's no real in-game advantage, I would say, for the blue roster. So I think if you're Humble, outside of maybe some RT static, you're really going to want to play for these early games. So getting a frag in those closing moments, a lot tougher. An early lead like this makes things much easier.
I like how Semantic and Boss are working really harmoniously together there as Lukey finds a nice pickup. Salty now going to be going into the gas, and it makes a lot of sense just to try to preserve things and not continue to feed more over to Humble. But, you know, Boss with these amplified shots allowing Semantic then to follow up with a nice homemade recipe gadget or just a few taps that connect does make light work. But it's still Humble that are behind, but now coming back around, 1 round away from tying things up.
East-West battle, one of the unique features of this map in particular. So Big going to branch out to that right-hand side while Humble full force on the left.
Hypercharge super available for Semantics. Keep an eye on that. Unfortunately for Luki, he is going to be trapped right now. Dodges, doesn't get through the walking cane though, and now Boss has to make up for it. Can't compensate for his fallen teammate. Semantic, 1-on-2 situation. Piper can dish out a lot of damage, but it's going to be difficult. Again, similar to Pierce, single shot brawler, sharp shooter. Going to be really, really hard to bring down 2 full brawlers.
But I would love to see it, and it is doable. Semantic's still going to pop a gadget. If he dies quickly after this, then it will take a while before he's able to rekindle it in the next round, though. Salty, yeah, just got to go in now, get this done. It will mean that he's lacking a little bit of utility coming into what could be the final round of this set. If Big can bring another round to the table here, kind of strange to see Humble cold to their thumbs, really.
Definitely an unusual sight, but 2026 has definitely been an unusual year to start. EMEA no exception to that. Semantic will continue to break away at these walls. Long-range Piper, just gonna take to that left-hand side, hide in the grass. Luki does the same on the bottom side. Salty not revealing himself yet. I think ideally he's waiting for a walking cane opportunity. Wants to try and catch Luki off guard, so he needs to be careful.
Big playing very cautiously now. Waiting for Humble to make that mistake, I think, is quite important for them, as Humble have got that experience to hand. They will be the team which will be looking to really capitalize down on those mistakes. So we'll get shortly back into the game as quickly as we can for the moment. Big are still in a very, very strong position now with one game in the pocket and a round away from the set.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for y'all on how this turns out. But nonetheless, Big certainly with an impressive start. Humble are the tenured team. The ones with all the history and the success, have a world championship, a second place in 2025. And I'm sure they're going to be hungry for it. So players clearly coming out of their camps. We'll get an update for y'all on what that score ended up being and who won. Based on the comms, though, I feel like this has potential to have been a 1-1 situation.
Certainly, I'm noticing a bit of nerves from Salty for me. A couple of missed gadgets. When he hit them, it normally led to the takedown of Humble. But a lot of the time he was missing them, and they were still within the Manchester people gadget. So there wasn't really anywhere Humble could go. But for me, Big so far looking a lot better than I gave him credit for coming in. Massively so.
I'm rather impressed. I think that's just been a takeaway across the world. I think if you didn't watch East Asia yesterday, you see Zeta Division win, you say, it's just another month. Top dogs winning once again. But the road to get there was certainly much more convoluted than that. And I imagine EMEA with the start we've had today, I mean, something like SK Gaming dropping the ball early on, not on my bingo card for 2026. I got the chance to talk to Semantic earlier too, and one of the things that we chatted about was just how difficult it was now that the first month is so important. They know how much it means, and it seems that they have pushed themselves to a 1-1 spot, both sides with 3 members on the field. So we're jumping into game number 3.
Humble not taking it lying down. That's what you like to see. A good break there from Semantic just to keep things again between himself and Boss. I think the long game will be the way to win this. Semantic has to come in clutch here. Big taps because Boss is in a perilous position. Everyone on the side of Big is low. Amos and Arthur just alive now. But it's a 2 versus 1. Luki would make light work of that with that piercing shot. Lovely from them.
And that's going to be round number 1 for Humble. Still more to play in this set though, as Big take a long-range shot up the middle of the map, so Luki will have to retreat. But the left-hand side has been entirely opened up, so advantage Humble.
Again, big taps from Semantic. Salty having just to be very cautious here. And Luki will not be able to do too much unless he taps these shots. That's why the bush is such a great place for Big to really hunker down within, because by doing so, at the moment, it's really tough for him to be able to make that Pierce have the maximum value into the late stages of this round. Players still competing, although we can't see them just for now. They are continuously playing on, so do not worry. It will absolutely be still counting. But you can see Big there looking very, very cautiously optimistic as they are against a Titan, a world champion roster.
If Big can somehow make Humble bleed in this first set, I think it would be a huge confidence booster. I mean, already making it this far, being signed by Big, clearly this organization sees something in these guys, especially after for 2 of them, what was kind of their first year getting into the BSC. Seeing some fist bumps going down from Semantic. That usually is not a bad sign, but nonetheless, we'll keep you all updated. Rest assured, the players aren't being under any stress from this completely fair in terms of competition, so all good on that end.
Well, for Humble, I'm sure they did not expect to come in and struggle in the early outsets, but can confirm they were able to bring this back and claim the set and dodge a little bit of a bullet there, because we saw earlier today CMM versus SK Gaming. CMM got that first set and started to run away with it. So I think that the way that Humble were able to recollect themselves in that regard says a great deal about their experience.
Humble are in a spot now, especially with SK Gaming going down. They were the preseason #1 seed. I'm excited to see them keep going, because I'm sure they smell blood in the water. If you see SK Gaming go down, what was likely going to be your adversary down the line, now that they go down, it just increases their chancing at winning that first month. And like I talked about with Semantic, Brawl Cups on the line, World Final spots on the line. In the first month especially, it impacts your seeding for future months. The easier and the better you do now, the better chance you have in the postseason.
We do still got some replays for you. Looks like Humble took that first set 1-0 up, kind of like we expected. Arc, they looked really, really strong here. Big though, in that first game, it looked like that could be another upset today.
Yeah, I was a bit worried for a second, not gonna lie, but you know, this is what I love about Humble. They are that squad that even if the early outset doesn't run too smoothly, they more often than not can regroup and just kind of keep their calm. A lot of other teams tend to get flustered. They are not that squad. They are just so even-headed, which I think says a great deal, because if you look back to like 2022 Semantic, 2023 Semantic, what a difference has made for that boy, because he was the loudest, shoutiest person on the stage. You know, you could hear him outside the venues. Now he is just now one of the most focused and most locked-in players in the whole of EMEA.
Yeah, when they first brought this roster together, nobody really saw them make it all the way to the grand finals of the World Finals, and then they ended up winning that with a streak that made history. They won, I think, every single one of their matches 3-0 that day. So that was very, very well played by Humble. Decided to stick together 2025, now again also in 2026. Coming into today, they must be feeling some pressure, but the way we know those players, they don't really let themselves be affected by that at all, Kenny.
At least in interviews, Semantic was very clear. They don't feel any differently about this one. I think they just realized the importance of the opening month. There's no 2x points in the second half of the year. In the past regular seasons, while Humble have been phenomenal in those LAN settings, they haven't always won monthly finals. I mean, cumulatively on their 2-year streak right now, they have 2 out of what was 6 last year, 5 the year before that. It's pretty normal stuff for EMEA, I would say, and I think in this region, especially out of all regions, winning 1 to 2 monthly finals might just be enough to put you at the #1 seed.
And Humble has had a history of only ever becoming second. Also last year at the World Finals, then second yet again. They never really made it through the monthly finals as the winner, Arc.
Well, a lot of the reason behind that in the monthly finals was because they kept running in to SK, who, by the way, are gone today. Spoiler alert if you're just joining, gone. First hurdle. So, you know, that was the team which they struggled to beat time and time again. And I think they had 3 losses in the grand finals to SK before finally getting a win over them. If they can just make the grand finals today, at least I'm sure for them, in the back of their minds, that's one less thing to worry about. But for Big, I'm really impressed so far. I think they've shown a good showing, although that set didn't go their way. It absolutely could have. But the question is now, you know, as time goes on, Humble are only going to be getting stronger.
Big's in a good spot still, though. I mean, they put up a fight in that opening set, so I definitely think they're out of the don't think they're out of the equation yet. I mean, especially considering all the upsets we've had. But also for an organization like this to take interest in these players, I think goes to show the promise that they have, that this is somebody we should take seriously. Despite maybe being surprised that they beat a team like Nova, who I certainly expected to be here, I think that just goes to add to the resume.
Humble stick together, like we mentioned. And then on the other side, we have Arthur and Amos. They have played together last year on that roster, Experience NXT already. They dropped Rob, now picking up Salty. How is that gonna make some changes to the team? Rob, we knew as a very aggressive player. Is Salty gonna fill that spot?
I mean, Salty did amazingly well, and like we were discussing coming into this matchup, for all intents and purposes, absolutely deserved to be at LCQ. So I feel like at the moment, despite seeing a few signs of nerves, a few missed gadgets in that last game, I think that could have been a bit of a difference maker potentially in those moments. I think that he'll settle down in the next time. I mean, it's a tough matchup. I mean, if you're Big, you know, coming into this one, a great qualifiers, I think for themselves, a big test of their skill set to ensure that they get that win over Novo to be here in the first place. But this is not the match that you want to do when you finally qualify for a monthly final, is it? Your first round and you're facing world champs. You don't want to be here.
And Salty, of course, is super happy to even be here. It was a close race in the monthly qualifiers, as we mentioned, between Novo and Big. So now, Kenny, Salty already got that revenge against his former teammates. What happened exactly last year?
I mean, it's hard to say. You know, I think he has the opportunity, though, and why I'm so interested in him as a player is he has kind of a shot at changing how people look at him. He went from playing with the team for 5 straight months, helping them work towards that postseason goal, and then right before month 6 is booted for Enraged. He had to sit there and watch as his previous team won through LCQ, had a heck of a showing compared to their expectation at the World Finals, and I think a lot of people are just trying to do a little math. Okay, the second he leaves, they suddenly have success, and he just has to sit there and take it for months. And now today, revenge against Novo, a previous teammate, and his replacement. And then he has an opportunity to take on somebody like Humble. Even if you lose, as long as you have a strong showing, I think this is a successful month for him, but as the year goes on, it's going to have to be a level up.
But one thing to add to that, though, I've got to chime in, is the fact that I think Enraged was incredible at LCQ.
For sure.
Incredible at the World Finals. It's just the nature of the game, you know, and those decisions can only come from the teams and the organizations. It just was a sour taste for Salty, you know, no doubt about it. But Enraged, phenomenally, you know, I think that actually paved the way a lot for what Supermassive were able to achieve, you know, at the World Finals, at LCQ, and one of the biggest upset stories of the entire season. But for Salty, definitely, he's on his revenge arc this year, no doubt about it.
Novo obviously not here today, but that's certainly a team we could see next month as well. For anyone who just tuned in now, let's have a look at the bracket once more. What went down today so far? And I think that quarterfinal number 1 had a huge upset in store for us.
I'm hungry. I mean, SK Gaming for me, I had Humble winning before today started. I have him as the preseason number 1 in this region. I feel still good about that. I still feel okay about SK Gaming on the year, but when you look at today and yesterday, still plenty of matches left to be played. If you want to quote-unquote look at a biggest loser, there's no doubt in my mind is SK Gaming right now. I mean, Reject yesterday, definitely somebody that struggled compared to what we expected, but to lose to FACMM, who weren't expected to do much, I would argue that nobody really looked at them as a top 4 or 5 team. I'm sure predictions at event.brawlstars.com barely had them in the winning category, so for them to get this dub, really exciting for these players. I mean, easily the biggest accomplishment of their career.
Yeah, I feel like, for me, SK Gaming will be so utterly disappointed with their performance today. I feel like they will be, you know, coming into the next monthly final qualifiers, having to really shake off that dust. And again, not taking anything away from CMM because they played so well. I mean, you can see that they've already prepared for this match. But SK know that they can do better. Absolutely for me.
I'm excited to see what they can do here. And the next one as well, I mean, Team Heretics, Foot, an exciting one too. SK Gaming CMM obviously ended with a banger. I mean, went all the way the distance of a 3-2, had the world watching. It's tough when somebody like Navi, so coveted in the offseason, became just immediately erased in our starting of the year. I mean, that's a tough impression. That's a tough way to kick off a season, especially with Brawl Cup on the line. I mean, you can see it on Yazi's face right there. Just stressed out. I don't know what to expect from SK Gaming next month. I'm not necessarily hopping off the bandwagon, if you will. I still think they can be top 3 in this region, but going to something like a Brawl Cup, getting the number 1 seed in this region, just got so much harder.
Semi-final number 1 is certainly one I'm looking forward to. Seeing that young roster that we haven't seen too much so far of face up against Foot Esports. Foot had a great run also against Team Heretics. It was a 3-1 in the end. We kind of expected it to be a little bit closer arc, but Heretics showed up to fight. It just was not enough.
Yeah, I mean, Heretics for me, I mean, what can you really say? Their performance today was just quite abysmal. I think the SK,
wow.
You know, it was.
It
really was. They were just not in the game at all. They were like, honestly, the worst I've ever seen Heretics play. I'm just gonna say how it is. That's how I feel. It just was really poor.
I think I just expected more from them, especially from Guesty coming in on his first day. I have high expectations for Foot this year. Obviously, Guesty has been hyped up throughout his entire career, long before he made a debut today. So for me, I took Team Heretics and what I thought was going to be about a 3-1. Foot have been phenomenal. Easily one of the standouts for me from watching scrims around the world. So much promise, but I feel like I just felt lacking, I think, for lack of a better word. I mean, it just felt lacking. It didn't feel like the Team Heretics that I expected, especially one that in qualifiers crushed it. And that was really what shifted the tides for me to beat a team like Navi 3-0, one that I respect, one that I think has great potential this year. And then just to drop the ball in the top 8, I don't know what to expect from them.
That was for me exactly the thing that I had reservations for, is that they destroyed Navi so easily in qualifiers, and then qualified through the upper brackets, and now we see them just kind of really not showing up at the monthly final when it matters. I mean, for Esports were excited for this. You could see it. It was written all over all of their faces. Guessy's been waiting for this moment, and he just didn't hesitate to capitalize down on it, and he was just like a duck in water. He really, really was. And I can see definitely today being in the grand finals as a result of this starting hand, but for Heretics, I just expected much, much more.
Yes, I also expected more from myself with my predictions today, honestly. But
it is what it is.
After yesterday, I think you can just predict whatever the casters did not lock in, and you're gonna be fine, honestly. Yeah, today we had some different brawlers picked up from yesterday. We talked a lot about those buffy brawlers, Frank, Spike, and Mortis being the most picked up, and oh, surprise, all three of those have buffies. Only 6 brawler in the most prominent ones. In EMEA so far, the most picked brawlers are Mina, Gray, Gus, and Otis. Why is EMEA now following our beautifully laid out path for them?
Well, it's because they're in the ban stage. They're not allowed to be played right now. It's just one of those things where I think if you have 6 brawlers in the game with an added feature, naturally, buffy brawlers are going to show up at the top more often than not, right? And I can't blame players at all for that. They're all very powerful. I think Gims is the best brawler in the game. I think Spike might be the most versatile. I think Pierce is right there with him, though. That's another brawler that I'm expecting throughout the day that kind of catches up. You mentioned Mina, too. That's a top 5 brawler for me as well. I mean, it's still an unbelievable utility kit between the gadget, between a stunning super, all great things. And especially with our map pool right now, I think both those brawlers really fit it.
I think, like I said, coming into the day, East Asia tends to leave things open and just kind of like, EMEA do not do that. EMEA is like a more cautious region. They like to be able to eradicate the things that they know are going to be troublesome and then work the draft as it goes. But in East Asia, they're just a bit more relaxed, I feel, when it comes to leaving things open. It's just not the same story in the EMEA.
I think when we came into this weekend, obviously we're here all together in Copenhagen, a beautiful studio, and we talked a lot about expectations. Who will win the whole monthly final, which brawlers are going to be picked up, and we kind of talked about how the Poco double tank meta is back. We see some iterations of that now with Pam instead of Poco, even though Poco has shown up in scrims so often. What happened in between scrims from last week and now that Poco just has no showings?
I feel just like teams adapting along the way. I think when you look at the data especially, it's quite obvious to see when teams are really focusing on having that as a comp and when they are susceptible to other ideas being the difference maker. I think that it can be one of those things that can give the helping hand big tankier brutes like Frank and other tanks, but they've also got some hard counters too, hence we're seeing a lot of Shelly today.
Yeah, I think it's just some great adjustments from pro players as well. East Asia, for me, Poco showed up a decent bit in their scrims. The region as a whole, though, was clearly prioritizing these aggressive brawlers yesterday. And that was something that stood out to me. I mean, we got to the point in maps like Hard Rock Mine and Double Swoosh, we were running Spike in the middle of the map, a super often lane brawler, a squishier brawler, and they were just willing to take the gamble because the other 2 brawlers they picked were the Mortises of the world, the Lilies of the world, anybody with face-to-face combat. They just absolutely adored it. So to run something like that, it just blows my mind a little bit. I mean, even compared to something like Worlds 2025, such a stark contrast in what we're used to seeing.
What is always an interesting topic in that first monthly final, we're discussing all of those roster switches yesterday. It was a huge topic around Betterman versus Levi, who has gotten the better switch. Now SK Gaming dropped their IGL, Joker's gone, Noe comes in, they seem super confident but drop out immediately. Is it just, if you stick together, you're probably gonna do well? Is it because they lost their key player, what happens in between November and February when we finally head into those monthly finals?
I think for me, for SK Gaming, it's still so early to say whether that's a roster change that is not going to work out or just maybe some synergy issues. It's not even necessarily sometimes synergy. Sometimes it's just kind of brawler preferences that just don't blend with what is already in existence in a roster. So that can become more obvious as time goes on. Obviously, with what is only 6 monthly finals, decisions will be made faster, I think it's fair to say, than they have in previous years. I just hope for SK that they just can resolve it as quickly as possible. That's the underlying thing, because again, they should not be losing. They tend to lose in the quarterfinals sometimes, but not against teams like that.
On the question of what happened in between November and now, we also wanted to know from Semantic just how they prepared in those few months. They're one of the only ones who did not actually have to switch rosters, get used to new communications, new languages for some of them. So let's hear it from him.
With the first month being more important than ever, Brawl Cup on the line, less spots in EMEA overall compared to past year, what is the pressure you're feeling in the opening month compared to previous years?
As I said already, like, first monthly final is the most important one. I actually tweeted about it like some minutes ago as well. It literally decides your World Cup slot, your World Final slot,
Welcome
and your seeding for the monthly
Hyper
qualifiers for the next
2010.
tournaments, which we know historically, like, first place has an easier qualifier all the time. So, me personally, our team, we don't feel too much pressure. We know we gotta do our job, you know, we gotta get at least semis, and possibly at least finals to be in that World Cup position. So, we're just gonna do our job, we're gonna play as much as we can, and I honestly, we don't feel that much
I'm
pressure.
hungry.
Ring of Fire now, finally the map we're gonna see Poco. Yes? No? Maybe another Gale, Kenny?
I mean, it's a maybe for me. It is unusual though. I mean, Poco was one of the standouts for me that didn't show up yesterday, like you mentioned. So it's kind of something I want to see if that's just an EMEA thing, if it's other regions in East Asia was just so aggressive to the point where they're willing to run triple tank / aggro. It's just an unknown for me. So I definitely think this is one of those maps where it could appear though.
I would like to see it. I just feel like if it's going to be played, there's a lot of ideas that could be just hard shut it down. And I think in qualifiers it works better against some squads that were maybe perhaps not as accomplished along the paths, but I feel like EMEA maybe are just a bit attuned to how strong it can be.
In a perfect world, no bans arc, what would be your comp?
No bans. I mean, I'm all for the cheese. I'm saying run it down. Give me Pogo, Frank, and something else for good measure. I know it's not Trav's flavor, but if it works, it works.
Trav's got to learn. He's got to learn how to deal with it.
Well, sadly, this is not a perfect world. We do have some bans in place, and one of those is Poker, alongside Ems and Spike from the side of Humble. Big on the other side. Went with a Juju ban, not a brawler that I expected to see in such an early stage. Ember and Gray also banned out. Ember was one of those brawlers we saw very often in this region in the icebreaker before the season even started. Pierce is going to be first picked up, and Kenny, you already said how good you think this brawler is currently.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think Pierce, especially at a professional level where these guys more oftentimes than not are landing those shots, his biggest benefit is that he deals solid damage already, but if you're cycling in shots, you're reloading ammunition, and it just steamrolls into kill after kill, and that super covers so much area, especially in a mode like Hot Zone, where all the action's revolving around a central point. Having something like that in your toolkit is nice.
Nice to see a Frank here from Humble, in my opinion. You've got the Mina to be able to dash and stay predominantly on the zone, the windmill gadget as well to protect the Frank. Despite not having a Poco heal, I think it's definitely what Humble would like to get their hands on, but let's see whether it is the second brawler that they pick up or if they risk it and hold it out for a final pick once they can see the big picture. That wasn't a pun, by the way, that was just literally following up. Finks though, yeah, I think player safe could be definitely better. Finks, we already saw today getting some good results on Hot Zone.
I think Frank definitely a good call here. Still Arc probably now picked up by Big instead. Let's see if they're also going to combine it with another healer. Pam could be that option. Still left open. Byron. Let's see what Big decides to go with. Finks and Mina actually the two most picked brawler in the scrims from the last 2 weeks. So Humble gave themselves definitely the opportunity to take this set. I really hope Big know what they do, and seems like they're going to follow that strategy that Arc and me talked about.
Yeah, Pam is one that's always kind of been in the EMEA rotation. Healing station here is so nice, though. And I'm looking at the other side in Semantic and Boss so far. Finks and Mina don't necessarily scare me off from that Pam. I think it'd be rather oppressive. And if Humble wanted to sixth pick something aggressive or a tank, something that wants to be up in your face, Pam with the Scrap Sucker gadget is going to be a great shutdown.
Okay, let's see what Big will be thinking. That wasn't what I was.
No, Frank!
Okay. Big being kind of wild. And again, there's a third and final pick still to come here from Humble. So what's stopping them from just shutting this down immediately with a Shelly or having a Frank as well? I mean, these are crazy ideas coming out here from Big. I guess they're intending to, yeah, Frank going to come in. Lace and Bush, Frank's going to be able to clear a lot of that. is a cheesy idea here from Big. It can work, but I feel like with the Frank, you know, that is going to be a brawler which will just repeatedly be looking to unhinge the strategy that Big are trying to bring in here.
It is so cheesy indeed. Humble on the left-hand side has 3 of the 5 most picked brawlers on the map overall with the best win rates. They have everything they need to win this set, but maybe Big knows something we don't. They have just the answer to those very meta picks from the side of Humble. Rosa, definitely did not expect her. I do know Inso loves this Rosa. Arthur had talked to me beforehand and said Inso thinks that she's indeed better than Frank. Let's see if he's right, Kenny.
I mean, this is a wild composition, and it kind of makes sense when you look at the bans now. Getting rid of Amber, Juju, who's somebody who thrives in grass with a long-range shot. It all adds up a little bit, or at least gave them an out to pick it at the very end. I don't think Humble ever had to really worry about it, though. Lukey in the middle of the map. Gonna have an early start here for Humble, and unfortunately for Big, could be a bad break on the start.
Yeah, I feel like Big, looking for this cheesy strats, are taking a big risk in that regard. Humble are just not playing into it at all, just playing with a much safer draft. And since we're still having a couple of issues on the spectate side of things, the players will be unaffected. That is the most important thing to remember here, that competitive integrity will still be remaining. But for now, it's tough to say who has got the better start. Humble, 22%. Definitely got on the zone quickly, but now that the healing station for the PAM is all set up, it does give Big a bit of a leniency in that regard.
Humble certainly the ones in the driver's seat, at least to start that. A more traditional composition, I would say, to say the least. It's hard to say where that comes from. I mean, where does the Rosa come into play for me? And I feel like it's either a strategy that they so wholeheartedly believe in, or it's just something so crazy that they don't think Humble's going to expect it. Sometimes to me, those like out there picks scream desperation. And I'm curious to see if for Big, this is a strategy choice or one of those throws to the kitchen sink and see if it works.
Yeah, it's like throwing a spanner in the works, isn't it, really? Trying to just get inside the minds of Humble. We've seen time and time again some of the best teams in the world being quite affected by the cheesier of the strats. Humble there towards the end had a hypercharge on the Frank, so likely to have been able to tie up that set, but we'll find out briefly how they kind of ended things off. For sure, one thing I can say is that the faces of their opposition of Big do look a lot more nervous than Humble, which is kind of what you expect from a team like Humble, who have already been able to raise and lift a trophy.
When I was talking to Arthur, I'm sure that turned out to be like a 40-minute discussion on how Rosa is not meta and why. But yeah, I would have loved to see how Rosa actually fares in this match here. We at least are gonna have the result, and we're of course on it to still show you some gameplay. So yeah, bear with us here. Rosa, she has that shield. She has nothing to stun the Frank, to make sure that he doesn't stun her. So I really don't know, with no knockback, how that's gonna go down. For me, this set is kind of already won by Humble if I just look at the stats and at the brawlers they have in their hands.
I think in addition to Rosa's on the table, I don't think Humble are necessarily looking out for it. The bans that they had, sure, something like an Amber can get rid of grass, so I see why they go that way. But if Frank's still on the board, every time Frank uses a super, it breaks down whatever's in front of him. There's just all that grass that they work for, one super, and it's gone. So I think that's something lacking. I mean, maybe that's something they felt comfortable with still, but to me, just obviously we can't see what's going down there, but at least in terms of logic, that doesn't play for me.
We apologize for the technical issues. As said, we are behind them, so bear with us here. Ark, Big is one of those young rosters that made it a lot further last year than we thought. Last year, EMEA had 9 spots for the postseason, though. They just slid through into LCQ, and then unfortunately they didn't make it through. Still a huge success for them, but this year, EMEA is not blessed with just as many slots.
This is the biggest of statements to make, really, in my opinion, because, you know, any other year, we would never have seen Experian NXT in that LCQ. It just would never have happened. You know, did they have a good performance? Yes, I would say that they did at the LCQ, but regardless, I just felt like, you know, their results coming in were just really the worst in the EMEA region. You know, and they were saved by, you know, SK Gaming and Humble at Brawl Cup being able to pull in the results and allow additional qualifications in LCQ.
Big actually takes that first game. They're still going now, so sets not lost yet. Humble can still turn things around. Rosa must have worked out better than we all expected. Pierce, of course, and Pam in that roster in this comp also are two super strong brawlers, so they're not completely without those meta brawlers. Big, one of those teams that have never really struggled against any of the tier 2 teams in the past, Kenny, but so far, did they ever beat one of the big names such as Humble?
I mean, kind of what you said, Ark. Experian NXT last year were number 9 in this region, I believe. I mean, barely made monthly finals, never made semifinals. I think for them to get a win here would obviously be the biggest moments of at least 2 of their 3 careers. Salty's been around for a little bit, has had success, has gone the distance, not necessarily get a big grand finals win, but has been around the EMEA borderline top 4 to 8 for a while now. For them, this would be massive. I mean, even taking a set, I think, can definitely change the confidence.
Yeah. It's going to be a very big win if they can be able to achieve something over Humble here. I don't necessarily see it. If they bring out the cheesiest of the cheese and can try that way, then maybe Humble will fall victim. Looking as well like they are under pressure in this set, and that is unlike Humble. So it could be a way around things.
It's 1-1 in that set now, so they're in game 3. It's super tight. Kenny, you actually had a talk with Salty earlier. Let's listen into that.
Despite how last year ended, obviously you've landed on your feet. You're with a brand new team. What's the difference between previous years you've played with and now playing with Big and your new teammates? What are they bringing to the table?
Well, if I need to compare it, I think nowadays I have more like family-based environment. I feel like we are all much closer, even though we don't know each other for that long. But yeah, like everyone is really supportive, really motivated, and we share the same goals and the same values. I feel like the team can really work.
Salty, thanks for taking the time. Best of luck today.
Thank you.
With Ring of Fire behind us already, Humble takes the lead 2-0. They are looking really fierce today, just as we expected. Finally, something goes the way we expected, honestly. But yeah, Humble, as strong as they looked, only second at World Finals, second at World Finals.
Yeah, only.
And last year, we said, Experian NXT didn't qualify for all of the monthly finals. Humble also didn't qualify for all of the monthly finals.
I mean,
There's levels to this. There's levels to this. Yeah, there's levels to this.
To still come second in the world after missing monthly final, I think it's allowed. But for Experian NXT, you know, it wasn't just one. It was many. And, you know, they would not be at LCQ if it hadn't have been for the performance of the EMEA region of Brawl Cup. That's a fact. But if they did have a good performance at LCQ, but they just shouldn't really have been there.
They shouldn't, but Humble, being the reigning world champions in 2025, also should have qualified for every monthly final, in my opinion.
But you can say that they should have lifted the trophy being former world champs. I mean, give them a break.
I can't expect perfection, and in this region especially, Humble won a world finals, and that's equal to the number of monthly finals that they won that year. That's just how difficult it is, especially in a deep region like this, to compete. And the defense of Humble a little bit last year. I mean, second place, like you said, just second. Incredible result. Back-to-back year run. But only 2 teams in that entire region made every monthly final. I think that goes to show even more impressive that Humble were still able to go the distance in the postseason.
We're hoping to show you some more gameplay now, heading over to Bridge 2-4. This is one of those maps I am excited about, so yeah, let's hope the gods are with us in this one, and we are gonna see some gameplay. Bridge 2-4, one of those maps we talked about before. There's a lot of water on the map, and which brawlers do we want to see because of the water?
A Stu, apparently, according to you.
No, I give you such an easy way into this to sound smart, you know?
Ali for me. You said water, I think Swamp, Ali, instant connection. It's somebody that's been one of the most banned brawlers on this map. And on top of that as well,
I know.
On top of that as well, I just think it's one of those brawlers right now that in a pro player's hands, with enough time in the game as well at this point too, since her release, it's very threatening. It's very frustrating. If you're mechanically skilled, that is when the brawlers are going to be excelling at the most.
Ark, any other brawlers that come to mind talking about water?
I mean, I'm ignoring the water for the moment because, again, like on this map, I feel like a lot of the bands are not really catered towards the water side of things. And the Chuck is wide open. It's the first pick by Humble. The Cordelis is banned, as you'd expect, but it wasn't earlier today. So Big now have got to really consider how they approach this. The dive comp is a little bit off the table considering they've banned the Melody themselves. It's already looking quite tough. I feel like, you know, there's a lot going on in this draft that Big may have overlooked.
As mentioned before, though, you answered Chuck with dive. Melody out of the way, so let's see with what they go with instead. Cordelius also banned out, so Humble was secretly hoping to get this Chuck. The only other brawler you could pick up to defend him is Otis, and he is going to be picked up. Now Big still needs a lot of damage on their side. We saw earlier, Kenny, already today, how it goes if you don't have the DPS to at least match with Chuck.
Otis inherently is a brawler that is kind of a DPS brawler, but I think more importantly in this situation is going to be used as a mute button onto the Chuck. Chuck has a ticking time clock. Every so often, he auto-charges that super, rushes down the middle of the map with his train stations, and does a little bit of damage. You either answer with the most insane defensive thing you can possibly think of, or you can go something more of a hybrid. Otis with that super, and then if he gets to the other side of the high safe, deals enough damage to where it's worth something.
Now following up with, I mean, they love the Colt here being banned out by Big, though. That's something which they've been astute to be able to secure. But the long-ranged approach to be able to back Chuck up, it just goes such a long, long way here. Nanny, I think we're going to see a lot more of Nanny actually on this particular map. It's very viable now as that same pressurized strategy to be able to have to keep going in the safe as the Chuck, the TP potential as well with the warp. Can really just add to that pressure. And Big, with just the Otis so far on defense, Pierce can have some defensive capabilities too, so not overly worried by that. But so far, I'm much preferring how Humble are shaping this one up to be.
8-Bit, also one of those brawlers we've seen quite often today on Bridge to Far. Going to be the last pick here for Humble. So they have a lot of range and good defense with this 8-Bit in the back. Chuck, once again, a ticking time bomb, will eventually be able to do damage. And then Big, I would have loved to see a dive come from them. Can't really do that with the Melody band out there. Then they go with Pierce, also a bit more passive, a slow-paced race here. They just want to hold on to control, defend Chuck as far as possible with the Otis. Now finally we need some damage. Kind of was hoping to see that alley that you mentioned, Kenny. Ember maybe. Carl is fine too.
Amber was on the mind for me as well, but most importantly, to your point, DPS is necessary. Sometimes I feel like teams get too fixated on heist specifically in matchup dependence. But this is a game mode where the objective is not necessarily to get kills, it's how quickly can you get your roster members across to the other side. Peeling away at that heist safe, and I feel like that's something Humble's composition is definitely more apt to.
We shall see how Big approaches. But following from your point, there's a lot of DPS lacking. The Carl was a bit of a saving grace coming in at the final pick there, but prior to that, I mean, there's not really much there to shred through a safe, and they need speed on their side. Salty down the mid already, leaving 2 shells there, but can't really push forwards to get any value for it, and Lukey already has a peek.
Lukey now going to be trying to traverse across that map. Uses the teleport, so he'll be doing damage on that top left side at the bottom. Shots going down from Amos, but I don't think it's going to be enough compared to something like a Chuck and a Nani. I think that's going to be a little more profitable for somebody like Humble.
Salty under a lot of pressure already on this defense. That shot went to nowhere as well. Let's see as Semantic is already set up with the Chuck. It is close, but now that safe is cracked and leaving it in a position where Humble should be able to finalize things off faster than Big with the amount of DPS that they've got can.
Being on that last stage of the high safe, I imagine things a little bit easier for Humble, especially considering how much of a base race that was, but all of a sudden things looking much closer. 1% away from penetrating through that next stage, and it's going to be a tight race. 10% now left. Figuring out what's going on off screen here as Humble have a super down, looking a much more defensive stance right now.
Well, for me, that was dangerous actually towards the end and much closer than I think it should really have been. There's a lot of credit to Big, but nonetheless, Humble now on a match point position. And they should be able to finalize things that they can keep their cool. So far, they've had a few hiccups along the way. First set being the main one for me, but they were able to still bounce back from that. So with that in mind, they should still be able to secure it here.
1-0 up in this set. And like you mentioned, just one away for Humble to make yet another semifinal, something we're certainly used to seeing from them. For Big, just making it here, I think a large win in their books. An organization taking a chance on some younger players who showed some promise last year, but like we said, just the number 9 seed in a season like this, where there's only 4 current spots, Brawl Cup dependent, on the line, can get a whole lot tougher. Whole nother expectation with a big horde behind you. And for now, they're going to be taking a massive lead. I mean, 35+% going down, now even clawing their way past that. A little bit closer now that Humble strike back.
Yes, a much better start here for Big. Arthur now, that right-hand side, getting a nice positioning. Pierce from the mid. Will be tapping through. Well, Big can just stay in position, evade this Chuck coming back. Salty's low HP, just needs to get to the side. Oh, that was close. It's safe now on this final stage. If Amos can stay in position, now goes down. It's going to have to be a solid defense here from Humble. Arthur is going to be able to surely finish this off and delay Humble from being able to secure this win. Now, up against the match point still, Big holding composure. If they can just survive this set and breathe a little in the downtime, it'd be massive for them.
No room for error, safe to say. That looked like more of map control going their way, and I think their presence just in the middle didn't allow for any brawler other than Chuck. If that's the situation, now it becomes Chuck versus 3, and I'll certainly take the 3 brawlers on Big side in that case, so much better matchup dependent. Ooh, look at this. Double on the right-hand side for both teams. So Semantic being ushered by Boss Arthur. Salty looking to bat. Nice shot there as Salty just rapidly firing. Look at all the reload speed going down. Arthur already off into taking damage on that high safe.
Yes, perfect from Big. Salty and Arthur staying alive, juking these shots, getting the first crack off the safe before the Chuck is really very well set up. And now Salty getting so much damage. That's 2 stages in 30 seconds. And even with the Chuck, they're playing it brilliantly.
Humble just haven't been able to leave spawn. This is perfect execution out of Big, doubling down on that right-hand side. Lukey left all alone. Semantic just going for the extra tags. Boss left the fend for himself. Well below 25%. Now Big is just expanding to what might be a situation that just can't be clawed back on. The 2 couple shots going down and an easy set. I mean, we didn't get to see all the action in that first game, but games 2 and 3, my goodness, pretty convincing.
I was super impressed. From that drop, I just didn't see a world in which Humble wouldn't have secured that set. And I mean, against all the odds, for me, Big were able to hold firm. That's really, really very impressive. Against the Chuck, which is a ticking time bomb, quite literally. You were up against the clock to be able to survive on. They did fantastically well.
Good to get one on the board, too. I mean, obviously their tournament lives are on the line at this point. Going to a set 4 against Humble's got to feel pretty good. And meeting my expectation, I mean, obviously, like we said in the pre-match, I felt like this was going to be a Humble 3-0 despite my wavering confidence on every prediction I'll ever have this year. But nonetheless, it's reassuring to see that this team does live up to the potential that I know the organization sees in them, and a lot of fans at home do too. So awesome to see more depth in EMEA, the experience coming through of last year for some of these guys, and for Salty, still a revenge arc possibility.
I might actually just stop predicting altogether, so we can't curse anyone. That's
Can we do that?
It's not our fault. I will not take responsibility. I will not take responsibility.
Salty actually popping off on that Pierce, looking very strong on it, and Big prolonging this one a little bit. So far, we didn't have a single 3-0 in EMEA. I'm super happy with that.
Yeah, it has been the region that has, always delivered when it comes to that competitiveness and that closeness. We still get our upsets, we still get our underdog stories, but
I'm Mini
it's a great thing to see when it battles out towards those 5th and final set stages. I'm not sure that this one will go that way. I think that Humble should be able to lock in enough in what is a classic map and mode for them. But anything can happen this year so far, and we're only in our 2nd region, has been nothing short of incredible.
Let there be chaos. Let's see a set 5. I'm all for it. At this point, I'm just an agent of chaos. Let every underdog win. Let's go crazy. Let's go nuts. 2026.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
My kind of year. Maybe I've just been calloused by all the wrongdoings I've had this weekend. Rico, the #1 overall pick. Somebody that I think borderline can go into the ban stage. But one thing that's become super common across our pros on every region, you see the double shade ban there. You see the double mortis ban. Ali being thrown in the mix. Ims is an obvious one. But those aggressive brawlers have been removed immediately. It's the reason why, that's exactly what I was about to say, why Frank is showing up even more, because for some of these banned brawlers, they're being prioritized in other directions.
That phrasing of yours was actually so perfectly timed with the Rico. I thought you meant chaos when you said, let there be chaos with the Rico on the screen.
Yeah, I'm a genius. I don't know.
Usually,
it's
forgotten predictions.
Usually the player you think of when you see a Rico, but of course he's also going to do wonders in Humble's hands, as he's one of the best bowlers in the meta currently. Frank on the other side is too. I guess they went away from that Rosa pick all of a sudden. Gray now coming in as the gem carrier most likely. On a map like Hard Rock Mine, you really want something as the gem carrier who can get out of harm's way in some way. It used to be Janet very often. We see Gus very often. Pam now coming in a bit more often in EMEA as well, just because of the sheer tankiness. She's also very hard to take down.
I feel like Humble could benefit maybe here from a Gus, because that would probably be a big spinal pick if they don't. Kind of forcing their hand. 8-bit mid. It's kind of classic. Like 8-bit, I guess, in many ways. It hasn't been seen for me, at least for a while. The bush, obviously, is going to be where 8-bit can have that speed from the gears until the damage boost goes down. We tend to see it less used, but I think on this map, on this mode, you do need mobility, and that's one brawler which does very much lack it. And there's still aggressive ideas that could be a problem. I think the TP for the 8-bits definitely going to be under the thumbs of the Garrett side. And Shelly, Humble just really want to shut this Frank down.
I was looking for the anti-tank option because right now, if you look at it on paper, 8-bit currently faces down Gray. Gray, even if he lands every single shot in a walking cane, guess what? You're doing about half of 8-bit's HP. Shelly now counters the Frank as well. Rico is a phenomenal lane on this map. It's always been that way, and now that he's even more meta, it's even more menacing. Big have to have a perfect 6-pick here for me.
They do not want to have Frank on that Shelly. Need an answer to the Shelly. Maybe Spike could come in here. He's still left open. Another buffy brawler that would do fairly well. Has some range, but no. It's going to be Terra. Unfortunately, Trav's not with us here right now. He would be super happy to see her. Terra, of course, has always been one of the best bowlers on gem grab. With her pull, you can turn things around when you have to in the last few seconds.
Yeah, I kind of like your Spike shout, honestly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Taro here at all. I think that Taro can get some insane results, take out a lot of bush along the way as well. It's hard for me to hate that as a final pick, to be quite honest. I think that what Humble have got is still quite managed, but for Big, this Frank, it's got to pop off. It's got to tear off a lot of the ground and the covering alongside with it. But like you say, 8-bit mid, I've always been a fan of 8-bit mid. It's not here for everyone, and they can run into some trouble, but the ability to teleport away when things are getting gnarly, that's quite key.
I think you're going to see both sides make a lot of rotations here, because ideally Shelly is going to be looking to lock down that Frank, a shotgun brawler going to do very well into the big beefy man. And on the other end, Rico's just going to have to find a way to suffice against Tara. A benefit of Tara, to go further about that pick too, is that she has a super that can completely change the outcome of a game. In Gym Grab, a lot of times, even if you're winning the game for 80, 90%, you're the first to get a countdown. Say you get all 10 gems, it doesn't matter. As long as you're winning that 15 seconds at the end, you close out a countdown. That's how you get the job done. And I think that is the one benefit. There's a little upside with that final pick, even if it's not as traditional as it used to be.
Well, again, having a few issues on the spectate side of things, but do not fret. Your favorite players are still battling out as we speak, and we will get back to the action as quickly as we possibly can. I think in terms of the drafting, that's the area where Big have got the best potential to cause an upset here, because Humble, maybe not looking on their top form, I would say today so far, looking a little bit shaky here and there, but I think that one area that they've always been very consistent in is remaining within a positive headspace. I think no matter what in terms of the draft, no matter what in terms of the results, their mentality is always very, very sharp to these things. So back in again, and gems in their pocket, 2 there. Could be cautious to overcommit here for Boss. Should be able to escape back now, especially now that Arthur is taken care of.
Plenty of reason for Humble to be confident at this moment. 11 gems in their pockets, 10 seconds on the clock, and Big nowhere in sight. They can just slowly back away. Of course, Boss has a gadget if he really needs it. As we see those 11 gems disappear onto the bottom of the map. It'll be Humble taking the opening game, and once again, going to match point.
Locked in are the expressions. Humble not getting carried away whatsoever, and that is exactly the way to play this. They've got more control of the outcome, I would say, in Gem Grab versus Heist. This is more about just maintaining your lanes, keeping control, not overcommitting in that mid. Not dropping the gems, of course, most importantly. And the 8-bit is that escape mechanism for them. So I think they'll be feeling a little bit better about things so far. But as we know on the other side of the field, the Tara for Big, that is a brawler which can absolutely turn everything on its head in a second's notice. So I think for Humble, they can't overcommit, they can't get ahead of themselves here. but one game away still, and they will make the semi-finals.
That's the saving grace of Big's composition for me. I really liked what Humble did, and honestly, that 8-bit pick was a real creative solution. I mean, especially on that map in particular, Charlie was somebody that was super popular yesterday. Gus hasn't shown up a ton, but I think he's just safe, dependable. Pam, somebody in EMEA that's well known to show up on a map like this too. So the fact that they still reach into their back pocket and can grab somebody like that, and I think in a really good situation, I really love that one-on-one interaction with Gray. Because like I said, even if you land all of your shots, it's just not enough into somebody as tanky as 8-bit.
Well, again, Humble are on a match point position, and for Big, they are now under a lot of pressure to get this right, to hold on, to get to a next set. It'll be key for them. In the meanwhile, I think this is where Humble might just seal it, but we shall see. Unfortunately, at the moment, again, the Spectate is currently going through a few issues. We'll get back to it. It looks like Humble may have just tied that up. A little bit of a sigh of relief from Semantics, some fist bumps. It could well be that Humble have taken it.
Yeah, we'll get confirmation on the results here. Obviously, they were on match point here, but now going into this next one, looking like a little disappointment, so we'll do a little bit of a guessing game for now. Nonetheless, I still feel like Humble's draft just made a lot more sense to me than Big's. If you're Big, though, I think you have to be a little bit unpredictable. It just can't be that simple all the time, especially when you're an underdog. These are respected players. These are respectable ones. They've had some good results, but to beat somebody like Humble would be a big stepping stone for their careers.
And we are getting confirmation that Humble did secure that victory. They are in the semi-finals. They were able to bring things back to order. For Big, a very valiant attempt. It cannot be denied. I feel like some of the drafting really impressed me, actually. And certainly in Heist, didn't expect to see them bring back a set there at all based on that draft. So despite, again, I think some unfortunate, it was quite unfortunate, wasn't it, to really face up against Humble at the first stage of the monthly final, but I have no doubt that we'll be seeing more of Big in months to come.
From what we've seen, Humble looked very, very dominant in this one. Only 3 gems taken by their opponents. Looking at the stats here, Salty once again on the most kills. Anyway, Bridge Too Far was won by a Big. That's the only map we really witnessed, because we have seen Humble win so often in the past. We didn't have to see that. It was obvious how it would go.
Yeah, I feel like for me, you know, Humble, it's rare to see them really falter. You know, I remember last year when they didn't make a monthly final, we were just like, you know, jaws on the floor. The question mark of will they actually make even the World Finals? But, you know, they are that squad that are just so composed. And I think it was fair that they didn't take it to a 5th, because Humble know when they are looking down the barrel and they like to lock it.
We will gonna be taking a quick 5-minute break here, but stay tuned. We have more action for you afterwards. Welcome back to Copenhagen and to the 2026 Brawl Stars Championships. 3 quarterfinals later, we're now standing here with our 3 semi-finalists. We're just waiting for one last one. Looking forward to that last quarterfinal. One of the 2 that I felt like would be super close. Quarterfinal number 2 wasn't as close as we expected, but then we had an upset in quarterfinal number 1, Ark.
To put it lightly, I think calling it an upset is definitely an understatement. I think a catastrophe for SK Gaming here today. I mean, you know, they made the semi-finals of the World Finals last year, but then go out in the first stage to a very unknown roster, let's be honest, a squad that for the most part 2 out of 3 players only making 2 monthly finals last year. That was definitely not what I expected to start the day.
We've only had a taste of what 2026 has to offer.
Nice to meet you.
It's been a blast so
I'm
far.
Mini
And I mean,
Hype.
going into this quarterfinal 4, even more personal as we progress too. I mean, Dre, somebody with Navi now playing against a former team he coached, friends along the way. I mean, just more action to be had. This is going to be an awesome finish.
We had some of the craziest matches I've ever seen, honestly, in Brawl Stars yesterday already. I'm still a huge fan of WWL. They didn't make it all the way to the grand finals, but I'm looking forward to maybe seeing them again next month as well. Now, in EMEA, an upset again. CMM, maybe we're seeing them go all the way to LCQ. Who knows?
At this stage, as we know from yesterday, anything can happen. So it's still too early to realistically say. So much can change in just a single month. And a team that don't qualify, it can be out of the running. It really is such a tremendous feat for teams to dive in this quickly into the season, because you've got to perform on your A game. There's no time for second chances at such an early stage in the season.
We did just witness Humble qualify, so they are now waiting for their opponents. This is our quarterfinal number 4, Totem versus Navi. And who do you have down here, Kenny, as your winner?
I'm taking Reply Totem, but I do think this is one of the quarterfinals that I anticipated being a little closer. I see a world where Navi wins this one, but Reply Totem, if they can channel that same energy they had in 2022, in 2023 when Joker was on this roster, I think they should be favorites.
Let's talk Totem first. As you said, Joker rejoining after leaving them 2024 to join SK Gaming. He did have quite a successful run with SK Gaming. They landed on 3rd and 4th place in the World Finals 2025, but he obviously wasn't happy with that. He was not yet satisfied, so he's hoping that he can relive the first few years in his career ever with Reply Totem.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing to me because Joker had like the best World Finals finishes for SK Gaming consecutive years, but it still wasn't quite enough to be able to hold on to him as a player, and now going back to Reply Totem. And this was such an exciting thing for me to learn about, because you know, Joker was really that man responsible for bringing Reply Totem forwards into a new era for the organization. Like, they would always have a bit of a rocky start, and then they would absolutely flourish towards the end of the year. And you know, who can forget 2023, you know, lifting the trophy for Snapdragon Pro Series Masters. You know, this was for me Reply Totem as an organization when it was at its very best.
Funnily enough, with Joker, Totem had the most success throughout the season, the best monthly final results, but then at Worlds it didn't go all too well. Joker now back with Maru and Mauri, the oldest duo in Brawl Stars. They are now re-signing with Reply Totem for the 6th year, and 6 years, that's an eternity in Brawl Stars. So we sat down, of course, with Joker and wanted to know just why he switched and how it feels to be back with them.
Well, yeah, obviously I can assume it's a strange choice for many people because we had such a great year with SK last year. But obviously I've already played with Mario Mauri in the past, so I really know what I can expect from these 2. And it was more of a choice for them than of leaving SK, because Mario Mauri are such great teammates. We already did so well in the past. So yeah, we're just trying to connect to the past again.
Well, absolutely makes sense. Is there anything you kind of brought back from SK that you think can add to the Reply Totem roster?
Yeah, I mean, these past 2 years that I've been in SK, I've learned a lot, also especially to help of my teammates and my coach from Pedro. And honestly, there's some advice that he gave me that I'm trying to implement in this team as well.
Lovely stuff. Do you mind sharing what that advice is, or is that to be kept private?
I mean, you all know Pedro and how he is, how he sees the game. So yeah, sometimes we can play too aggressive with Totem, so Pedro always told me to play more passive, or like sometimes to not overextend, and that's what I'm trying to teach also Mario Mauri.
Rejoining with his old friends from 2023, he says that he also wants to bring in some advice from his former coach Pedro in SK Gaming. Does that mean we're now going to have Reply Totem cornering Bull?
Well, just to say, maybe, who knows? But just to say, I love that from Trev. Forever the journalist. Push
That's my
for
boy.
the real answers, mate. Love that from you. Joker, Maru, and Maori. I mean, this is a roster that I've been waiting for so long to get back together. The boys are back in town. But we have got to mention the elephant in the room. On the staffing side for Reply Totem last year, of course, was Drage. Well, not anymore. He is going over now to Navi and a close friend of Joker's. So there's definitely a lot of connections between these two teams. And if there's anyone who knows some weaknesses to Joker, it's probably going to be Drage.
I don't think this is a freebie by any means for Reply Totem. I know they're the ones that emerged through the upper bracket, but Navi are a scrappy squad. We've got Drage, who you just mentioned, was coaching Reply Totem, I would say pretty successfully. I mean, if you just get to know Drage, he really knows his stuff when it comes to the draft. Very intelligent, and of course, working with Lana for several teams over the years, there's comfort in that. Now they had a 2023 champ in Garo. I'm all of a sudden real interested. Navi took interest in these players too, obviously, so clearly there's something to be had here.
It's an interesting roster, an interesting matchup because Drage was the coach of the team they're now facing again. An interesting roster because it seems like Lana and Drage, even though they didn't even end the season together last year, Drage made space on that Heretics roster for Zar, they seem to be like magnets and just always find their way back together.
Yeah, and I'm hoping for them that they can really make this work better than they have in the sort of esports era and such. And we've already seen how Naui with SK Gaming didn't work out today, and we can't just take for granted the fact that Garo is a world champion. That's kind of clear here. Love the background, by the way. That is absolutely sick, by the way. And of course, an organization of Navi which have come back over to the EMEA region. It was such a household name, wasn't it? And then obviously went over to East Asia. Now back on home turf. But Drage, back in the playing role. And I've got to say in qualifiers, he was playing out of his mind. He was the strongest player, actually, and really, really championed his team forwards to victory, in my opinion. The question is, on game day, is he going to be a coach? Is he going to be a player? What is his role? He's definitely changed and deviated away from playing a lot of his normal safety net type brawlers as well.
And Kenny, in the monthly qualifiers, that's a decent run. They did come through the lower bracket because they faced off against their old teammate iChaos, at least Lana's and Drage's old teammate, losing to them 3-0, but Team Heretics is already out of the equation. Is that going to be motivating for them to see, okay, at least we're not facing this guy again today. We can make it all the way to the grand finals and take it home.
I think if anything, it makes it scarier, right? You just watched the team that beat you 3-0 lose 3-1. In the defensive foot, they've been unbelievable in scrims. I think they've been one of the standouts, not just in EMEA, but across the world. For somebody like Drage, though, I think he's one of the most interesting characters in all of EMEA, if not the world. It's very rare that you see a player, we can call it however you want to call it. I'm going to call it he got booted from the team. I mean, there was definitely a lot of drama that went down with that Team Heretics roster, and Drage kind of just kept quiet, waited for his opportunity. Totem gave him that as a coach, and that's a pivotal moment as a player. If you take a coaching role, do you come back as a player? And the fact that he still stayed in Brawl shape, and I think in qualifiers as well, was one of the better ones out there. Obviously didn't get a result in that opening one, but I think Drage has learned a lot from coaching, from obviously defeat over the years. I mean, he was a villain of 2023, 2024, forgotten, 2025. Call it whatever you will. I'll call it, like I said, getting booted from the team. And now he has an opportunity with a massive organization to shoulder that jersey.
And I'm with you, but the best thing about that experience for Drage last year was the fact that he got to leave on his terms. No one officially said, "You're gonzo." It was Drage stepping back saying, "I think this team would operate better without me." And that takes a really, really big man. It does, and an even bigger man to come back within the same year in a different role and leading a team through LCQ to the World Finals. I mean, the journey is, you can make a film out of that, couldn't you?
I do think that some of the best coaches stem from players because they know exactly what's going on in the mind of those players. And a coach isn't really there to explain to the players how to play the game. That's their job. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in that team. A coach is there to give the players a good feeling whenever it's not going how they wanted, whenever they may be 2-0 down, rekindling them and making sure that they can still pull off that reverse sweep. Now in Reply Totem, we don't only have Joker, that new addition, we have Maru that always have stuck together. On the other side, we have Drage and Lana coming back together. They obviously never really broke their friendship, even though Drage left. we have one more player that we need to talk about on this roster. It's GIORNO. He's the counterpart to Noe. We talked a lot about how Noe has never played alongside anyone other than his countrymen, now has to switch from Polish to English. GIORNO does have to do that as well.
It definitely makes you a little nervous after seeing SK Gaming's result, but I do think there's a maturity that you mentioned with Drage stepping back last year, now coaching, has an experience. I think he's going to be setting up his team for success. I'm still favoring Reply Totem in this. I know we've been talking up this Na'Vi roster, but I just think ultimately we've seen a lot from Joker and Maru and Maori as a combo in the past, and this one's just more unknown. It's the first month. I wouldn't expect them necessarily to win some monthly finals. I mean, I think even a semifinals for them would be a rather big accomplishment.
It's going to be a close one, I feel. This was my... I said that about this game number 2, didn't I? But that, look what happened, an absolute sidewalk walkover. But this was my real tough one to predict. I was toing and froing on this all day long. So it's going to be a tough one to see how it fares. I think Reply Totem, considering that they were able to continue their qualifiers and beat a team called WW, which was basically Alex Kubik, as well as Arthur, they are looking like a force that I'm sure we will see them in a later monthly final, because they are looking like a scary roster. Reply Totem went to match point. They were still able to persevere through it, and I think it plays a big role in their performance here today, because they're looking in a very, very good headspace.
GIORNO on that Na'Vi roster has just seen Noe fall down, his former teammate. They did lose SK Gaming in their first quarterfinal. On the other hand, we have Joker also see his former teammates lose in that quarterfinal number 1. So both of them just witness how their former teammates break apart, and they now want to do it better themselves. The maps for this series, we just saw them before. Just gonna check real quick. Ring of Fire is gonna be the first one. I'm super excited to see the iteration of the compositions that we're going to see from those two teams. Reply Totem, known to be playing a lot of tanks with Maru. Maybe now we're also seeing that influence from Joker and Pedro.
Yeah, and I think on the other end too, Na'Vi are somebody that traditionally Lana is that aggressive tank player, aggro player. It's much more of a split role now, which is something very interesting now that Drage has rejoined Lana. Previously, Drage didn't necessarily do that all the time, but they've kind of been co-piloting that, so I'm really curious to see how that dynamic goes down.
For me, again, this is a really, really tough match. And as we know for Brawl Cup, whoever wins this is basically going to have the better odds of being able to make Brawl Cup. If you lose in the first month, it's really tough to come back from.
And we know you're waiting for the match to start, so let's head straight into the action. Thank you for being patient with us. We'll make sure that this is a match you better be staying for. Thanks for tuning in once more. Quarterfinal number 4. So far we didn't have a single 3-0, so I want some bold predictions real quick from you guys. What's it gonna be?
3-1 Reply Totem.
Let's go all the way. 3-2 Reply Totem.
Totem is going to take it for both of you. They already get the Ems pick here with Spike out of the way. One of the better Buffy brawlers still on the table, but we still have Mortis and Frank left open as well.
Ems going to be that first overall pick, and I just can't fault them for it. Even on a map like this, where traditionally in the past, Ems doesn't operate as well in such open space. Instead, it's just such a powerful brawler to where I think you can't skip out on it. Pierce getting out of the ban stage. Lou, of course, more unique to this map. Same can be said for Poco. So now Na'Vi multiple options, and this is one that as a mid has really risen in the ranks.
I love a B pick here. I really do, but it's interesting to see that Na'Vi banning out the Poco, which was the helping hand on this very map in their qualifying stages with Frank. So choosing to really deviate away from that. Meeple as well. Really odd brawler you don't tend to see here, but the Manchester Meeple gadget will just eradicate so much of the bush. It's a very quick way of, all-seeing, all-knowing, so I don't mind it for that reason, but is it going to do too much outside of having that utility? I'm not overly convinced as the Grey comes in for Reply Totem.
Frank, Pam, Mina, all of those brawlers we've seen all day long yesterday and today are still left open and still not picked up by Reply Totem. They're gonna go with a good old Grey comp. You can teleport into the zone once you have your hypercharge available, even directly from spawn with a good shield. Charlie coming in here, they're probably afraid that Na'Vi will still pick up that Mortis.
I think this serves as two roles. Spiderlings into the single-shot brawlers. On the top of that, if Na'Vi go aggressive, which Drage and Lana both like to do, at least they have some kind of countermeasure outside of IMS. I like that Na'Vi zag from this, though. They know that this would be a very hard uphill battle to fight for a tanker and aggressive brawler with those two on the map. So instead, they're just going to try and empower their teammate. Maybe drop some sandbags into somebody like IMS, that's difficult. But into Charlie and Gray, it's nice. Rocket Rain could also put some pressure down, too. So multiple combinations.
Okay, let's see how each side will fare in this opening first set. Definitely feels like a strong map mode for me for Na'Vi. I like how they've approached things for Reply Totem as well. Definitely a rocky qualifier, but not as rocky as Na'Vi. Let's see. The Charlie, I think, is quite a key one from the side of Reply Totem. I quite like that pick. It's quite rare to see as well on this map, but they see already the mansions of people go down, but that's maybe not being used fully to its full extent to get rid of that bush.
People not going to have the most range, but of course can cut off the entire section of that map, and we all know the objective. Harbor that hot zone. Now Reply Totem, once that Meeple mansion disappears, can tie things up. Drade starting to step forward. Lana still doing some devious damage on that right-hand side, lurking in that grass. Joker, of course, going to have to help scout him out. Juggling just multiple enemies as Maori rotates the left-hand end.
Yeah, it's better for me. Na'Vi getting a good, strong foothold in here. And that's buff with Gero. He's going to pack a much bigger punch with the beat. Joker low HP there in the mid. And Maru thinking better of that right-hand side as well. Reply Totem are really quite struggling to be able to overthrow this mid so far, as again, another Meeple gadget cycles through, and you're going to see how much value Drage is getting off the back of this.
Just an impressive gadget, and having Lana, the better he does, the longer he stays alive, the better his teammates do. He's providing these dog treats so that he can give them to the teammates there. Meeple, B, gonna be charged up, and now with the purple button being popped, Maru is a goner. Long for this world is he.
Yeah, Maori cannot do much here, except wait for his teammates to spawn back in, and already the objective going very much against them as we approach 80% from Na'Vi. Joker straight into the zone and straight out, down by Navi's swift insurance of that takedown. And again, Maru and Maori, there's just no way that they can continue this up. Na'Vi will take this first game in a very, very swift fashion. Not really much to say there for Reply Totem, and it wasn't through lack of trying or lack of skill, just simply the suppression of this Meeple pick.
Statement game coming out of Na'Vi, and it was just an awesome combination of brawlers to watch. I feel like everybody's kind of having their eyes on these tanks and these aggros for a team like that. Like I mentioned, Drage is somebody that's not afraid to do it. Lana is known for brawlers like this, and instead, all control-oriented brawlers. Meeple, a mid-range brawler who can throw down a gadget. B, of course, a long-range sharpshooter, has those anti-tank capabilities. And Lana, out of all people, is running one of the biggest support brawlers in the professional scene.
Well, it's a better start, no doubt about that from Reply Totem. But now that that coverage is down, Maru can't have nearly as much to utilize on that right-hand side. The sandbags, Linan, will also allow him to give some coverage for Gero. Pushing around that right-hand side, he's buffing himself up first. If he can just get a couple more taps onto Maru, then it will be swiftly handed over to his teammate as well.
Ooh, a little kidnap there, so Gero gonna be eliminated. Maori, Joker, now working up the middle of the map. This time it's much more contested. Na'Vi are facing a hard spot to be in. They're trying to open up their map. B, of course, at the long range can at least fight against this. The other two more of those mid-range brawlers. But if they have those walls, it just allows Totem to stay positioned, peek around the corner, and gain HP. This time it's going to be a little bit of a trap play. Oh, and a little rocket raining down. Gets that elimination. Sandbags go up for protection. This is better from Na'Vi.
These rough sandbags are proving their worth. You can see time and time again just how reliant Na'Vi are on taking some of these Reply Totem shots. But Na'Vi are still behind in that regard. Reply Totem got a good, early, healthy start. Now both sides waiting for the first move. Maru straight to the zone for the TP and immediately eradicated. That is the breath of fresh air for Na'Vi to continue their assault.
Na'Vi are getting the reads right when it comes to the teleport, but Maru, super maybe too strong. No, Na'Vi shuts it down. And now in the 2v2, that super was pivotal. Lana having to deal with spawners, enemy brawlers still landing. Shots super available in the mid if they want it. Maru right back in, rearing his ugly head. It might be just enough for them to cycle in enough hot zone points to get this win.
Big taps from Drage, that's huge now. Gero coming in, tapping up Joker, and this could be a chance for Na'Vi to be able to turn the tides. It's still incredibly close, a lot of work done, as Maru hypercharge just completely turns it in their favor. Now this first set will be all tied up. Anyone's to play for, but it must be said, both sides here closely matched.
Gray is a big component of a win for Totem. They need to get that teleport down early. Even if the KD, as that game went along, kills starting to pile up, deaths to Reply Totem, as long as you're appropriately cycling these brawlers in and out of the hot zone, as long as one team member is standing in there, you can still make it work. You notice multiple times, Maru would jump on that teleport, activate the super. Keep in mind with those changes to M, she gets a half second where she is invincible. That is a pivotal part of her toolkit and a reason why Reply Totem were able to win game number 1.
Well, good gadget there from Drage yet again, as we see how quickly Joker can earn that teleport. Depriving the Grey early doors, and that's not a pun intended either, but there are dimensional doors for that Grey that Joker is desperately wanting to get down, and so far he's getting nothing.
B gonna have to back off, trying to free teammate Rage. Not enough though. The big sting doesn't quite connect with Joker. Still has to retreat for now, gonna be on the shallow side of the map, closer to his spawn.
Liking the way that both teams are being so cautious. All good friends, it must be said as well, so they do understand exactly how each other wants to play. Good slow connection there to Maori. That time didn't quite connect to follow up though. Now he's off the tiptoe onto the zone. Down goes Maori there as well. On the left-hand side, Maori, the hypercharge handed over from Lena. Now Drage can just utilize his hypercharge as well, and that's really going to be devastating now as Maori trapped in. Oh, and goes straight to the mid as well. Down and out.
Love how Drage positioned himself, but it's still Totem due to that teleport, who were able to branch out, reach brawlers from multiple angles. It's gaining them a lead more and more. They're approaching a 20%. Maru shielding shots for Joker, who stays in the back line, looking for single shots onto somebody like Drage, who now has to juggle a brawler in his top right. Lena has to flank over. There's just so much for Na'Vi to deal with.
Drage is juking beautifully well and is staying alive continuously. There's nowhere that he can't go as this brawler pick, and it's surprising considering how effective it's being that we're not seeing it utilized on this map nearly enough. Now Gero joins Lenan on the zone as now Na'Vi are bringing this back quite considerably so, and Reply Totem have got to go now, and it's Maru yet again. Another massive hypercharge for him, and Reply Totem will be able to claim that set, but they had to really push for it.
Stiff. At the end of the day, the big purple button pop coming out of that brawler was enough to defeat 3. It's the #1 brawler in the game, and I know on a map like this, it's not natural. Ims has a wide shot that sprays out, does piercing damage, and we're used to seeing either long-range options or maybe on those side lanes, throwers, aggressive brawlers. Instead, though, we saw quite a different matchup, especially into somebody like Meatball and Ruffs and B especially. The outrange game can be very real, and I think that's something that's difficult for these pro players right now. Of all maps, I understand not banning Ims here. You're almost daring the other team to take it. I think Na'Vi felt like they were equipped to deal with it, and instead, it's Totem coming out on top.
And I've got to say, I'm kind of surprised. I just felt like there was just so many amazing mechanics on display on the other side of the field with Navi. And, I just felt like they were on the zone, and at least, that was just my interpretation of the match. And until you look at the score to realize that actually Reply Totem are really getting more time on the zone than it seemed. Statistically as well, you can just see there on the side of Navi, a lot of takedowns. But, this is, again, a squad that for Reply Totem, I always felt this was where the organization was at its strongest. This is going to be going back to the good old days for Joker, Maru, and Maori. And I haven't really seen, in monthly finals, Maru and Maori looking this relaxed for many years, genuinely. I remember back in the dungeon that we saw them in previous monthly finals where they were looking so glum and down in the dumps, but they look relaxed, they look chill, they're happy, they're smiley, and, it's great to see.
There's comfort in that. In 2022 and 2023, this is when Joker was on the squad. Second place, back-to-back years. In 2024 and 2025, after a departure, leaving for SK Gaming, it's the worst seasons Reply Totem have had as an organization. Number 6 in EMEA in 2024, number 7 in 2025, 1 monthly finals grand finals win, a third compared to when Joker had his tenure there. In the regular season, it is safe to say that Joker has been a huge beneficiary. The good news is, for Na'Vi, they certainly put up a fight. I thought that they showed strong poise. They were winning the kill-death battle. It just fell behind just a little bit when it came to the objective.
In then to Bridge Too Far, and the first brawler in is the Nani. For Na'Vi, again, I want to see Drage's drafting capabilities shining through. as the draft was great in the last map, just was so close. The Pierce, the Angelo, and the Colt banned by them, the Chuck, the Amber, and the Kaze banned by Reply. TOTEM-HMBLE going to be open here. Maybe at this stage of the draft could be worth leaving open just a little bit. Lily going to come in for Navi. Definitely an interesting choice. I would expected to see more Lily actually in Heist this year so far, but it has been a little bit absent. It's definitely a cool one. I quite like it. Get forwards into the middle of the map, get in the bush, hide. It's going to be a very aggressive brawler.
Lily is a brawler that seems to fit like a glove on a roster like Navi, who have Lana, who have Drades that can definitely play those options. And to your point, it's a brawler that can show up in this map. It does show up, but not as recent as of late. I mean, not compared to brawlers like Ali, who are an assassin that show up a ton on this map. And of course, there's plenty of aggressive ones deep down the list if you really want to go there. Colt, of course, Angelo, long-range options that people are going to ban. I don't blame it. Pierce isn't necessarily somebody that's going to obliterate a high safe, but he's just so difficult to win on a one-on-one interaction. So it's going to be a split here on that 2-3 turn. Brock is going to be somebody more in that sharpshooter category. If they really wanted to, they could break walls. If you have Lily, don't know if they're necessarily going to want to do that. But if not, you can go with Rocket Laces and shift some lanes at a moment's notice.
Definitely still some options here. Juju, I still think, has a very strong place on this particular map. Otis for Reply Totem. That is going to be having the Lily player think a little bit twice, as that Otis predominantly going to be on defense. Reply Totem could go offensively now. I still love 8-bit here. Could be a good shout if Reply Totem wants to add that to that long-range affair with the Nanny and the 8-bit. Could be tough in that regard. But let's see how they feel about things. Eve wouldn't be a bad shout either to me. It would definitely be tough with the Brock and the Lily. It's going to be Daryl. And that's one that can work really well. I'm surprised that more haven't tried it out here. Yeah, I don't really have more to say about it. I think it can work.
This is one of those brawlers I alluded to further down the list if you want to get aggressive. And I think it makes sense, especially in this instance up close to Brock, easy elimination. But in somebody like Lily, you have to have an answer for it. And they kind of get two birds for one stone. Otis is somebody that's hyper defensive, that with the mute button can combat Lily. But now you add another brawler who's fantastic at high safe damage and can do damage into Lily. A shotgun brawler is typically going to beat Lily. However, Navi with a 6th pick get a great defensive option. This is a brawler that on Heist historically does nothing on that high safe. He's going to be glued to the bottom of the map, stay on the shallow side, and just look for eliminations to make sure that they're not falling behind.
Allow me just to clarify my previous point. I think that Daryl can work. Not now.
Fair enough. We didn't have all the information. That's not on you.
Now.
That's not on you.
That is a great response. It really is there from Navi. And I've seen matches where literally Daryl is just a waste of space, when that causing just takes it out of the equation. Let's see, though, how it will fare and whether for Reply Totem they can get some value from it. Already some good value from Gero onto the safe. We'll get a stage crack as well, maybe 76. Ooh, just 1 degree shy.
Maru, though, forced away, which is most important. Lana needs to be careful, though. He has to stay glued to this brawler or make sure he's doing enough high safe damage. And it's not going to equate to something like a Daryl. Thankfully for him, Gero is there to make up for it. This mid-battle, something to keep your eye on throughout the entire set. It's now Maori, who's typically going to be wanting to shut down tanks, has to duel a longer range option. Maru climbing his way up to the top. Lana there to meet him, but Joker, of course, can punch through that next zone. Totem with a massive lead for now, but there's some serious work being done on the bottom of your screen.
I love this from Lana, just already shadowing Maru on that Daryl pick. But now, Reply Totem gets a safe crack as well. Navi, on the other hand, just a little bit ahead. Reply Totem got to be a bit more cautious on this defense. As Gary now through the mid, no one's there for him. Even he's going to be able to get some consecutive taps there onto Reply Totem now. Maori on the right-hand side doing a lot of damage here for Reply Totem, and that will be a game going their way. They couldn't quite find the balance on the side there of Navi. And so far, so good for the boys in green.
Totem locked in. Impressive. I just think this is a composition that can work. The Cordelius has been doing a great job of removing Daryl. It's the other two brawlers who are getting away with it.
Yeah.
And that's a function that they have to figure out here in game 2. Cordelius going to be matched up instantly with Daryl. If they let him loose, it's an even easier win for Reply Totem. That's going to be Cordelius' job, but Lily has to find a way to excel. And we didn't see Drades do that quite as much as you would have needed in that game 1.
Here we go. A much better start for Navi. Maori has to change lanes towards Lana. It's going to leave some rockets to fire down from Gero. Now a stage safe of the crack. All but as the same while I'm saying it, Reply to do just that. Bit of a base race going on now. Navi are in the lead, 2 stages down now. Let's see who will be able to get the third.
Rapid fire affair for both of these teams as Maori positioned himself in this grass. Has to take a second to recharge. Nah, marching down the middle of the map, opposite lane to Maru, and he's actually just going to let him go. He's going to disappear, and they know this. Unfortunately for them, Daryl is going to profit off this interaction. They just have to hold on to their lead for as long as possible, and so far, so good.
Oh, Lannan is low, and Maori seals it. That might provide a little bit of a cushioning here for Reply to get some enormous amount of damage on the safe. There's just 4% left. Maori takes down Drage. Isquero and Lannan double teaming down this mid. They know that if they can force their way through, they can get the damage. But as time goes on, Maru will get the roll. Joker is already using the peep on the other side of the field. He's TP'd on, and it's going to allow some space for Maru to get onto the safe. The body blocking is immense. 2,744, and Drage goes down the middle. He might be able to get it. 1 on the safe. It's so close. Can Drage do it? He does. 3% is all that was in it.
Look out of the mechanics from the young man. Took a perfect precision there to get that job done. 4% was all that remained. Body blocks go down, Shadow Realms go through, and a perfect Lily Super to end off that game. The fact that Na'Vi somehow won that is absolutely insane. It goes to show the ceiling that this roster have, and more importantly, it shows that Coach Drage, that boy can play.
Absolutely crazy. It really was, but look at this right-hand side. Maru and Joker just left alone on this safe, and it's just Lannan for the defense. Forcing Joker into the zone was an interesting choice here. It may not pay off, but it will take him away from the damage being dealt. As Maru, though, will just say, I don't care regardless. A double roll into the safe, and it puts Reply to in the lead.
I think it was the wrong decision. It put Garo in a losing matchup, so now Daryl is able to profit immensely. Reply Totem are up an entire heist-safe zone. Maori, of course, will be stagnant on defense as that Nani goes down the left-hand lane. Will be marching up the map, teleport through. Joker looking for chip shots. Daryl rolling in, kidnapped. Down to the Shadow Realm he goes, elimination there. Nani as well, but Maori wants all the damage he can get. They only need 2%. Just trying to tiptoe his way through, and a hypercharge there to seal the deal.
How is
Impressive
everyone?
showing in game 2, but the consistency of Reply Totem perseveres.
I've got to say, considering how well Navi are playing in my eyes, it says even more about how good Reply Totem are looking today. I mean, it's just fireworks on both sides of the field, but they're just getting the edge every time, and the drafts are very, very close. But I'm liking what I'm seeing, some nice fresh ideas coming out of EMEA today, and it's kind of what you love when the meta is constantly evolving across the regions.
Very competitive 2-0 so far. I mean, safe to say that Na'Vi are not lifeless in this. They still could get a couple sets on the board, even win, because it's just been such a coin toss the whole way through. Of course, a standout for Na'Vi for me was Drage in that. I felt like the defensive choices are something that I would love to see Na'Vi maybe review, or I would have to review myself to see how I really feel, because there were just a couple times there, especially in that game 3, I called it out. Cordelius went for the long-range brawler, which means Cordelius with distance is not going to be able to compete with somebody like Nani. And on top of that, Daryl was then going into a Brock. Daryl has an advantage, was able to explode with high safe damage. You can see it there, just a trickle more as you go. But those damage to safe, I can't do that math in my head, folks. I'm not going to act like I can. It had to be close, though.
I mean, looking at Joker on that Nanny, definitely the most damage to save there, the MVP. On that side of things, Mari, though, with a whopping 14 kills, just defended Strage time and time again. So, yes, Strage had that wonderful run in game 2. That was super exciting, but he didn't really get that save damage. That, again, the objective of the mode is save damage.
Yeah, it's not really a map where I've seen Lily play too much in Heist, but I think it can still work. I feel like it was just one of those things where when you're placed up against the Daryl, you know, you're still up against the clock, despite the truck being banned. You know, it was incredibly exciting. I think that I would have maybe stuck to a bit more long-ranged regardless, but yeah, very, very close. I feel like this is still not over by a long shot. It could still turn around, but Reply Totem are looking fierce. It reminds me of the good old days.
I mean, yes, the good old days back in 2023 was the last time where we casted Joker on that roster, so it makes a lot of sense that you're reminded of that. And Lily still did a bit better, kind of the same idea as Kid, but yeah, Lily worked out better, right?
I would think safe to say I'm not going to put that on Lily right now. Those were some dark days, poor lad. As we move over to Hard Rock Mine, Shade one of the most banned on this map. As an assassin, he's very good. I think he's borderline a top 10 brawler in the game, at least at our professional scene. Mortis, somebody that y'all are used to seeing this weekend. The Buffy brawlers and Mortis have to be removed. Sandy, maybe a surprise to some people at home, but it's been utilized so much in scrims. Has one of the higher play rates here.
Ali going to come in as well. That's a very scary brawler, especially in the hands of Reply Totem, taking it away from Navi. It's very much a Lenan style brawler to have on their field. I think maybe Drage now they're taking a bit more of the aggressive role and slipping back from it actually. Rico coming in for Navi. Now the second pick to have to hand. That spike is already a scary one to see on the side of Reply Totem. They need a mid, that's for certain. And Gus could be that or something we saw a bit early today. Crow, it's definitely not been the most common of mids on this map, but it certainly makes sense.
Used to be picked up a lot of times, can easily get out of harm's way whenever he has his super available. On the other side, I'm still also waiting for that mid, unless it's Spike, maybe. Could be a Gray coming in for Reply Totem for the second time already. Actually, today, the most picked brawler. No Buffy, Gray's just super good, and we didn't really have him on the radar yesterday at all. Wasn't picked up at all, really. Navi, now with the last pick, probably a bit more aggressive brawler. Kenji is coming in, so there he is. And Kenji is a brawler that Lena loves to play, so that makes a lot of sense.
Gray's definitely a different approach compared to what we saw yesterday. Not even top 10. Could have been an option to kind of send some people into the mid, somebody like Ali, but Ali is so dangerous on this map with all the grass going down. What I'm really curious about with Reply Totem, Spike has a great matchup against somebody like Crow. Crow's going to have to run the mid here. Yesterday, we saw East Asia teams feel dangerous. They were using Spike as a mid more often than not. So Reply Totem have a couple choices. They could get a really aggressive lane option and double down on tanks in a aggro, or they could do something completely else. I feel like Mo's kind of a hybrid. I'm curious to see how Reply Totem lane this up. They both have similar shot patterns. I think noobs like myself struggle into both of them, whether it be curveball or a Mo shot around a corner. So I would love to see how Reply Totem lanes this out. I'm going to love this game of chess.
I'm glad you're so self-aware, Kenny. Like, it's
hey,
nice.
I'm nothing but honest.
Great
nothing
to be grounded. Be modest, man. Never change. But I'll be honest, I haven't really seen Mo played out in Gem Grab. Not for like the longest time. It's just predominantly a brawler pick. But I kind of like it for that reason. I think it's kind of underrated actually at the moment, and see whether it will work out for Reply Totem here already. Solid start straight into mid. Joker playing a very offensive role here on this alley. And it's kind of what I love about Joker. He's always got that aggressive play style. Does go down now, and Drake will push forward from this Kenji.
Joker, one of the better aggro players in the region, and also known for that max. Especially back in the days of 2023 when he was winning a Mobile Masters alongside this roster. As I suspected, the Spike is going to want that matchup against the Crow. They're longtime brawlers, so we just have a lot of established history with curveball being something difficult for Crow, who does a chunk of the damage compared to somebody like Spike and make a big connection.
Drage continuing the assault on the left-hand side, but there's still Joker that comes out on top. And now lurking, staying alive, not being, oh, beautiful, not being spotted or scouted out whatsoever. Brings 3 gems, staying alive. It's still just running straight back through the mid. Drage in hot pursuit. Can he come out with some goods? Maori's low. I think he's safe for now. That was huge. Joker is on fire today.
The fact that Maori was able to hold on to those crucial. Had some backup there to ensure that it went okay, but if Drage gets a pop-off play, this could look like a very different ballgame. Joker in, out. Having the Crow makes a lot of sense into this matchup. Ali is somebody that works with invisibility and mind games. If you have Crow, the poison trickling damage will make sure you have vision on her more often than not.
Lenan trying a hypercharge, getting nothing back. Nothing at all whatsoever. But Maru did trickle down to a point where those gems could be split and dropped. Not sure Lenan will be able to go for them though. Back into the hands then of Reply Totem. But now, Navi are back in control in the mid. 2 gems to spawn in before they tie things up. This hypercharge from Maru couldn't come at a better time.
Navi surging. The Reply Totem not done yet. Maori with all the gems way back there. Popping a hypercharge. I think gonna use it just to make sure he forces himself up the mid. Garo being cautious, not overdoing it. Now cutting off that entire right-hand side. And the blue roster will grab the first. There's still an opportunity here though. This gym gonna be spawning. Garo going for the kill. Not interested in the gym carrier. They know they can get a takedown. It'll be enough. Drage scoop and score. A 10-10. It's an even trade. Joker on the other end making a pop-off play.
That's hilarious. The gems spilled on both sides and back into the pockets. There's one in it, and it's in Navi's favor. One from the mid, though, and that's Drage to bag it. Now Reply Totem need this reset, and they are up against the clock. Drage can dash away that spike to it. Not gonna happen, and that should be Navi taking the game just about. Very close, very small moments of error on both sides is all it took. But finally, Navi can place the game on the board.
That was one of the cooler moments of the week, and it's not unusual that you necessarily see gems getting stolen. It is very rare that both teams at the same time just trade a full count of 10 gems. Here you go, buddy. And on top of that, Navi were down a lot of gems in that early onset. The fact that they were able to claw their way back shows that this team's got some grit, and I think they're going to need it, and they're down 2-0.
It's great to see Drage versus Joker in these aggressive roles. Like I said before coming in, the Drage kind of stepped back a little bit from it. But I think it's working out pretty well for both. You see now, Maru does fall down. That's to place a lot of additional pressure onto Maori then on that bottom right. Linan and Gero hunkering down in this mid, getting 4 gems to the 2 then of Reply Totem. Who are going to be struggling now to get out of this ball.
It's a big takedown though, giving themselves the numbers. Drage though, menacing on this bottom left-hand side. Takedown onto Maru. Wakindu expand his territory. Joker matching. Navi is trying to maintain what they can. This time, it's going to be Navi with a little bit of an early lead. Love these choices from Maori, using this life plant either to scout out opponents or using it as a meat shield to give them an excuse to move up the middle of the map.
Drage now will be eyeing up Maori, as all 3 members of Navi take an affirming role in this mid. Forcing back now, as Joker repositioning at the top right-hand side. Navi cannot take their chances if he's able to take care of Drage, which he does. He is now a direct threat to Gero. Nan has got super. That will be a deterrent. A Reply Totem will spend this time gathering up these gems, making up for this deficit.
Drage battling against Joker. Friends, former teammates when he was a coach. Maori, though, getting the takedown onto his former low HP. Gero trickling away at the assassin on the Reply Totem side. Joker has to be cautious. It's getting more difficult and more difficult, but a pop-up play from Lana and Drage. Now they scoop up all the gems. With 15 on the clock, Joker left all alone, looking for as much damage as possible. No way to do this unless they find a kill onto Gero, and Drage is hiding on that right-hand side. Reply Totem have no awareness, no insight on where these brawlers are. What a clean showing here out of Navi. They are not done yet.
A very, very important set to claim for Navi then. As prior to that, we just had that kind of one game in Heist where it was a very down-to-the-wire moment. But now this is an actually genuinely prepared and planned moment for them to lock in, to put Reply Totem in their place. Very nice stuff.
Another really competitive set. I mean, it wasn't easy. Navi and Totem have had to fight for every single bit of pressure. And this feels more accurate. I think a 3-0 wouldn't have done it justice, regardless of how this 4th set goes down. I think this is much more telling of where these two teams are at. Looking forward to seeing what both of them can do, not only here today, but throughout the year. I think Navi are one of the more exciting, more interesting. They scream a little bit of how they've been built together, like Humble were a few years ago. Obviously, significantly more familiarity with Drage and not playing with each other, but Gero as a previous world champion, they get disbanded from Foot Esports of last year, and now they're forming this really exciting trio. Really cool.
I'm looking at Joker here with 8 kills, Drage with 9. I think it's a huge advantage Navi has this time around, where tanks and assassins are heavily featured in the current meta. And actually I have not 1 but 2 players who mastered those. I actually even said Kenji is gonna be probably played by Lena. He loves that brawler. But that wasn't the case. Drage can do so just as well. And I think that has been a problem in the past where whichever team Lena was on just drafted 1 tank, even if it made no sense. Lena tried to make it work, but now he doesn't have to all the time.
I think this is the thing that we're seeing more and more frequently actually across the scene, is that we used to live in this world where a player would be kind of pigeonholed into he plays tanks or he's the sharpshooter. Exactly. Now, with buffies especially even more so, the meta is forever changing. Everyone has to be adaptive. Everyone has to be flexible around what their playstyle is, and we're seeing that the most we ever have in Brawl Esports at the moment.
We did have the same thing happening, a little bit at least, with the hypercharges coming into the game. Whichever brawler received their hypercharge was immediately catapulted into the upper end of the meta. I think with buffies that's going to be the same, but it's so exciting to me that in EMEA, the buffy brawlers are actually not showing up that often. They're banned out at times, but the most picked brawlers, Grey, Mina, Otis, Pierce. None of them has a Buffy. Talking about that, we're seeing Spike, of course.
I think it just makes sense. It escapes the band stage, a frequent one here. Mina is somebody that shows up a lot as well that I'm looking out for. Again, one of those non-Buffy brawlers that you mentioned. Pierce, somebody that escapes the band stage too. So I think there's a couple options for Na'Vi at the mid or Reply Totem if it gets back to them.
Gonna be Pierce for me here. First pick from Navi is just so good, and surprised it escaped the bans, quite honestly. But I like your Mina shout. I think that there's no way that that does not happen. Pierce for Navi, love to see it so far. Definitely though, Frank open as well as Poker. So Frank banned, but Poker's still available. Some tanks could be combined with it here. Certainly put some pressure on, but it's Pierce that I feel is still that place of brawler where if it's open and not banned, it's gonna be picked first.
Frank banned out, so that tank that you usually want to have here out of the way. Kenji could be picked up once more here by Navi, just worked wonders for them. And there he is. Drage or Elena, both very good on this brawler, so they already have a solid mid. They have an aggressive lane. Maybe as last pick, we could even see a thrower come in. Usually the only thrower you want to play on Brawl Ball is Willow, though she's banned out, so let's see about that. Reply Totem now, their turn. Spike can very well play mid here, so I kind of expect an aggressive bowler come out on their end now as well, Ken.
I could see this also being a max comp for Reply Totem, something they haven't shied away from in scrims, and also just historically, Joker, one of the best in the business at it, and there it is right there. So I think they're going to pair this with something more aggressive to your point. Now, some that are escaping the ban stage that have been very popular don't necessarily know if they show up here, but Mortis is somebody that we have to shout out. Shade in that ban stage removes that option. I think they could also go anti-tank. They could go for something like a surprise Shelly if they really feel like it, but as a fifth pick, I don't love it as much as if it was a reaction later down in the draft.
Reply Totem now, this Max is scary. Quite honestly, I love that Shelly shout, and it's going to come through as well. Combined with the Max, it just makes it 10 times more dangerous, in my opinion. Being able to close the gap is where Shelly, really can cause a massive problem for me. So that Kenji now in a bit of a pickle, I would say. Let's see how Navi want to play this. Do they want to support this Kenji and just heal it all the way down the line, or have something like, yeah, Juju coming through? But I'm not convinced. I don't necessarily mind it. It is the second best thrower here, but the Willow is where my money would be at. If it wasn't banned, that's what they want. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of trying to make up for lost time, almost. It's definitely the control they were lacking, but if it's going to be enough against this, a Spike and Max, those two brawlers alone, I mean, I just feel like in the hands of Joker on that Max, if it's not, regardless, it's so exciting when we see a Max back in Brawl Ball, and it's being very much underestimated, I feel, in the current meta.
We did super well with our predictions here for what they are gonna pick. We're actually 5 for 5. Happy to see that. We're heading into that set where Reply Totem could end it all on a 3-2-1. Navi could take it very well here as well, prolonging into set 5.
Once again, Dre's going to be playing the aggro brawler, this time a much more difficult matchup. Maru going to be able to assist with Joker, a phase shift through, shut down by Garo, but a blast coming in from Maru. Early goal here for Reply Totem.
That is really impressive to kick things off so far. Joker now just creeping towards this ball, trying to evade these shots from the Pierce. But Garo has the upper hand, forcing him back to a stage now where his damage gear is even rolling in. But Maru and Maori, the rocks of Reply Totem, standing either side and not budging. The super to effectively nowhere there from Drage as well, so discretion being shown by Navi, but it's still Totem that look thoroughly in charge.
Drage has to go hunting for Joker, because into somebody like Maru, it's going to be a difficult matchup. Now Gree there for an extra brawler on the map. Shield goes down, Joker grabs the ball, Lanat interception, and it's going to be under the deep end, but Maru is able to clasp it. Oh, and that's a pivotal takedown. If Maori gets ahead of that with a super shot, he could do some serious damage. Instead, it's going to be Totem, just remaining still in the middle ground, trying to contest. They still have this 1-0 lead. They don't have to put their foot on the gas yet. Instead, though, it's a hypercharge for 2.
This is what I mean about the Max combo. Oh, that was close. Drake has to be on his guard there to be able to get that ball, and now Gary forcing his right-hand side with the help of the Green Maori down to 40 HP, but a hypercharge pop from Maori. They're making up for lost time, and Gary is slowed so heavily so. It's Reply Totem with a stellar defense.
Brilliant work. Just able to get the stops on defense, and is leading to a good offense. Drake left all alone, has to pick off this ball, but it cost him his life. Maori with the super shot, gonna be cautious. Juju goes down on the ground. Spike traditionally not going to be great into throwers. Now with multiple brawlers on the map, he's got a lot in his hands.
Surprised that Maori didn't actually go for a super shot on goal there. Thought better of it regardless. Now 30 seconds on the clock and Navi need to push. They've got to get the goal to equalize things up, and Maori with a huge smash into Drage. But Drage with a super out of nowhere there does come out on top. This ball though still on this left-hand side with 15 seconds has got to end over the line for Navi, or it's match point for Reply Totem.
Navi need to get moving. Joker with hypercharge available. Super speed goes down and kick over to the right-hand side. Joker will pick it up. Maori dumps it in the bottom of the left-hand net. The purple button stats, are they enough? 900 HP and oh! No way! I can't believe that didn't get buried in the back of the net in time.
I have never seen a goal that close. That was absolutely insane how that didn't actually cross the line. What? How? Regardless, it's Reply Totem on match point.
Millisecond away. Instead, it's Reply Totem on a match point. The blue roster once again contending in the mid. Maru working his way up the left-hand side. They're going to have to play these angles. Drage just can't handle the shotgun brawler. A sword just has no match for a gun.
Joker now pushing forwards down this mid, trying to heal up, but balance things out between the shots that are needed to suppress. Drage will fall now, and it's a prime opportunity for a potential goal here if Maori can find the space. The pass to Maori, but the shots from Pierce will make him think twice. If Joker can just find a super, which he does, and get Maori through the equation, this will be a guaranteed goal. It's a guaranteed goal. It's in for Reply Totem.
Excellent combo. Ball in Shelly's hand, fire super shot. The enemies will slowly fall away. They're stunned in that moment, and there's no potential to grab that ball. Great game awareness, game sense from longtime veteran Maru. Now Drage, once again, being stuffed in spawn. Joker walks it forward, and the welcome home party for Joker kicks off with a bang. Reply Totem will be heading to the semifinals.
That is a massive result for the boys in green, looking very, very good here today. I'm so impressed because I feel like Navi was so worthy of the way that they were playing, but they were just outmatched by what we saw and the prep. I mean, it's again, I keep saying it, but it is so true. It's Reply Totem back to the good old days. You know, Joker on the max, these really aggressive comps that you can just see work so well. I'm surprised that other teams are not experimenting as much with some of these brawlers, but look at that. On the line and not in overtime. Had it been in overtime, that was going to be in regardless, but just be a buzzer beater that Navi will be looking back on and just crying tonight to sleep.
It's so good to see the old Reply Totem is still just as fresh this year again. This could be very well a comp that they played 2 years ago already with that Max Shelly combination. That's something we've seen for them so often. I had some highlights in this match, like a 40 HP Maru chasing down Drage on that Kenji and still getting the kill in the end. That was super nice to see. And yes, as you mentioned, Ark, Joker has always been kind of a specialist for the Max. Kenny, you predicted them to pick it, and it worked out wonderfully.
Yeah, one of the rare instances I've been good on predictions, and the drafts were solid. I got 3-1 right in this match. We're so back. We're so back.
You actually did say 3-1 in that one. And yeah, I'm super happy so far because I always love to see as much Brawl Stars as possible. And in today's matches, we actually didn't have a single 3-0. So I'm super happy. Even in this one, Navi at least took a game each set. So that is very, very good to see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if our predictions on draft are as good, I'm sure the community will be more thankful if we can get some more green on that table. But nonetheless, it's definitely going more or less how we expected, with the exception of that huge upset. Still today, SK Gaming going down to the quarterfinals one was not what any of us were expecting to see.
And now we're looking at our predictions for the semi-finals. Foot is predicted by us from that semi-final number 1 against CMM. CMM had a great showing against SK Gaming, and arguably SK Gaming is the bigger titan to foe than Foot Esports, yet still we say Foot is still going to take that one. Why is that?
The unanimous, sorry, I was just nervous. The unanimous death, just inherently, we have not been great on track record this weekend, so don't want to curse any teams, but I will not take responsibility. I think Foot are somebody in scrims who have shown up so well. A standout for me. And Guesty, of course, one of my concerns and why I partially picked Team Heretics, it's his first day. Do I expect Guesty to have a long tenured career in this region? Absolutely. He shows so much potential being paired with Angel Boy. Exciting combination. But it's day 1. and you're playing against Team Heretics with 3 players that have shown great established pressure and results in this region. So I'm not expecting to be blown away, but now I think they're definitely favorites. I know CMM beats SK Gaming, but maybe a one-off, maybe not.
And then for that second semi-final, we said Humble is going to take this one. Ark, what does your gut say there?
Well, my gut actually says reply totem, but it was all completely on me because I didn't get my predictions in to production as we were literally casting the match. I was so impressed. So impressed with reply totem today. And I just feel like in this first month, what we've seen so far and just how the narrative has unfolded across the regions, it wouldn't be the craziest of things to go with something like that. I feel like reply totem today could very well win the whole thing.
I mean, again, I think what we learned yesterday, anything can happen. So it might very well be Totem versus CMM in the finals. It could be Foot versus Humble. It could be any combination of those. And those 4 teams are now your best 4 teams. In EMEA, many people say this is the most competitive region, so we always see some new faces in the monthly final. I want to say it again. Last year, we only had 2 teams in all of the region who consistently made it into the monthly finals, Kenny.
4 new faces into our semifinals for EMEA. Nob and Angel Boy, of course, have been here before, but this is exciting. And to your point, being a higher seed coming out of the first month is a big deal. SK Gaming next month are going to have to put in a lot more work to get to the same position. And these guys have the luxury of finishing closer to the top of the leaderboard. And for somebody like CMM, all of a sudden, you've got hopes of something like a Brawl Cup if you keep this up.
And it's not only us who was surprised. Look just how surprised Semantic was hearing about that.
Yeah, I mean, surprises all around, to be honest. 2 things. Ark's got a very tiny head. I've just had to adjust the headset massively. And secondly, the predictions master is back.
Okay.
Right. Seems to be on top of things today. So
worst case scenario.
Just follow me. I may have fell at the first hurdle in East Asia, but don't worry, because I'm back.
Once more, we do want to show you just how a surprise Semantic was, seeing how, today went down overall.
The first monthly final is honestly the most important one, so like, it's literally what you said, the road to Brawl Cup, road to World Finals, less slots, everything. I think SK just lost. Oh my god. Okay, can we do it again? I'm sorry, that was a bit crazy.
Yeah, I can hear you in the background too.
Oh my god, that is so crazy. Okay, go again, sorry.
No, you're totally good. I'll take it one more time. I know that's insane.
No way that happened.
No way around it. Yeah, I did not expect to be there, obviously.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. All right, let's do it.
I think Humble even was expecting to meet SK Gaming later on in the grand finals. Kenny, you had that interview. What a funny moment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we were both shocked. You guys were casting alongside, and when I was chatting with him, it was happening at the end of that SK Gaming match. And like him, I couldn't help but just glance over at the screen and say, I'm sorry, say that again. Did SK Gaming just lose? So I'm sure that was partially shock and partially relief for Semantic and Humble.
Yeah, I mean, they have to face off against Totem first and then potentially against CMM, which nobody really even saw standing in the semi-finals. They're here now, though, and they're going to start things off on Shooting Star against FUT.
It would be one hell of a run if they do manage to win this one, to be honest with you. It really is like a surprise to see them even taking down SK Gaming. But on top of that, if they took down FUT Esports in the same month as well, it'd probably be one of the biggest underdog stories we've seen across the entirety of BSC. Yeah, no, listen, I am as well. If you can beat SK Gaming, you can beat the majority of teams in this region. They've just got to show up the same again.
That's what I've been saying. If my predictions are wrong, but the underdog ends up winning, I'm so happy either way. Who cares about our predictions in that, in that outcome? Now, CMM versus FUT Esports. Despite the beautiful run they had against SK Gaming, and SK Gaming being the first seed, we still say FUT is gonna take that one just because they looked so phenomenal in their match against Heretics as well. I'm super happy that neither of the quarterfinals actually went out in a 3-0, but FUT looked just a tad bit more dominant with the 3-1 compared to the 3-2 from CMM.
Pressure at an all-time high in this region. I mean, this is not one that you could normally slip up in. You also don't have the luxury of there being 9 spots like last year. And obviously, Brawl Cup still to come. You could earn more spots for your region. But right now, you have to play with 4. And if you're CMM, you've just suddenly been given a chance. SK Gaming going down. But FUT Esports, you can't be that upset seeing CMM. Respectfully, if you know that SK Gaming was a possibility and now you get somebody else, a much more unlikely underdog, boy, this could be a great debut for Guesty.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very thrilled if I was FUT Esports, to be honest with you. You know, you're expecting to face SK Gaming in the semi-finals, and the same goes for the other teams on the other side. Like, if we make it to the finals, probably going to be facing SK. I think even the players would have predicted SK to come all the way through. Obviously, a lot of them are saying that FUT are a very, very strong team in scrims, but it was a question of whether or not it was going to translate to the big stage with Guesty being so new. But clearly it has. They played very, very well in their initial match, and I think they're going to go all the way to the finals.
CMM probably put all their screwing power in that first round. They wanted to really even make it into the semifinals. Let's see how well they prepared for a shooting star in a bit. We have some very classic maps here, ones that have been in the back pool for a very long time already. Shooting Star is one of those, and we're starting our semi-final number 1 with a Mortis pick on Shooting Star. That's something we've seen, I think, in all of 2025, but in this day and age, with the buffies out, definitely makes a lot of sense, Kenny.
What a world. Mortis first overall pick in the most historic open range map. It's just insane. I mean, it just goes to show how good players feel Mortis is, because it's not an easy brawler to play either. I mean, for folks at home, it's definitely one of the harder ones at a higher level of something like ranked to excel with. But our pro players are just that confident. Nani on that left-hand side, one of the oldest sharpshooters in the game. It is the sharpshooter that counters sharpshooters. So it makes sense why it's an early pickup, especially when you see brawlers like Angelo, Pierce, RT, Bell out of the way. It just makes too much sense to grab.
Yeah, they're going to go with an Ollie over the other side as well for CMM. That kind of aggression to balance it out against the Mortis, have that capability of turning the game back around. I think it's something that's quite smart. Listen, across East Asia yesterday, I was like heavily critiquing these super, super aggressive compositions we saw, like a Byron, Mina, Frank, and just run it down. Not a fan of that, and to be honest, I prefer a more long-range matchup on Shooting Star, but this is clearly what works. The Mortis first pick, it's a bold one, but I do believe that FUT Esports have got the players capable of making it work.
Byron or Gus maybe to support that Mortis. Gus it is. In the end, you can always give him the shield, so Mortis, Guesty, if he does play him in the end, can dive in and go even more aggressive without risking his own life. Now last pick for FUT Esports. They probably will play Mortis in mid here, can easily pick up that. Okay, it's both of the brawlers I mentioned. We're really good at drafting today, Kenny. Maybe it's just because EMEA is drafting more like we expected them to. East Asia yesterday showed us some brawlers that we did not expect at all. Charlie, for example, I did not have on my radar at all. We've only seen her once today, I believe, in EMEA.
I was with you. At bare minimum, I expected 1 of 2 of the brawlers, but this is so different than what we're used to seeing in terms of logic going into draft strategy. For a really long time, you pick your support brawler first, and then if you can get it, if you can make it work, then you can grab your aggressive brawler. That's not what FUT Esports do. They are so willing to pick Mortis that they're willing to grab him first. Even if CMM grab Gus and Byron, they're still willing to take that chance. I love the chessboard going down in our Brawl Stars world right now.
To be fair, even though it was a Mortis first pick, we did not have any counters on the side of CMM really. So let's see how things are going to go down here. Semi-final number 1. We have a lot more Brawl Stars action for you today. And we're starting things out with FUT versus CMM.
Yeah, ready for a good game here. CMM need to live up to that expectation from the first quarterfinal, though, because you've taken down SK Gaming, you're going to be on top of the world. And I don't think they're going to come into this one with masses and masses of confidence. I can't remember which one of you said it, but they were expected to go out in the quarterfinals, to be honest with you. So I don't know how much they'll have scrimmed for this moment.
Either way, still something to celebrate tonight, but it would feel a lot sweeter if they got a victory over SK Gaming and FUT Esports. Now the red roster applying pressure. CMM having to deal with 3 brawlers in their spawn. Ollie branching out of desperation. Angel Boy shuts him down. Guesty in, out. A wasted super there on the bottom left-hand side just to preserve their lives, but the FUT onslaught still going.
Yeah, I loved how good that splash was on the right-hand side as well from Angel Boy. Managed to get 1 down and 1 half health, which kind of relieved a bit of the pressure for Guesty to stay in these aggressive moments. Got 2 of them one-shot now. Surely Gus just focuses down rather than trying to save his teammate who's so low on stars, and he's going to miss that. This is going to be a massive team wipe again for the side of FUT Esports. It's 16-3. Can't say this isn't how we expected it to go, but not this heavily.
The slow reload speed of Ollie really came back to bite him. A trade there is definitely tough when you use a gadget super combination. And on the other end, Angel Boy gets to respawn with a super and a hyper charge if he really wants it. Nob is looking to shut this game down early. Now rotating to that right-hand side. Remika falls. 2v2 situation. Gusti once again baits out the super. Look at the patience coming through out of the young man. Beautifully played. That's as dominant of a game one showing as you can get.
Yeah, this team is genuinely just incredible. Like the plays they made there, the Byron support, the two aggressive brawlers. Listen, they're playing Gus as kind of like a brawler who's running people down. That's how much of a good position that the Guesti's getting them into with his aggression on this Mortis, getting them low, letting the Gus finish off kills, and not have to play as that sharpshooter. You want to get up close and personal to these to the Piper, and occasionally the Nanny, depending on how much ammo.
I usually don't have regrets on predictions, you know, it's all fun and games, but this is one that I will. I mean, when I watched FUT Esports, I genuinely noted that this looks like one of the best teams out there, but I was overly nervous about Gusti in his debut, and now he's rocking the Mortis, the hardest brawler to play on this comp, and he looks like a champ. He's been unfazed today, and even in the interview when I was chatting with him, said he was nervous. Hasn't shown one bit. Instead, he's a star playmaker for his team.
I mean, he's just following Dakai around, and Dakai needs to use his jump to get away, but he just baits it. He doesn't go in when he knows he's got super. I mean, that's a nice hypnotize there, but Guesti might still be able to get something back from this. Nobody respawning. And a missed shot as well there from Kello. Maybe his nerves are starting to show a little bit more, and this is still in a good position for CMM. But as I'm saying that, some great connections from Nob will flip the game.
No weak points on this FUT Esports comp right now. Guesti diving in, rotates between a few. Oh, look at the perfectly timed gadget. What a creative way to deal with that. Unfortunately, won't be able to stick around. 310 HP. The Nani Peep coming in. Byron, he's one tap away. Great game awareness. And now FUT Esports with a lead are able to retreat if they want it. Instead, though, they're not moving a muscle. They're sending Guesti right back in there.
Yeah, I think it's smart to try and keep the Nannies, the Pipers back in spawn, but Guesti might have overcommitted here and still in the lead. But he does go down. I think he's got his hyper charge to go along with it as well when he comes back up. But they've got to be cautious now. They had like a 15-star lead in the previous one, and they could go over aggressive, but you don't want to sell this game.
Piper and Nani are going to have to be some either super sharpshooters or going to have to find more value out of Ollie. Instead, it's
where did they go?
With a team wipe. Down goes CMM. What a disappearance.
Where did they go? They all just disappeared. I was like, they were all on the map, and then all of a sudden they weren't. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still close. There's 3 stars in it, regardless of some great plays from Guesti on the right side. Remika coming up now as well. Hypercharge being used, needs to make use of this. And Guesti's actually going to miss it, but he's going really aggressive now, trying to get the kill. Big turnaround up top. Hypercharge is there from Kello, but it's not going to be enough. And some great plays from FUT Esports will keep them ahead. It was a bit more sketchy, don't get me wrong. I thought that maybe could have flipped. They were slightly overconfident, but I think that confidence is warranted after that first.
All went according to plan. I think it was really smart actually to send Guesti down, knowing he had a guaranteed kill because Nani's a sitting duck. It's going to be rearing that Peep just in the driver's seat, but as a result, can't make regular shots. So if Mortis gets the kill, now they boost themselves up to 3 stars, and then in terms of bounty map, they're in a really safe position because nobody's in striking distance of that Mortis. Guesti, though, I think we talked about it earlier, but Angel Boy was definitely a big playmaker in that first match. This time, though, they're tasking Guesti with a tall order. He gets a double kill there. Some team wipes go down, as we call it, a disappearing act for CMM. I like that they put up more of a fight in that game number 2. Clearly, they've got some legs in them. But doing it twice in a row, beating somebody like SK, and then FUT on top of that, I mean, you can see it there. The kill count, just not even close.
Nob with 8 is absolutely massive from him. Guesti being the aggressor with 6, clearly. And it's a lot of DPS coming out of the Mortis, I can't lie. Usually you see a little bit of DPS here and there. Yeah, you'll have some kills, but the DPS will usually be low. Angel Boy doing his role, 2 kills. Who cares if he's healing up the rest of his teammates and keeping them alive?
One aggressor on either side. The Mortis comes out on top here with 6 versus the 3 kills on Ollie on the other side. Now we are on double swoosh, a very bushy map that could feature some of those close range assassins, tanks, or maybe a Shelly. Again, Kenny.
Absolutely. Definitely a fun map to watch. I think Gym Grab just in general right now has been all over the place. In East Asia, it was just staggering to me how many different kinds of compositions we had. In the ban stage, a double Sandy ban. Poco's somebody that we were kind of keeping our eye out for today. Was somebody that didn't show up in East Asia like I thought it would in EMEA. Thought it would be a little bit more of a factor. Tara as a first overall pick, that is a surprise to me.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's, you know my love of the brawler, but I think in general on this map it can do really well. Janet going to come over the other side as well. I think with the drop the base can be very solid, scouting out a lot, or just jumping away, keeping that extra line of defense against the aggressors you come to expect on this map. Ban-wise, still very solid across both ways. And yeah, you know how much I love the Tara. I'm never going to complain about that one.
Mortis left open, could be picked up here by CMM. They already have their mid-pick Janet that can always just fly out of harm's way. A brawler that we haven't seen in a very long time. I feel like she kind of got replaced by the likes of Gus, the Sandys, yeah, a lot of other mid-brawlers to carry the gems. Ellie's gonna come in instead. No Mortis, but also a very aggressive brawler. Terra, actually, you said you were surprised, Kenny. She's the most picked brawler in EMEA over the course of the last 2 weeks. Alongside Otis, Sandy, Spike, all of those have been banned out. And finally, we have that Mortis I was talking about. He's just so strong in the current meta. I'm actually surprised to see him slide through the ban phase.
Surprised in the sense that it was a first overall pick. I think Tara makes sense, but especially in the world where we run Shooting Star and we just saw Mortis be the first overall selection, I'm just kind of now conditioning my brain to think the other way around. A lot of
anything can
you know
happen.
what I mean? Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tara is somebody in Gym Grab historically that has a wing condition.
Anything can happen.
Anything.
Never mind. Chester.
Listen, I love a Chester. I don't know what you guys are laughing about, mate. Listen, this brawler, I think it's very solid. You know, it does depend heavily in the right situations. You can make a play or you can end up with some slowing when you need a stun or a massive bomb to drop down. It has its moments, it really does. Up close and personal with quite a lot of the brawlers, that 5 spray of shots can do a lot of damage.
Sure, Chester's great, but we haven't seen him once so far, and that probably for a reason. We'll see how well CMM do. I think that's something we see from those younger rosters in general. Either a super surprising pick, because it's one of their comfort brawlers, or they just go with pure meta, and CMM dares to be a bit different today, Ken.
Janet going to be a traditional mid, but it's Nob who gets the early takedown. It's because Guesty is putting so much pressure, and the Assassin 1v1, the young prodigy, getting a big victory on that right-hand side. Meanwhile, Chester working from the distance, hiding in that grass. Not unusual in the past to see Chester, but to y'all's point, it's definitely a brawler they don't see as often. It is an anti-tank feature, has a shot that fans out, so good for vision. A lot to like, but definitely more traditional options on the FUT esports side in our modern Brawl Stars.
Yeah, well, it's Psychic Enhancer coming in here as well. They're not going to have the support from beyond, which I think is probably because Janet can just wipe them out in a single shot, to be honest with you, and just try to fend off this attack now as Remika's still coming forwards. Guess he's trying to do the same on the other side, but unfortunately, he can jump and fly away, so he's going to be in safe space at the moment. Now going in, though, choosing to try and take this on again, but Remika with some great defensive capabilities.
Each side has brawlers that have the opportunity to fly away, whether it be a Crow super or a Janet jump, like you mentioned, or of course with her super can also jetpack away. Something that at a pro level you'll especially see. They want those gym carriers to be safe. You don't want to put it in somebody like Guessy's hands. You'd rather have the gyms than the other team, but at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable spot.
Well, Nob's just going straight for it, puts himself in the middle of 3 and uses the jump to get away. I think he thinks that he's going to have another one before he's going to be put in harm's way towards the end of the game. Tara super available here as well. Just need to find this Chester, and that's exactly what Nob's done for him. Angelboy just waiting in the wings, doesn't want to pick this jump to bait now. Going in, think he's going to have the jump, but I think that means Guesty might be able to go for him, actually thinks better of it. And not the best of plays from FUT esports. It would have worked very well if he was that little bit closer.
Kello with just great awareness, jumps away. Wastes so much utility and positioning out of FUT esports. Now he's rotating up. Must be close to cycling in that gadget, because otherwise they would never dare to make that move. Guesty lurks, right-hand side. Now at the top of the map, Ali getting frisky. A jump away from Nob with low HP as a double kill goes down. Guesty looking for more. Kello has to be careful, needs to pop this in just the nick of time. Will hold on to 9 gems.
Guesty almost going down here, but does survive. Good kills up top, and it's the 1 gem lead. Guesty wants to go in for this one, actually doesn't grab it, and Dekai will get the kill. That's going to be enough to keep this count until the end. Big plays coming out of CMM, wanting to equalize this. Here's the hypercharge super from the Chester, and that should be enough, as the Mortis can't get there in time. Throws out a super and a gadget, but it's not quite there. Nice stuff from CMM, good bounce back. They had their moments in that game, and it could have gone very differently if they just had kind of pulled off that Tara Mortis play.
CMM claim a game, and I think it's largely due to Janet just having the ball in her hands. Every time that she was about to lose those gems, always had a gadget at a perfect time. Saved those supers for the proper moments. That's what you have to do. Janet is not here to get kills. She's going to leave that to Ali, the aggressive brawler, and somebody like Chester who's going to climb up this left-hand side. Kello's just going to have to sit back, relax, get the damage where he can. Some vision is nice every once in a while, too, with the Janet shot. But other than that, you just need to be the safe harbor for those gems.
Yeah, well, pretty close at the start at the moment, but this Ali kind of lurking in the bush is just stopping everything from happening. I'm going to guess Mortis is in the back line here as well. Guesty trying to get the job done, and actually I think does there as well. Good kill from Remika on the flip side, but has to jump away whilst he's got this gem. Doesn't want to overcommit.
Kello still holding on to gems. Ali has one in hand, so it's going to be difficult to kind of task with that. It's only one gym compared to something like 4, so I still think you put foot on the gas pedal a little bit. Guesty looking for it, though. Going to be on the bottom right-hand side. Swoops in. Now Kello feeling pressure from multiple angles. Chester just trying to maneuver up this left-hand side, work around the corner. Not doing a great job. One of the benefits of Crow, every time he lands a tag, free vision in those bushes.
Well, Remika going in biz here, trying to find this Tara, who he will, and he'll just do 2 shots and get the kill there. Guesty with another kill in the backlines as well. Still pretty even. It's just trade after trade after trade. Still got his flight, but he doesn't see the gadget coming, and Guesty turns the game on its head brilliantly. I think they've had just about enough of this Janet getting away.
Nicely done. Guesty.
Check out the Panville Pet Cafe to play with me.
All the incoming bombs coming from Kello, who drops down. Super makes the connection. Angel Boy safely escorts Mortis to the back line, and Foot Esports will tie things up. This time, they were able to execute those plays. Janet wasn't so lucky. Wasn't always an opportunity to use those supers and waste those gadgets, those really good stuff from Foot. That's the game plan they have to find. As long as they get 1 kill on Janet, and they do it with enough time on the clock to grab those gems and walk away, they're probably going to be in good shape.
Yeah, they've been having a real hard time doing just that, though, and that's the issue. Janet always got a jump, always got the flight, and can't seem to bring her down, but a little surprise shovel from Guesty managed to get the job done in that one. Now, Rebecca, as always, jumping forwards. He wants him outside the bush, and Guesty will win that 1v1.
That's a big start for them, too. Having pressure early on makes Kello look all directions. Harder to charge that super if you're not landing shots. The good news for Janet is, if Mortis is pushing you, especially if you help from somebody like Chester who can shut him down, you're getting those free tags, and that's exactly what you need to charge that super. If you have that super, the gyms are safe.
Well, they've scouted him out well there, but haven't managed to stay alive. The jump coming through, and Angel Boy just about picks up the kill. Guesty might be able to do the same on the other side here as he lands, but he chooses to just wait as Takai's still there, ready to take on this battle. Now, Angel Boy was in good position on the left-hand side. Will get the kill, and Guesty will pick up the right-hand side as well as he trickles down on the left. Full control to Foot, and a big gem lead.
Great positioning, and now Angel Boy hiding in this grass. Does have a super available. Takai, of course, can scout from the distance. All those shots will sprinkle out. Fanning similar to Tara, so easy to get a scouting report. Easy takedown, though, for Angel Boy. All he had to do was hide behind that wall and make sure Chester stepped forward. Baited and trapped. Beautifully done.
Yeah, Guesty will do more of the same, picking up his kill on the right-hand side as well. We're seeing a switch here, too. Guesty going in very aggressive with the hypercharge. Obviously knew he was going to be close to it, and Angel Boy just about picks that one up as well. Kello still the flight with 4 gems over his head. So that turnaround would win the game, but Chester comes in and just... I don't know if he was trying to break the grass or try and get some damage in, but neither really worked.
Put them at a huge disadvantage. Kello, instead of using it for safety, just has to get aggressive with the super. Jetpacks over. Guesty swiping, cleans up. Kello in a world of hurt, jumps away, but the gadget through the wall will seal his fate. Nail in the coffin. And even if Guesty goes down, oh, and he doesn't! Even more impressive. He can play bodyguard a little longer. Angel Boy full vision of this map for his teammates now, too. Is a better fight out of CMM, but Foot look fearless. 2-0 lead in our semifinal number 1.
Yeah, to me, that's a game that they maybe should have ran away with after that first one. They looked so far in control. No real turnarounds, and they were winning the lanes for the side of CMM, but Foot Esports just persevering, coming back through, waiting for that moment, and that they did perfectly well.
Just been a solid showing. Really no wavering today. A little blemish on that scorecard in the opening match, but overall, I haven't had a moment today where I felt like Foot Esports are going to lose this match. Ooh, I don't know about Foot Esports. That is not a thought that's entered my mind one time, the viewers at home. And finally, we're starting to see Guesty get a little comfortable here. He's played Mortis a couple times now, in both times. He's been a huge instigator. Not to say that Foot Esports overall haven't done their jobs. Nob doing a great job of also not dropping the gems, playing that mid-roll well. Angel Boy, supers when needed most. I think this is just a trio that's doing really well. Angel Boy, just a long-tenured player, bringing that experience to this team.
I really feel like CMM is severely underestimating Mortis at the moment. In Shooting Star, they didn't really have an answer for him. Mortis was the first pick, but we didn't have any tank counter really on the left-hand side, anything to stop Guesty on that brawler. And now in this one, Mortis was still left open. They decided to go with Ellie instead, and it clearly did not work out. Guesty with a whopping 14 kills. He was always in the lane of his opponents, just hiding, so Janet couldn't really pick up any of those gems. Talking about Janet, though, I do want to highlight Kello for a second here. He's the newest player in that roster. They usually always play with Zero, and he seems to fit quite in. His reaction time on that Janet a couple of times, that saved CMM that game they actually won.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think they were, Foot were getting quite annoyed time after time, especially in that first game, that second game. Eventually they managed to get the turnaround, but he was just getting away every single time. A jumps, evading a Mortis and a Tara super, his flights getting him away from situations where he'd just be dead and all the gems would be on the floor. So really nice play from him, and as you say, a new player seems to be gelling well, and the same can be said for the other side as well. As FUT Esports just seems to be so dominant in EMEA this year.
Okay, now I want CMM to please wake up because I want to see some more Brawl Stars. We didn't have any 3-0s so far. My prayers have been heard. I want CMM to win a set at least. So let's see if the draft is going to be going their way already. The third pick here with Otis. So we have Pierce on the left-hand side. It's a super good brawler on a map like Penguin Pond. Very open, Kenny. And Pierce is going to do so well into the squishy spike. It really seems like FUT Esports is scared of any tanks from the left-hand side. There are 2 tank counters in their hands already.
I think this is a tough spot for CMM to be in because now they know we have to ban Mortis. Can't do it anymore. So they learned from their past couple sets. They listened to your guys' kind of critiques of what's going down, and me alongside it. I mean, it's definitely a problem in set number 2. And so you have to go Pierce because Mina and Ems would have been the other 2 selections. As a result, though, FUT are kind of in a comfortable 2-3 turn. Spike somebody that slides through cracks. Now we have Otis who can be flexible in the mid as well. So you got a lot of great options open for this 6th pick.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to be quite scared themselves of something aggressive, I think, because FUT Esports have taken 2 good tank counters, and they've kind of left quite a few open that can still be played as well. Assassins, tanks, whatever. Carl, listen, I love the brawler. Has it showed up much? Not really. And I think it's got to be the perfect moment for it really to work, and I don't know if this is it.
I think Mo or maybe Crow would be my answer here in this one. You want to make sure that the Carl can't really use the super, so Mo would be my last pick here. Let's see what FUT Esports do. Obviously, they're the pros. They probably know better. They have Mina banned out. Also one of those brawlers I love to see in a map like this one. It's all about mid control here. And in mid, you have a lot of bushes, so why not Ellie? Actually, yeah, I still like Mo better, but Ellie's fine, Kenny.
I like Allie in the sense that now you have a brawler that's going to be able to excel on those lanes. And CMM do an interesting thing here. They're going Meeple and Pierce. Both of those traditionally run the middle of the map. One of them is going to be forced to the side. And Allie, no matter how you spin it, as long as FUT do their job, should be able to win that lane.
Well, they kind of had a lot of the tank counters taken away from them and then have a tanky kind of assassin playing against them. They played it in the last one, so should clearly know how to deal with it, but I don't know if their composition's really going to allow that. So FUT Esports just 1 away now from taking this one and going to the grand finals. Angel Boy trying to make this work on the alley, but taking some heavy fire early on.
Pierce can be working that right-hand side. They're kind of sharing the role a little bit. A little more wide open map. Angel Boy working the grass to his advantage, leaping spot to spot. Skello has to play full defense. Angel Boy, a tough situation, trying to do his best to escape, but there's shots coming from all angles. He just seemed destined to fail there.
Well, the trade in that situation, I'd actually say, is pretty decent.
Yeah, no,
there, but little box on the right-hand side with the Mansions and Meeple keeping Guesty in there, but doesn't really matter. I don't think it'd have gone much further up anyway. Angel Boy coming back now, and Pierce, a good job through the mid-left. Guesty super down, and Dekai will burn, I think, from that, especially with that curveball hitting. A super play there by Kello. I don't think he really got too much back from that, to be honest.
Angel Boy still applying a lot of pressure. I think that's going to be the issue. Pierce has to be pretty perfect, and of course, Angel Boy can jump in the air to dodge those shots. The one benefit for Pierce in those close interactions is he can rapidly fire if he just keeps picking up his own ammo, but Guesty just putting too much down. The hypercharge will cover the entire goal, and so it's easy for him to just slide one through.
Really nice play there from Guesty. Meeple's Mansion will have him picked up inside it again. Pierce super actually doesn't really do too much. Dekai on the right-hand side, hit by the fat splatter, not doing a good job of kind of fending for himself. He's been put in 2v1 situations a lot, and I'm not sure if Angel Boy can stop this. The passes are there, but I feel like it could have been a bit swifter. Dekai assumed he was going to dash towards him and tried the shot, but didn't pay off in the end.
Yeah, just not the right read, and as a result, FUT Esports grabbed this ball. Carl nowhere to be seen, so the life plant definitely safe for now. Wasted shots as Rimika's doing his best. Dekai now has to deal with this. Pops a hypercharge just to get a stop, but the stun goes through. A little bit of a miss. A-okay. Guesty with plenty of space to operate, and FUT Esports on match point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a blunder, but it was fine in the end, I think, so. FUT Esports still okay, dominate. I think even if they missed that and didn't get the goal, they were probably fine, to be honest. Like, even if they came back and had to retry for another one, I think they were firmly in control of that match, but I think they will be again. As we go to the match point here in Brawl Ball. Angel Boy already in their faces going super aggressive, but a good clip from Carl. And a little swap of lanes from him seems to be working a bit better.
Incendiary covers the right-hand side as Splatter disappears on the left. Pierce with a win. That's a big one. Now they've trapped Guesty in the middle. He's just using the grass to hide, trying to get a little prediction play. It's a narrow space to work with. Light Plant will provide for now, though. Little growth in space as Angel Boy looks to expand on the right-hand side. It's a pass over. Pierce has to be careful, but Foot Esports know better. With Dakai respawning, they're just going to wait, hold the position in the mid.
Boy, just evading these shots there, trying not to feed Pierce too many ammos to drop down. He'll get the kill, but I'm sure he'll be traded out here. Might be able to jump over. Actually goes towards the goal to survive a little longer. But he gets sent back to spawn regardless. Dakai on the right-hand side, trying to free up some room, but Guesty and Nob will just 2v1 him, and that's a pretty easy matchup for the two of them.
Great placement there from Guesty. He can still hold control of the ball while taking shots. Needs to be careful, though, as now that super is going to make contacts. Heals from the Life Plant, though. Really intelligent play. Right-hand side, as Dakai has to work his way through that goal. He's trying to inch his way closer to the ball. Both sides not moving in inches. Angel Boy now looks to get aggressive. Blue, though, still moving up the middle of the map.
Seemingly in a good spot for a 2v3, but Rebecca gonna have Angel Boy coming from behind here and will get the kill. Dakai trying to go alone, goes for the shot, might find it, just stops on the line. Nightmare for Dakai, and that would have been an incredible play if it had gone through.
Would have been nasty work, but now it's Nob working his way up the left hand in. Light Plant goes down for protection, and Rebecca sees the writing on the wall. Just tragic stuff for the blue side.
Yeah, that was quite the turnaround. Well, I thought that was going to roll in, and then it ends up going down the other side. I'm judged there now as well from multiple brawlers. Guesty playing it down the right-hand side, and I think this is it for the side of FA-CMM as Foot Esports take it in a swift and dominant 3-0.
The Guesty hype train has not left the station. Keep rolling. And if there's one message that Angel Boy has shared over the past 2 weeks, goodness, how many times has he tweeted about this?
A lot.
Buy the Foot bundle, support your esports teams. All right, you win a semifinal. I think you're in a little promo there.
Buy the Foot bundle is all I can say to that, honestly. Yeah, just looking at the scrim stats, Foot did look like the most promising one from all of the EMEA with a whopping 70% win rate. Compared that to CMM's 36, it's still super nice that they're even standing in the semifinals. Foot Esports did make it a clean 3-0 sweep, but honestly, that just makes you think, Trev. Versus SK Gaming, it was a hard-fought battle, but CMM did come out on top.
I don't know where to rank, SK Gaming, where to rank SK Gaming amongst my tier list now, to be honest with you, because that was as dominant as it can be. I think. I don't think a professional match can really go more one-sided than that, unless it's, Gem Grab was maybe a little bit further apart because that was a fairly close game. But in the end, you look at the kills here. I think they got across the other side of the map once, and it was Dakai's kind of failed shot which led to a goal on the other side. So unfortunate for CMM, but I think they're going to be more than pleased with their positioning in this monthly final.
And I think it hurts even more here. Angel Boy on that alley now with the most kills. He was a huge problem for the Serbian roster. And Ali was the brawler that was kind of their demise in the previous set, Kenny.
Just a tough look overall. I mean, Angel Boy with more cumulative kills than the entire side. Not a single goal to show for it. Regardless, CMM should be thrilled. You mentioned you don't know where to put SK Gaming on your tier list. I have no idea what CMM are going to do next month. But the good news for them is they will have better seeding as a result of their efforts here. At least for the following month, their monthly qualifiers journey should in theory be easier, but it's the EMEA. You just never know.
Foot Esports is now standing in the finals already. It's not a huge surprise, as I mentioned in the scrims. They've been looking super good. We still kind of just underestimated maybe how calm Guesty can actually play today. We still felt like maybe Guesty's nerfs will show today, his first time in a monthly final, Scrims is one thing, but then standing here and actually being filmed all the time, being shown on stream is something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got two kind of seasoned veteran teams who have been on the screen, have played at the highest level in Brawl Stars up next, and Humble and Reply Totem. Should be a real good game. It's a question of whether or not Totem have leveled up, bringing in Joker from last year. And Humble, being the same roster, they should just be as good as usual.
I'm super excited for this one. It's another Italian derby between the two Italian orcs, Totem and Humble. And Humble in the past has come out on top of them. Humble had a super good run in the monthly qualifier, one of only two teams who made it a 9-0, not a single set dropped. And they did actually beat Foot, the team that we just talked about, the team that we just saw absolutely demolish CMM. They did beat them 3-0 in the monthly qualifier. So HMBLE is probably looking forward to meeting them again in the grand finals.
I think Foot would be even more apt to reface than improve that they
Very
can still
true.
do it. Angel Boy was definitely embarrassed about it on social media.
Nice
Didn't
to
like
meet
that they
you.
dropped the ball,
I'm
especially
Mini Hype.
in a 3-0 swing. But right now, they just got to wait and see if HMBLE even makes it. To your point, this could be Reply Totem of old. I don't know what we're going to see. This is 2026. This isn't 2023 anymore, but in that last match, clearly things were working. I think Na'Vi is a good team. I think that's a very quality win for Reply Totem, and now they're going to be truly tested against one of the world greats.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a real difficult match, I think, for both of them as well. But I think this is going to be one of the better showings we've got of the team so far. The quarterfinals were close, and they both won in a 3-1. So it's like, okay, they've both kind of got through, not comfortably, but fine. And now it's two of the bigger teams in the region playing off against each other, which I think is just going to be an incredible match. 50-50 in my opinion.
For today, I actually had SK versus HMBLE in the grand finals. At this point,
Guilty.
I wouldn't mind, honestly, if we have Foot and Reply Totem in the end, just to mix it up a little, because I'm sure in future monthly finals it's gonna look super different yet again, because we are in EMEA.
Yeah, I mean, these guys won world championships with one monthly finals on the backs of it. It's just the reality of the situation. This is a tough region. It's got to feel real good to even make it to a semifinal. Semantic told me, hey, the minimum bar, the bare minimum we can do this month is make a semifinals and make a grand finals. That's great. He's always so even keel. He's a competitor. Do not let that fool you. He wants this grand finals win, especially with his reputation of not getting the job done in monthly finals.
Yeah, it's the same thing kind of as in Worlds last year, where he said, oh, you know, winning would be nice, but we already won before, so we don't really have to. Yet he was not very happy about that second place, so maybe that's just all facade, Trev, and he still wants to get into the grand finals.
Oh, I mean, he absolutely wants to win everything, I think, to be honest with you. It's very much just like he sees people jinxing and he doesn't like jinxing himself.
He's a superstitious guy.
Yeah, he's a superstitious guy. I think that's fair to say. So, yeah, tries not to jinx himself too much, I think. Obviously, he'd like to go and win this monthly final. Who wouldn't, to be honest? But yeah, I think they've definitely got what it takes to get through this matchup. I'd say it's around a 50-50. I think depends on, yeah, again, if Joker's going to be able to be the man that Reply Totem need to push them that little bit further.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we didn't jinx HMBLE so far, because we did jinx many teams this weekend. In the past, Semantic has reached out to me and was like, could you please not vote for me? So at Brawl Cup, for example, I didn't have HMBLE down once. So my predictions were shambles that weekend, because HMBLE obviously won Brawl Cup 2025 in the end. We're now heading into that Italian derby, as I mentioned. Actually, only two actual Italian players on Reply Totem. Everybody else is in international rosters. But those two teams have something that not many others have. They are sticking together. HMBLE has been playing together for 2 years already. Reply Totem is Maro and Mari, who has been playing together for 6 years. In terms of Brawl Stars, that's huge.
I mean, that's insane. I can't go farther enough. I mean, even in real life sports, esports, I don't care what you're playing, to stay together with somebody for that long, especially in the same organization, I mean, you really form a bond and attachment. There's a loyalty to that, and that's something I highly respect, and I think that's partially the influence for why Joker makes his return. You know, after being with SK Gaming for a couple years, leading SK Gaming to fantastic success, they've had a few years in a row now where they've just fallen short to the teams that end up going the distance, the teams that even win it all. I think it'd be easier for Joker to just settle, say this is good enough, but for him to now go over to Reply Totem, I think that's a statement from him, especially after how fantastic it was the last couple of years, that he truly believes that his team can go the extra mile.
Joker's won 3 monthly finals with SK Gaming last year. Let's see if he can add another to his account now amongst his old team here with Reply Totem. We're starting things out on safe zone. Are we going to see Chuck or not, Trev?
I hope not. I really do. I think it throws like an unnecessary level of like variety into the game. Like, I think it's better when it's kind of just like, who can keep control for the longest? Who can play better instead of just a train going up and down? But obviously that's part of the game. I hope it's banned. I really do. But if it's not, then I hope it loses.
So let's see if Trev's wishes come true. We are on safe zone. Talked about him a lot today already. Chuck is actually banned down, so Trev, I'm sure you're happy. We're now on the side of Reply Totem. They're with the first pick, so it makes a lot of sense that Here's, for example, is also banned out for the side of Humble. Also had some great showings. Angelo, we haven't seen him too often so far. He's especially good on Heist, on Safe Zone and Bridge Too Far because of all the water, so makes sense that he's banned out once more, Kenny.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who we get as kind of those high-stake repressors. So obviously starting out with Kaze here. Chuck the Train Conductor is going to be gone, but Melody's still available, which is somebody who was quite popular yesterday, but also just in generally for scrims. It's a brawler option that's definitely risen through the ranks. It's gone up and down throughout our last few months. I feel like Melody by no means is an overpowered brawler, but certainly a good one to have in your kit.
Yeah, well, Crow is going to be the first then for Humble. I like it. Obviously, you've got the capability. Well, you used to have more capability of shredding the safe, to be honest, but with the cracks coming in now every quarter, you can do that in one with this hypercharge, and it's very good. Kind of just like controlling, keeping people low, keeping people where you want them, and letting the main damage dealers kind of go in and do it. Then again, he's got the damage himself if he really wants to with this hyper.
Talking about damage dealers, I can't expect Carl to still come in here. We now have Byron, one of those long-range brawlers to just hold on to control in mid. Very important on safe zone. Maybe a Bell could do the same for Reply Totem, Kenny.
Curious to see what they do here, because Kaze is certainly somebody that relies on those walls. Somebody popular more recently has been Rico, who was even banned sometimes yesterday. Penny Gone is certainly a peculiar one, so I wonder if there's something that Reply Totem had in mind. Maybe it was the Kaze, maybe that Salty Barrel is just enough to take it down. Penny's not one that we see too much in terms of interactions with brawlers right now, because it's not popular. Bell, though, going to be going for that bounce shot, especially into a matchup where so far Humble really haven't shown any signs of aggression. You can kind of just win that long-range affair.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, I do like it. I do like it a lot. The bounces back and forward can be very solid as well. But I think, you know, you're going to be able to mark up possibly whatever Byron brings in, you know, and stop that healing the more aggressive unit, to be honest. So I think it's pretty solid. I do like it a lot. Bell, I think it's just one of the more versatile sharpshooters. You know, you're not out of the fight no matter what.
And there comes Cole. We do need some more damage on both of those sides. I was hoping for either Cold, Melody, or Spike. All three of those still left open. All three of those known for the massive amount of damage they can dish out. On the other side of Humble, with that Byron, they could also go for a bit more aggression. Certainly, Melody would also profit from him, but maybe they're even gonna come in with a tank, Kenny.
I'd be curious to see if they do, because Byron certainly needs to help out with something. Otherwise, he's not going to be doing too much. Long-time duo coming in here of Byron and Melody, so there's that aggressive factor that they desperately needed. Crow's somebody that's going to be outranged a little bit by somebody like Colt and Bell, so they have to be able to get to the other end to get value, like you said, Trav. Crow does a ton of high safe damage, but there is a hard threshold cap. You need to be careful about those timings, because otherwise you don't want to just do a couple damage with that high save. You want to make sure that you're getting the full extent of that Crow super.
Absolutely, and it's usually a suicide as well. That's the thing, right? Yeah. So you're going in, you know you're going to be giving up control. It's a Hail Mary, or if you're trying to finish the game, get a crack. But you don't also want to just kind of do it, you know, multiple times throughout the game unless you're going to win it, because it can really be a big issue to lose that control on a map like Safe Zone. Melody starting up on the left-hand side. Think he managed to get a bit of a trade here, and Colt doing well. Not taking too much damage from the Crow, to be honest with you, and he gets a good 12% off the start.
Boss just circling around this bottom right-hand wall as Joker dashes to the left-hand side. Semantic battling in the long-ranged affair. Bell versus Byron. Gonna be backing off his boss, doing his best, but just countered.
Well, Colt back into this position on the right-hand side again. And Semantic going really aggressive, almost goes down here. Bell on the right. Going to be able to pick that one up as well. Good kill onto the Colt. And Crow trying to come up. Doesn't have a hypercharge just yet and shouldn't be too close to it, I wouldn't imagine either. Actually gets it now, will be going forwards. It's going to be a decent one. Get all of that crack down, and he hasn't even really suicide. He's going to do some decent damage to the Bell, maybe even get the kill afterwards as well. And there's the Fan Storm on safe down the bottom, which will get it down to 50. Beautiful stuff from Reply Totem so far.
Advantage Totem, significantly ahead of pace here. An entire 25%, most importantly, an entire layer of that heist safe. Luki has to back away, outranged by Colt. Colt's somebody we haven't seen a ton this weekend, but definitely a solid brawler. I think Heist going to arguably be his best game mode. He does DPS, he has range. Really excited to see what Maru can do with him.
Good pickup from Semantic and Boss there, really nice work. And Maru's going to burn down thanks to Byron hitting that hypercharge and Luki getting the killing blow. Nice heals onto Boss as well, trying to get him into a position where he can go in and get some damage and still stay alive. Hypercharge available now, going in. I think he hits about 47 Bell mines on the way through, but still Might be able to get this crack now. It's getting quite low, but Maru with a hypercharge here. Joker with one of his own as well. Jump comes forward from the Crow, and he does really well. Might even be able to pick up 2 and does. There's the third. But the thing is, they're not going to get much back from this because they haven't got the crack prior.
Almost bizarre at how perfectly placed those nest eggs were, but now it's Maori having to play a strong defense. Humble still profit out of the interaction as Joker moves his way up the middle of the map. Luki, though, has no interest diving away, but with low HP, doesn't get too much value out of it. Joker finally falls. Couple bounce shots going down. Colt's super will pierce through that heist safe. Reply Totem, take a thorough lead.
Yeah, good position for them now as well. If they go for a base race, they've already got the crack. They're going to be able to deal with it well. Nice slow there on the right-hand side, stopping Boss and a good kill as well. I don't think they're going to be able to get the damage now. Luki looking for a super to be able to hypercharge. They need to not feed it. They're getting some, but I don't think it's going to be enough as they choose to stay back and not feed. Great start for Reply Totem against the Titans of Humble.
It was back and forth through that game. I think that's something I'm expecting to see throughout this entire match. Reply Totem in the past couple years without Joker have not been nearly as good. Alongside Joker, back-to-back number 2 seeds. When he left, desperately fighting just to make an LCQ spot. And of course, they've had fantastic postseason success, even a top 4 in the mix, which is definitely a ton of credit their way. But they want more. There's a comfort in that. So far, so good against the 2024 champs.
Maru getting pinched in. Didn't get too much back for that positioning, only 6%, so I don't think they're going to be too mad about that, letting that slide, but Boss getting some heals here against Joker. Really nice help from Semantic, but just chooses to go in now, waste a few dashes, try to cycle a super, and Joker actually switches forms and gets the Fan Storm off as well. Brilliant from him. Luki popping a shield, getting some heals, jump comes in, just overshoots it, and Colt will survive.
Awesome engagement for Joker to not only grab that kill and now another one on top of that, but get that Fan Storm down. That's something that's basically free damage for the side of Reply Totem. Joker oftentimes is going to be playing these aggressive brawlers, the Mortises of the world, the Kazes of the world like we're seeing here. They just keep doing damage. Luki finally takes him down. Not a single scratch on that high safe, though, for Humble. They're going to have to play the control game with Byron and Crow and then find a way to get Boss to engage with the high safe.
Yeah, this is the thing, though. Luki, if he gets the super now, he'll be able to equal a score just with one jump, and he does get one. Here we go, going in. They need to try and stop him, but he should be able to land straight on it. But Joker's going to go the other way as well. Maru surely wants to meet him, and they didn't even get the crack. That's going to be really disappointing for Humble, not getting it with that jump. Now, re-engaging with the safe, they should be able to get this down to 50% and pretty much make it a tie ball game.
It's crazy how a few seconds can make all the difference in a heist. They were losing every single battle leading up to that point in the game. All they need are a couple good moments, whether that be a Crow super or a Melody hypercharge, especially when you got 6 musical notes rotating around you, it adds up fast.
Well, Joker swaps forms again, trying to survive here. Wants to be able to avoid this splash from Semantic, but he's not going to be allowed. Nice stuff from Maru once more. They're in a 4% lead with 45 seconds left. He needs to try and heal here. Keep control, wait for his teammates to come up. Hypercharge used by Semantic, and he will get the super off as well. Jump from Luki. They get the control, and now Boss going in, wants to get these notes circulating around him to try and get this down to 25%, and that they'll do.
Incredible team effort coming out of Humble. Somehow Boss is still alive. The heals from Semantic certainly aiding the cause. As Luki, top right-hand side, have to deal with multiple brawlers. The longer Humble can drag on the clock, the more impossible it is for Reply Totem to come back.
This is going to be really tough now. Boss gets 1 and 2. The rest of Humble join him on the safe and equalize the score here in safe zone, making it a 1-1. It's a very back and forward game. Totem have their moments, then Humble do, but Humble just had more in that one.
So you've seen 2 methods of how to win this game. Byron traditionally is not going to be somebody that's going to do great in heist, but it's who he's paired alongside. And for a long time, way back in my day, if you will, Colette was that option. Melody, of course, coming in here, and over the years, it's just the only way that you can make Byron work. Semantic doing a great job, I would say, in his own right. He's a support brawler in this instance. It really felt like he found a couple frags there, which is a little back bonus. It's why Humble were able to excel.
Yeah, well, 1 hit there from the Kaze is not going to be enough to stop what Melody's doing up top. He's going to get a good amount of damage, around 20% really. Actually gets a little bit more than that. Joker has a Fan Storm now, but Mori not able to keep enough control to get him up free roam. He should be just throwing this on the safe and getting that extra little bit of chip damage.
Semantic now just has to fire, doing his best to just get kills, waiting for Boss so that they can make a proper push. Super in the back pocket. Boss a couple tags away from getting those musical notes. In, out. Still has 1 remaining. Now Luki diving in, not for damage, but for kills. Interesting trade. It has to lead to Boss getting across to the other side of the map, and didn't quite do that.
There's the break of the safe, and also the break of this right-hand side as Maru wants to take a bit more of a head-on, long-range matchup against Boss. Joker gets a nice kill there, might switch forms and get the super on safe, but doesn't manage to do that. Maru trying to establish some control, and they need a bit of damage here. He's going to get splashed out. Still a lot of time on the clock, but Joker coming back up with the Fan Storm now.
Colt injected with a lot of poison between Crow and Byron. It's going to be his demise. Plenty of time still on the clock. It's more of a matter of getting that total damage. And Boss, look at him go. Elected to go for damage. Again, Lukey cycling in too. So a couple supers give Humble a massive advantage.
Yeah, had that hyper as well, but obviously with not 25% of the safe remaining, you don't have to use that hype charge. Just save it. Still 50 seconds left. You should be able to get another super in that time. Joker going forward. Splash comes on top of him. That should be, well, I was going to say a trade, but he didn't get that final shot off on Semantic. Nice work again from Humble to just pin them back over and over, not letting them get these breakthroughs, and especially with the Colt.
Another instance where Semantic probably dies there. Joker didn't even make contact with the high save, so they didn't grab damage, they didn't grab the kill. That's a disaster. Now it's a 3v1 situation. Boss doesn't even have to worry about going in right now. Just maintain positioning. 30 seconds on the clock. They're well over a high safe zone in advance of the other side. Reply Totem, this might just be an impossible comeback.
Yeah, they can just keep control, not overstep, try keep them back, but Lukey getting hit hard now, and Semantic having to force some heals. Joker coming up, trying to make the move, but Boss will go the other way as they don't have a crack in the way. Now it's 45% with 10 seconds. That's not going to be happening. Lukey goes in for some shots, trying to get a super to deflate it. Does just that, and that's going to be the first set going Humble's way.
Competitive set, but got away from Reply Totem in game number 3. I loved how unique of a strategy that was. I mean, it's something in the older Brawl Stars day that we would see Byron plus an aggressive brawler. Right now it's Melody, could be Colette back in the day, like I mentioned. But the fact that they were able to grab so many kills, it felt like with Byron, I'm interested to see how the stats play out, because I think he kind of went above and beyond. I think last year especially, somebody like Lukey, I think, would have the argument to be player of the year. World Finals got second place, but I just think he's somebody I want to put the ball in his hands. That time, though, I feel like Semantic was doing a little bit of everything, empowering his teammates to go get that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. It was some really, really nice stuff there from Semantic especially, but all members of Humble doing a great, great job. Lukey knowing when to preserve his hyper charges, making the right jumps, getting kills, stopping people from coming up, and there you go. Even 19 kills as the healer. Huge, huge stuff from Semantic.
I'm thoroughly impressed with that result. I mean, especially on a team with Crow, Melody, and Byron, you know, it's not the damage to safe that I'm really looking for, but the DPS is quite telling. On top of that, he was distributing heals to somebody like Boss who needs those. Melody can be fine in heist on her own. Just somebody that can be lethal on that high save. But once you get the added benefit of having somebody who accurately is shooting you, injecting you with those healing shots, it goes a long distance. And I think it was just the extra little bit that overwhelmed Reply Totem. It's why they couldn't quite get there, but we're still strong.
Absolutely. I think Totem have more than got a chance to try and get some sets on the board here. Humble not running away with it at all. Just the first set, and not a massively convincing one. Yes, they played well, but I don't think Reply Totem are out of this by any means. Solid, solid stuff from both sides. Good drafts, I think, both ways as well, but we're heading onto a little bit of knockout here as well, and we'll see if this changes the tides.
We're heading over to knockout, to Bell's Rock more specifically, a map we haven't seen so far today. A map where I kind of expected Gus to come out, RT, Rico, some of those bowlers we've already talked about previously. But yeah, RT just especially good on any of those knockouts map because he's so strong both in the early game and then in late game when he has super available and the smoke comes in from the sides. Rico's going to be the first pick here for Humble. I do love a Rico pick on Bell's Rock in mid. You have to break up the map almost if you play up against him, and Joker on that break could do that.
Rico Resurgence, and to your point, the Walking Cane, or if they really wanted to, a Grand Piano to cut things off just to make sure you get that guaranteed cut down of those walls. That makes sense to me. Now I'm curious of who they pair with this. Reply Totem grabbed the Gray. Sometimes you'll see this be an aggro brawler. Earlier today we didn't. It was just Gray in its own right. So at least they have that guaranteed pressure with the Walking Cane if they really want it. If not, they can just grab some other brawlers they like.
Well, we talked about having a bit of a severe lack of Charlie, to be honest with you, and she's bouncing back again here in Bell's Rock. Spiderling's going to be pretty solid. I like the Rico on the other side, though, as well. I think it's a really, really good pick from Humble. Very solid brawler at the moment, good on the map. Got to be cautious about kind of stepping out of line with Gray being able to TP and get you down with a couple of shots. But the Walking Cane's a bit of a lethal thing no matter who you're playing against.
Charlie comes in with her line Calme-toi, and she wants to slow down this match a little bit in case Humble wants to pick up anything with a bit more burst damage, anything aggressive, that Charlie is gonna take care of it. Gus is now being picked up from Humble. The brawler I was kind of waiting for has the highest win rate on Bell's Rock, just saying, and has not been banned out whatsoever. But now I really feel like they're gonna come in with something aggressive alongside the Gus, I feel, will make a lot of sense.
I think somebody missing too is Gene. I think the reason why is yesterday when we saw this in East Asia, it was GG being drafted banned a lot of the time, which kind of makes it awkward for somebody like Gene if you do have that as a factor. So I think that's why everybody's being a little bit cautious. RT just makes too much sense to me. I'm surprised it wasn't drafted earlier just because it's such a good defensive brawler in those in-game scenario. You drop the static, so if people are getting close to you, you have a way to deal with that. And on top of that, you're a long-range brawler in those early onsets of the game. Very well-rounded composition from Humble. Not too much aggro, but I still like it.
Yeah, I think it's a really solid comp. As I say, RT's always just so versatile at the end of the day. You can pretty much play him in any situation in a map, or any map, on knockout. Byron going to come in the other way, and that's going to be played against Humble this time rather than Semantic championing that brawler very well like he did in the past one. Reply Totem, I think they've got a good chance here.
Italian Derby, so far the Humble roster is coming out on top. I do not want to see another 3-0, so let's see if Reply Totem wins this set or the next one. No 3-0s, please.
I'm with you. I like Brawl. I like action. It's been a crazy year so far. Why not keep the party going? Reply Totem, Joker coming home. The prodigal son returns, and now he has to face down the 2025 runner-ups. Down 1-0. This team has been in some tough situations before, but to start out 2026, they've certainly got a battle ahead of them.
Well, it was a quick tap in there from Semantic as well. You can see Mary with the mark over his head and just trying to prevent Joker from getting these shots off, getting the walking canes, and need to evade him getting super as best as possible. And if he's going to super, you've got to make sure it's onto Semantic, so kind of flood around him towards the end. Well, there's the walking cane. No walls come down with it because it's through that unbreakable on the left. But Luki falls low and has to back off.
It's going to be a back and forth on that right-hand side, too. If Maru has the Spiderlings, it's deadly, but Boss is too much of a factor up the middle of the map. Bounce shots were plenty. Now those Spiderlings going down, immediately eradicated. It's a lot easier for Humble to deal with those now that they have multiple brawlers that can give aid to it. Boss cleaning up in the middle of the map. He wants a team-wide. Could be a perfect game for him. A Semantic is going to rotate. Just play it safe. Maru doesn't have much of a chance here as a Charlie. No super available. I think Humble are just being extra cautious to not feed anything.
Yeah, but it makes sense. You don't want someone out of the way in a cocoon towards the late game in a map like this. So, really nice start from Humble there, very much in control of it. When you've got 3 players standing and the opponents have already lost, you know you're in a great position. I think it all stemmed from Boss getting that early kill, really nice super, just about getting the last bullet on Joker before he got around the wall.
The early kill was nice because it won them the round, and now on top of that, because Boss has landed so many shots being the player that he is, they have a super available. Lacking in utility, however, are Reply Totem. They just have one super to show for it on the top left-hand side. It's Luki, one of the star players of last year in the 2024 run, battling against Maori. Little back and forth, each side not making a move. I think Humble are confident in these in-game situations if this drags on.
Semantic has a super. Obviously, he's going to be the one who really wants a hypercharge of anything, but Boss has one of his own, which can really do some damage in these situations if he lines it up well. Byron just trying to find some shots onto Luki, who's yet to find a super of his own. Can have the splash. Semantic still holding out on the right-hand side. It's a bit of a stalemate at the moment, but as the gas starts to close in, people are going to be forced to move. Luki solo splash there, but completely missed.
Missed of a lob. Maori still with positioning on that left-hand side. Humble hurdled together in the middle of the map. Now branching out. Semantic trying to win his one. One by Joker teleports in. He can get that kill. It's a trade on the right-hand side, though. Purple button pop. Super available. Contact with Semantic. A Boss. A menace in this set. Absolutely destroys Reply Totem, and they will take the game.
I mean, that was just beautiful from Boss. Gets the opening frag in the first. In the second, gets the 2 winning frags. Really good stuff from him. He just needs to carry on like that and get the second set on the board. Reply Totem at that point getting towards being down and out. 2-0 down against the 2025 world champions, 2024 world champions, 2025 runner-up. You're going to be in a tough spot to come back.
Doesn't look like any lane switches here either, so Reply Totem rolling the dice once again. They want Charlie with those Spiderlings to take on a single-shot brawler. That has to be either Gus or RT. I like their odds better if they go against RT. Unfortunately for them, Boss has just been too much of a factor, and now they have positioning. He can work with these walls, multiple angles to deal with. Maori does have a super available, but Gray just hasn't been able to do much. I think Joker's having a hard time right now.
Yeah, they're all being super cautious of the walking cane coming back and getting them. Maru eventually getting some ground on the right-hand side, but as Joker tries to get up, Boss is saying no to that, but he knows he has to respect it. Back up. The walking cane is too potent in a match like this that it can really change everything. Still, stalemate at the moment, but few shots being hit by Semantic on the right.
Neither side willing to be aggressive. Just calm patience. Any advantage they can gain. 1 super, 2 supers can make a difference. And especially in a round 1, very difficult to get a hypercharge. This is where Totem feel like they have the advantage. Now they have pressure lined up. Couple tags with that hypercharge. The poison, not enough though. Now poison on the outset, gonna be rolling in.
Well, Boss has got a super. He's going to need a comparable one to in the last game. Luki trying to move in. TP available. Boss goes towards it. It's just all for the Gus, I think it is, coming out of the cocoon here. I don't think he's going to be able to win the 2v1 unless he's got a shield. Is he? Kooky Popper almost does it, to be honest, and desperately needed a shield, and I think he had it.
I think that was a closer call than it probably looked. It was a 2v1, however, 500 and about 1200 HP. You could see them rotate Brawlers, a really smart decision, in case they did pop out. That way the higher HP Brawler at least had a better chance. Just intelligent stuff that makes separators from good and great. Reply Totem over the years have certainly been that.
Luki just playing against two on the right-hand side, and Boss, obviously, as I've said, doesn't want to overextend. Does. Gets hit, and the super is available for Joker, but he's lucky he's got Luki backing him up. He might even force Joker to TP out here. The heals are going to be there, though, from the Byron. It still throws the super down the side, and a few follow-up shots from Semantic aren't going to find the killing blow. TP now in, and a bouncy castle heal is there, but Byron trying to do the same. Maru pinching around the back. Boss going in, gets the kill. Hypercharge there, but not enough. Really, really nice from Humble as they get that done. But look at the hypercharge ready to roll on Joker.
Joker definitely been better in game number 2 with a hypercharge super as well. He can get aggressive, almost shotgun his opponents if he gets any weakness on the other side. Little rotation here. Now Gus is operating against that right-hand side Brawler, and Maru Semantic going to be battling against Maori, Joker, and Boss. That's been the battle to watch. Is Boss's advantage in game number 1, but right now, Joker is in complete control.
TP with the hypercharge there. Can't really go towards Luki. He's got his hypercharge himself. He's going to go on the left-hand side, get the RT. Great choice from him as well, and that still lingers there. Whether he uses the super or not, Splash comes in. Luki, cocooned. They're going to have to back off here, though, as they don't really want to risk getting hit by that hypercharge super. Boss coming in now. The TP's not going to be used by Joker. He's going to go down. 2 Kooky Poppers on the right, I believe it was, were not enough to bring Maru to his knees, and that's going to be an equalizer for Reply Totem.
It's another competitive set. Interesting how every single game we're going to see the exact same 3 brawlers from both sides, and yet the outcome can be so different. I think a lot of good decisions there compared to the first. It felt like Joker was maybe a tad over-aggressive. Maybe, I don't want to say underestimating Boss. Joker's intelligent. He knows that Boss is an insanely good player, but I think maybe just a little overconfident in his ability. Boss was able to charge that super. Instead, though, it's Joker who is a key playmaker. Using those teleports to get aggressive, landed the Walking Cane in that closing round, and now he's the one taking advantage. Boss already has to burn a gadget.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the positioning off it, though. Joker going for another shot and does find it as well. Spiderlings on the right-hand side push Luki all the way back too. Kooky Popper lays on the floor, might use that to heal, get it out of the way so he doesn't want to gadget it later on. TP already available from Joker as well, and that's a big risk here for Humble. But Semantic just covering Boss's tracks with those legs available.
Joker laying down the pressure, but doesn't want to overdo it. Learn from past rounds' mistakes. Has the teleport, so they feel like they have an advantage on either side. They can always make a moment's notice and jump away. Spiderlings allowing Maru to have a little extra space, but Luki still laying down fire.
Control back in the hands of Humble now. Kooky Popper on the right side. TP goes in from Joker to try and get that kill. Will do just that. I don't think he's going to be able to get the TP out in time. Oh, Boss with a beautiful 2-piece. He can't get the TP in time, doesn't get the heals, and Maori walks into the gas. Doesn't want to be feeding Boss again because we've seen what he can do with that.
Big bounce back from Boss. I mean, this has been a key player for Humble. These Rico shots are unreal. It's a little more awkward now that that top right-hand wall on the totem side is down. Boss, though, clearly showing he doesn't necessarily need it.
Well, Luki needs to be a bit more cautious. Did get picked off in that last one. Semantic still holding on to these legs, waiting for Joker to come towards him. He didn't really get within range of him last time, so there's something he needs to be a bit cautious about. I think there was another Kooky Popper on the left, on the right-hand side there from Luki, and positioning is insane from Humble right now. I'd be very surprised if they lose this round, but Joker needs a hypercharge. He uses it, but he doesn't have a super yet.
Oh, I think he was counting on landing a shot. That's why he popped the hypercharge. I think he knew he had it. Instead, though, it's Boss backing away at a correct time. Now Semantic, Luki, and Boss all have supers in the back pocket. This is getting rather difficult for Reply Totem if this drags on.
It's going to be real tough. There's the gadget on the left-hand side as well from Mori. Probably trying to reach towards his hypercharge. It can be dangerous. Used aggressively in the last seconds. Luki going to want the hypercharge of his own. Surely should only be a couple more shots off after the rounds he's had. There's the Walking Cane. Nice kill, but the bouncy castle and super coming through. Big hits, and Joker TP's in. He's not going to get anything back from it, and the legs are dropped. Byron can't do anything, and that's going to be the second set going Humble's way.
That round was all about Rico for me. Bell's Rock was great. I feel like all 3 members of Humble have always had their moments, but so far in this match, it was Semantic that stood out for me in the first set, and now Boss has stepped up in the second. I'm anticipating a Luki go-around and maybe a killing spree here in the third. It just feels like he's due.
I mean, Semantic was very, very happy to have that on the board, and who can blame him being 2-0 up against Reply Totem? You don't want to be taking this one easy. You need to get these on the board, get them knocked out as soon as possible, and get your way to the grand finals.
For me, the MVP in this one definitely must be Boss. He had so many great showings here, bouncing those shots. Joker actually did a phenomenal job of still bringing himself into favorable positions. Definitely the playmaker for the side of Reply Totem, but Boss somehow, even if Joker killed one of his teammates, we see it here with Luki, kills another two on the other side, and all of a sudden Humble are back in the driver's seat.
Just brilliant. I mean, showing the playmaking ability there, and obviously in a game mode like this, kills are quite literally all that matters. That is the name of the objective. Goodness gracious. A 13-piece for the young man. That's unbelievable. I mean, the DPS numbers are normal, but you could just see it. Those Rico supers, and especially the hypercharged ones, were just shots going everywhere. And now that Rico's in a better spot in the meta, I can't fault Humble at all. They certainly made that pick count.
13 kills, and that's a knockout. Keep in mind, you can only get so many kills when your opponents don't respawn. So definitely a great showing from Humble. 2-0 up now. It does go the way we expected, or at least what we predicted. Apart from Ark, actually, I do want to point that out real quick. But yeah, Humble is looking as strong as they've left off last year. Now, as I said, I do not want to see a 3-0. So Pinhole Punch surely is going to go the way for Reply Totem now, Trev.
Yeah, we can only hope it's not a 3-0, because these two teams are much more evenly matched than that scoreline. Let's go. But Spike's going to be the first pick. It's a good one from Reply Totem. It's been banned out quite a lot over these kind of past couple of days. And Frank going to be banned out. Poco and Pierce as well. Ems, Pierce and Poco on the other side. So nobody wants to see the Pierce and Poco. And the Ems and Frank are the differentiating bans from the side of Humble and Reply Totem. The Spike, as I said, I like it. It's just so versatile and it's been picked up so much.
So now that Spike's out of the way, I'm looking out for two assassins. I'm looking out for Ali, and I'm looking out for Mortis. They escaped the ban stage due to double of Poco and Pierce. So in this one, there's only 4 brawlers total. Now, Humble are going to start with going the brawler. That's good for multiple reasons on this map. Vision is one. Being anti-tank, however, is the other. And a fat splatter, especially into something like Spike that might be running Life Plant, that's a way to destroy that from a long distance.
The moment you said you're looking out for 2 assassins, I thought Otis. And there he was. Otis picked up here by Humble. I'm still looking out for Mo and Meeple personally. Super good on this map, especially with mentions of Meeple, that gadget that just shuts your opponent down for a couple of seconds, gives you the free roam in mid. And on map like Pinhole Punt, it's all about that mid control. Mina's gonna be picked up instead. They do bring in one of these aggressive brawlers that Kenny was looking out for, Trev.
Yeah, Mina I really like. We've seen, I think it was Angel Boy on it for the most part, playing an incredible Mina. So that's something that Reply Totem is going to have to be very cautious about. I think supers, the hypercharges, the gadget, and the mobility that this brawler has, it's just insane. And it makes it so fluid in Brawl Ball. You're able to do pretty much everything.
Absolutely love it. Can't complain with that 2-3 turn. I think Mina's one of the better brawlers in the game right now, top 5 in my books. And there's the Meeple that Sunny was looking out for. I think it's a natural mid on this map, especially with the cutoff that you can gain, the area control that you immediately get, and more importantly, the area denial from the other team to march forward. That's what Meeple brings to the table. Kenji's been somebody that teams are kind of divided on around the world. I would see some teams really like it, and others don't prioritize it as much.
Kenji is going to be the last pick for Reply Totem, so we have some aggression on either side. Humble is still missing some range. Maybe a Crow, maybe a Finks, a Bee, something that I would see Luki on here, Trev.
Yeah, well, there's the Crow. You seem to be very good at this today, Sonny, I won't lie.
If anybody needs some a coach for the next few weeks or some drafting advice for your ranked matches, I'm available.
I'll take the drafting advice, I think. My ranked drafting is really not that special. So, yeah, Crow, very good. Very solid at going to be able to scout out. There's a lot of bush. I think it's a great shout from Humble. So I like the comp. I think Reply Totem really, I mean, obviously they need this set, but desperately got to get back in it 3 in a row. A reverse sweep needed against a Titan like Humble is going to be a very big ask.
Reverse sweep is the only answer. Otherwise, it's going to be Joker and his new old teammates going to be sent home. This Joker going to be the playmaker now. He's on the Kenji, boss up the middle of the map, rocking the Mina. There's the Crow Luki that we were looking out for. So far, it's the blue side. Complete control. One thing about Humble, they are not afraid to be what I'll call passive-aggressive playstyle. I think they're experts at it. They're never going to push too far. They only take chances when they know it. Otherwise, they're just going to rely on winning their lanes.
Well, the Meeple's Mansion back down on the field again. Going to break up a bit of that bush as well, which I'm sure they'll be pretty pleased about with Mina running rampant. But Joker now lost that kind of ability to sneak through. Boss supering in here as well. Not going to be able to... Sorry, Joker was supering in, and Boss did a great job of just walking that up and finishing the goal off. Incredible stuff. And Totem falling further behind now.
Fat Splatter cuts off the right-hand side as Spike uses his super. Maru trying to do his best in all this. Luki, though, goes hunting. Maru meets him, though. Semantic with the super. If he needs to mute, he can. He's just trying to absorb as many shots as possible and buying time for the respawn from his teammate.
Yeah, the thing is they need more than just control now, though, with Humble having the lead. Boss going to be able to dash away from that Meeple's Mansion. Super and Hypercharge comes in from Maru. Life Plant in the way, and Joker will just trooper forwards and take Luki down. This might be the opportunity to get a goal that they so desperately need. A minute and 15, so still time on the clock. But so far, Humble looking really solid.
Totem surging, Humble being stuffed in their spawn right now as Luki knows he has to grab this ball. Otherwise, Totem are just going to keep marching forward. Luki expanding, Hypercharge goes down. Mina with a twister, Maru in trouble, and all of a sudden, it's numbers for Humble. A kick over to the right-hand side. They're relying on the Hypercharge stats to sprint up the right hand in. Oh, it was so close. Worth a try from Semantic for sure, but better than being on defense.
I love the fact how much Joker had, like, so much faith in that not going in. He had a Hypercharge super, could have dragged him off the ball, but instead knew his teammates were going to be in a good spot. And now he can use it in a position like this, just Luki alive, and that's surely going to be a walk for Joker. And they actually don't even need to walk it, get the kill and shoot that ball in.
30 on the clock, and it's 1-1 each. If this gets to overtime, it's going to be a much more interesting affair, especially for somebody like Meeple and Kenji, who do not love the open space. Semantic being backed down for now by a Spike super. Luki cautiously dodging. Has a super if they need to make a move. The Meeple Mansion will certainly make this a little more awkward as now he drops a Hypercharge super. Boss doing his best. Does make the connection somehow, but it's positioning for Joker. He's marching forward. Luki grabs the ball. Hypercharge available. He's going to jump right at Spike. Life Plant is available. It's a trade. And now in the 2v1, Semantic hustling up the map. Has a super shot available. Lone shot for Mauri. A gadget from Boss. Should secure it. But a gadget, even better. A defensive stop. And now Joker can move it the other way.
I mean, that was so difficult to really do anything about. They just a great defense. Maru coming forwards, goes for the shot and can't find it. Meeple once more in a 1v2 situation. Can Humble push it in this time? With the help of Reply Totem respawning, it's going to be a no for now.
I think I've gone 3 different ways on who's going to win this game because there's been so many close calls, and now a complete demolishment of that middle side. They have a super on the ground as well, so Boss can't cling to those walls anymore. He just has to do his best. A wind shield going up. Allow Humble to slowly climb up as Joker's debating what to do with this ball. 15 on the clock, gonna be pocketing it. Life Plant there to shield him. Semantic runs it down. Luki fanning out daggers. They're now marching up the map. Super shot over a clearance from Boss. Brings the entire Reply Totem roster into the air and will give them a match point.
Yeah, Mauri almost had that stopped again with the Mansion of Meeple. Just unfortunately the wrong side of the line and the ball still rolls in. So really solid from Humble once more. Match point now against a team like Reply Totem, who we've seen throughout these sets are so capable of getting it done and getting to the later stages of these monthly finals. But it's just not to be at the moment with Humble being as strong as they are.
Double gadget on the left-hand side, but it's Totem extending. Luki in control as Maru has to back off. It's been back and forth the whole way, but it's a middle of the map where the action's happening. A kick forward. It's going to dump it right into Reply Totem's hands. I think maybe trying to keep that ball would have been a little bit better, but it looks like they were going to die either way.
Well, Luki still super in hand, but actually going to go down regardless of popping a shield up there as well. Joker trying to come aggressive, but surely will be dealt with here by Boss. Little wait as that last shot came out as part of the combo. Maru trying to push into this mid, get some control for his team, but it's just endless Humble kills in the kill feed, and Totem back in spawn.
Joker with a super available. Can dive on anybody if he needs it. I'm more importantly looking at this Boss super, though. To bring anybody up into the sky could lead to a goal-scoring opportunity, especially with Luki clearing this left-hand side. Maru is in an awkward position. Crow looking on the deep end of the pool as Boss marches up the middle of the map to get a takedown super available. Oh, it was so close. Maori just in perfect positioning.
I mean, that was like it was a wild thing to do, but it so almost paid off. Just knew that his super wasn't going to be enough considering he still had that invulnerability, so needed to beat him another way. But unfortunately, a trick shot was not the one to do. Now, as they start to come in, Maru trying to get behind this life plant, get a heal off it before he goes down, but he can't, it doesn't pop. And Luki's surely aware to the fact that he was stood there just lingering, waiting for it. Hypercharge ready for Boss, and 3v1 gives Humble a control.
Definitely an opportunity here, especially with a Hypercharge, Mina super and a Hypercharge in Otis's back pocket as well. Fat Splatter on the right-hand side as Maru charges up a super of his own. They have to be perfect. Fighting for their tournament lives right now. Any slip-up could cost them this match.
Yeah, well, life plant used on the bottom side as well. As that mute straight into it, the super comes backwards, and Luki forced to jump away. I don't think he's going to escape that. Super from Joker. And this is going to be controlled to reply Totem, giving themselves a lifeline. 30 seconds on the clock. Hypercharge used, and he throws it down on the perfect walls.
Maori has access to go through those walls now, and now with Kenji diving in, no connection, but it won't matter. Luki left all alone, overwhelmed by the reply Totem forces. They shave off as much time as they can before putting that one in. All they have left is the 15-second shot clock.
Need to make something happen now. Humble pushing forward, super onto the top of Semantic. He knows who's going to try and make this play. It's got to be Boss. Joker gets the ball and gets it out, and 3 seconds with a Meeple's Mansion cutting it off. That's going to be an equalizer in Brawl Ball for Reply Totem. It remains match point to Humble, but it gives them a lifeline.
If I'm Humble, I want to end this right here, right now. Reply Totem show that they can be a dangerous team, extending to a set 4, especially after the chaos we've seen this weekend. Just feels like a good call. Easier said than done, of course. But this has been close the whole way through. 3-0 would feel almost wrong. So don't let the scorecard fool you, folks. Reply Totem are here to play. They're certainly going to keep fighting.
Absolutely have been playing as well. Boss waiting in the bushes. Not been scouted out just yet, avoiding curveball well, but chooses to swap, let Semantic go through into Maru here. Going to be able to do a decent job at range against him, but Boss can eat a few of these Maori shots and still get into his face. Luki on the left-hand side, trying to get some control as Totem just sit in the back spawn again. It seems to be where they've been for the most part.
Humble with early dominance. Controlling the middle of the map allows them to put some extra pressure because now Boss is flanking a hyper-aggressive brawler. Now up in the face of Maru, who does have a super, just going to drop it. Has to play it safe, needs to allow for his teammates time to respond. They're losing the numbers game, so they have to just occupy as much time as possible. With a light plant forward, it's giving them a little extra space to work with.
The windmill down there from Boss actually stops a few shots and allows Luki to get the kill onto Joker. But Humble back in spawn, not a position where they want to be, and Semantic getting hit hard by that shot from Maori. Maru backed up, Joker just always running in over and over and over again into the fray, getting some good heals off the back of his shots, and his gadget will eventually go down, and Luki has hypercharge ready to roll, just waiting for the super.
If you're going to dive bomb it, you have to have some kills to show for it. Humble did not lose a single member as now Boss grabs this ball, gonna back it up. Joker right back into the fray. A jump into the air. Gets one with his Shusimi slash, but not enough for a double as Semantic will drop a gadget. Trying to cut off Meeple. Has a super. And the Mansion on the left-hand end will buy them a little extra time, and more importantly, give them some vision of that grass.
Oh, Luki's going forward, trying for the goal, gets a kill, might be able to walk this one. Luki just about gonna miss that one. And Joker with a great save. Boss on the right-hand side, hypercharge available, and that can be huge in these overtime scenarios. But it's still 45 seconds to get there, and Humble not taking advantage of these opportunities.
Tough prediction play coming out of Luki. There was a possibility that could have been a goal. Instead, now he's on his back heel, diving once again. Joker can't grab the ball. Numbers advantage for the blue side. And as a result, they have to exhaust this super. Semantic gonna round out this roster with all 3 members in the middle, especially with this clock whittling down. It's advantage Humble.
Boss desperately wanting a super here to go along with his hypercharge when it comes to overtime. Got that now. If they can just wait 15 seconds, it's surely going to be a Humble win. He's going to go for it instead. Windmill in the right-hand corner. And Luki just pushing forward, has to jump over it, and the Meeple's Mansion there to block the pass. Totem doing everything they can. Maori's going to survive. 4 seconds on the clock, and they hold on.
Somehow, some way, Reply Totem surviving as long as they can. Surviving not good enough though. Humble, cold-blooded killers as Semantic marches one in right back to their 2025 glory. It's gonna be our 2025 runner-ups making it to a grand finals.
What a moment for them. Honestly, I thought that Reply Totem were going to hold out, maybe push back, try and make something happen. I was expecting him to, you know, just hold off on that hypercharge until overtime where he was pretty much guaranteed to get some work done. But he did throw it out quite early, and clearly it worked, especially with Luki jumping in with the hypercharge there. It was really, really solid as well at the end of the game. Just knowing that if they went to stop the ball, all of those Crow Daggers were going to be returning to that spot.
Some great showings for both sides here. Phenomenal comps as well as gameplay overall, but still, it's a 3-0 in the end for Humble. I feel like that really doesn't reflect how close this really was. Reply Totem takes a game here also in the last set and ends up 3-0. It's honestly a bit devastating, but Humble comes out on top. 3-0 sweep all the way.
Crazy stuff. Very impressive showing for Humble. They're going to have their hands full in this grand finals. But just love how each member was kind of just doing their part. And I think there's no weak links with this roster. That's why they've been able to be the most consistent team over the past couple years. I told you Luki was due. 17 kills, 312 DPS as a Crow. The other team members rounding it out with all of the goals. overall, it was one that separated this set. Totem kept it close. It's still a good showing for them, I think, especially for a roster that's now playing against one of the top dogs from the previous year. Reply Totem, like we've mentioned many times, haven't been as successful in the regular season over the past couple years, so this is still a step forward to me.
I mean, you know, you say everybody's doing their bit, but I think Luki's just doing that a little bit more in that game. I think it really was solid. But to be fair, across all the sets, they each had some really solid games, and it definitely did spread out across all of them. But Luki in that last set was just incredible, and he was kind of the one they need to give the credit for that last goal as well. Just hypercharge onto the goal line to stop anybody from getting towards it.
And he makes a brawler work that usually we say is countered by the spike. Now he has the most kill, though spike